The screen for Mac Academy X Hero Slayer illuminates, displaying various game options and a clear O1 marker. This is the world of the game known as Ether World, a digital environment. It was a game released 10 years prior, originally planned as a dating simulator for women, but it unexpectedly attracted many more male players. The game offered players the ability to control a wide variety of characters, each with distinct abilities. It began with a small number of effective characters, but soon grew to include many difficult and unusual ones. Amongst these characters, there was one character considered to be very bad, known for being extremely difficult to play and having unusable abilities. However, for 10 long years, one person, Beck Uziel, played only this character. With a determined look, he asks, "Shall I get started then?" A slight smirk appears on his face as he states, "It's me." The screen then confirms his identity as player Beck Uziel. Outside, ordinary buildings stood under a clear sky. While inside, Beck Uziel, a dedicated player, took a moment to drink from his mug. His attention drawn to a notification on his screen, new posts had appeared in the forum, prompting him to wonder if a new update had been released or something similar. But the forum was filled with confusion. Players complained about a bad game, a random dragon appearing, and characters being deleted, which left him confused. Especially when he saw the context. All this chaos was happening in a dating sim. He thought that these games usually ended once you achieved the best character ending. But a post from Bunny Whip Boss described an unbeatable dark demon dragon with 99% magic resistance, a creature that seemed completely out of place, making him realize this wasn't just a random event, but perhaps a final boss. And the truth dawned on him. He hadn't failed to get the best ending. He simply hadn't gotten any ending at all. A sudden clarity washing over him as he understood. This must be the true challenge. The dark demon dragon, 13th Rovan of the Black Knight, had finally appeared. As he continues to read, the story reveals itself. A sound like a heartbeat accompanying the unsettling information, suggesting a dark force at play. All of this was happening in the game called Ether World. He learns about a cult-like group called the Dark Demonic Humans. Their main goal is to help an entity from another world, called Persona Gate, take over this world. As their plans came to fruition, the critical moment arrived. They finally managed to achieve their goal, succeeding in their mission. And with their success, the Dark Demon Dragon appeared. A powerful, glowing weapon, symbolizing the new threat. And when they succeeded, it became clear that a large part of the continent had already been taken over by the Persona Gate. Beck Uziel, processing this information, thinks that he might be the only one concerned about the game, but the world has already been messed up. However, he knows that he cannot simply avoid this fight and must face it head-on. With the world of Ether World now irrevocably changed, Beck Uziel decides he might as well give this new reality a try. A soft sigh escaping him as he prepares to engage. A system prompt appears, asking if he wishes to quit Ether World, but his resolve is firm. He will demonstrate his abilities. He reflects on the 10 years he has spent developing his skills, preparing to explain the unique aspects of his character, Beck Uziel. The vibrant, corrupted cityscape of Ether World shimmers with dark magic, providing a visual context for his thoughts. As swirling purple energy and monstrous forms hint at the overwhelming power now present in the realm. His gaze remains sharp, his expression serious, as he continues to explain the critical details of his in-game character. Indeed, if one were to truly understand his character, Beck Uziel, they would know his most significant limitation. He is the sole character in the game who cannot use magic, despite the fact that magic is universally available to everything else. This limitation meant that even the most experienced players found him unplayable, making him seem less significant than a background character. A powerful, armored leg steps forward, a gleaming sword at its side, visually representing the potential strength of his character. Yet, in a surprising revelation, despite his previous statements, he can, in fact, use some magic. Well, just one, he clarifies. As a brilliant orb of purple energy begins to coalesce within his outstretched hand, rapidly expanding with crackling power, he watches the burgeoning light. A focused intensity in his violet eyes. A subtle smirk playing on his lips. The concentrated blast then erupts forward, striking a monstrous, reptilian head with devastating force. In a flash of light, he executes a rapid, almost instantaneous movement, revealing his mastery of the blink spell. Now a blur of motion, he charges into the fray, his foot landing with a powerful impact. Before he fluidly draws his sword, ready to engage his foes. His gaze remains sharp and unwavering, fully immersed in the battle. His blink spell is a unique ability that allows for dynamic movement, manifesting as a sudden burst of purple energy, a clear sign of its power. This skill allows him to randomly travel between 3 to 10 meters very quickly. However, for any ordinary user, the speed and impact of this movement would be fatal. They would die immediately. Additionally, the cooldown time and mana usage are excessive, and there is also a penalty for using it. The inability to move for 2 seconds after using the skill is a significant drawback, so anyone would typically avoid it. It's a skill that comes with a clear warning, don't use it. However, with a flash of his violet eyes, glowing with a purple light, he defies expectations. However, Beck Uziel has mastered the use of blink. He has truly made it his own, overcoming its inherent difficulties. He has also managed to nullify the penalties, making the skill much more viable. The most surprising part is that it doesn't use up mana, since he doesn't even have a mana stat. He considered the blink spell a basic movement ability that he had pushed to its limits. His dedication to this character became an obsession, as every aspect of his gameplay relied on his skill. For 10 years, he remained the sole high-ranking player in the game who never used magic in combat. He faced formidable adversaries, including a towering, shadowy monster that unleashed powerful attacks. The battle raged with bursts of purple energy, as he relentlessly pressed his assault. Strikes of pure force illuminated the dark environment, marking the intensity of the fight. His in-game character, enveloped in a purple aura, moved with exceptional speed. He continued his advance, determined, as the decisive moment of the battle approached. A powerful impact resonated, signaling a critical blow in the confrontation. His gaze held unwavering determination, reflecting a decade of persistent effort. A system notification appeared, stating, "You have defeated the final boss, 13th Moon of the Black Knight." He looked on in disbelief, questioning, "Did I really kill it?" He knew his character was equipped with ancient relic raid items from head to toe. Yet he still considered it a garbage character. He thought to himself, "Well, that's nice." He planned to go to the community forums and announce that he was the only one who defeated the demon dragon. His mouse cursor hovered over the post button, about to share his achievement. When a system message appeared, "Because the wrong ending has been reached, 90% of Ether World has been destroyed." He stared in disbelief, uttering, "What?" The message continued, adding to his confusion. "However, you were the closest to reaching the true ending." Beck Uziel pushed away from his desk, the meaning of the message slowly registering, and he stammered, "Double it." Finally, a clear command appeared, "Please reach the true ending." His face showed extreme shock, the reality of the situation hitting him. "What?" he exclaimed, completely stunned. As he reacted, the screen glowed with bright energy, a swirling light suggesting a new path. As the system messages flashed, a loud, unsettling sound echoed, indicating a sudden and forceful change. His room began to distort, with his computer setup illuminated by an unusual light as his surroundings faded. An intense, bright light then enveloped everything, drawing him into an unfamiliar space. He could only gasp in shock, his mind trying to understand what was happening. Another gasp escaped him as the light grew brighter, the air around him filled with energy. Suddenly, he was in a completely different place. His clothes changed to a long coat as he cautiously stepped forward. His foot scraped against the stone floor, the sound echoing in the large room. Confused and lost, he held his head, asking himself, "What's going on?" A cold wind blew through the arched windows, showing a strange, fantasy-like world outside. Sitting on the ground, he looked around the old, stone room, whispering, "And where am I?" His eyes, wide with fear and confusion, looked at his new, strange surroundings. The magical energy from his arrival still glowed around him, a clear sign of the strange journey he had just made. Disoriented, he finds himself staring into a reflective surface, a chilling realization dawning on him as he whispers. "A mirror," he gasps, his hand instinctively reaching out to confirm the impossible reflection, the world around him still a blur of unfamiliar purple light. His own eyes, once a familiar dark violet, now glow with an unsettling golden hue, rimmed with purple, a stark contrast to the person he remembered. "Huh," he exclaims, the shock of his altered appearance hitting him with full force. This appearance. His face, now framed by messy, dark hair with a subtle purple sheen, reflects pure disbelief as he struggles to comprehend. This is... The name echoes in his mind, a stark reminder of his former life. Beck Uziel. A sudden, resonant thwang sound reverberates through the air, as a glowing blue symbol pulses with intense energy, signaling a deeper, more profound change. The mysterious energy washes over him, enveloping the entire space in a vibrant, ethereal glow. Overwhelmed, he collapses to the floor, blue energy lines crackling around him, a desperate cry escaping his lips as the transformation intensifies. His glowing eyes dart upwards, reflecting the chaotic energy, as if searching for an answer in the swirling void. With a final, desperate gasp, he utters, "This is," his voice trailing off into the unknown, leaving him suspended in a new, terrifying reality. This marks the commencement of Beck Uziel's prologue quest, a pivotal moment in his unfolding story. As he continues to move, the implications of his transformation begin to settle in. He lets out a soft gasp, struggling to process the situation, a quiet, "No way," escaping him. His steps produce a soft creaking sound, emphasizing the strangeness of his surroundings. His eyes, now glowing with a distinct violet hue, fixate on something ahead, a silent exclamation reflecting his deep contemplation. His attention is drawn to a document, which is an entrance certificate for Solo Academy. He holds the certificate, examining its contents, a tangible link to his new circumstances. He gazes downward, a sense of disbelief evident, muttering, "It's hard to believe, but..." The realization solidifies in his mind. This is definitely Ether World, and I had to be Beck Uziel. He stands, a soft creak accompanying his movements. As he contemplates his situation, his hand thoughtfully placed on his chin. His violet eyes glow with a subtle intensity as he covers his mouth, deep in contemplation. A voice from his memory prompts him to focus. I need to be logical about this. That voice told. He had always focused on reaching the true ending of the game, but a new understanding began to form in his mind. From what he now understands, the game does not have a single true ending, but rather multiple endings, a fact that makes him look down at his faintly glowing hand in deep thought. A small gasp escapes him as his violet eyes begin to glow with an unusual light. The meaning of this discovery hitting him hard, making him question if this could really be true. He recalls a memory, seeing himself from the last few years, looking serious and thoughtful. But the present moment pulls him back, his glowing eyes showing his frustration as he mutters, realizing this is not the time to think about the past. A wave of pain hits him, his head surrounded by a purple glow as he wonders if his memory is becoming unclear, right after it had just started to come back. He looks out the window at a large castle in the distance, letting out a sigh as he understands how much of his memory has returned. His violet eyes glow with new strength, as a sudden, clear memory comes to him. The people chasing him had broken into the hut, asking where the others had gone. Outside, 3 dark, hooded figures stand against the snowy background, their presence confirming his memory. He gasps in surprise and fear as he turns, his glowing eye wide with the sudden understanding that they have arrived. His expression becomes firm, his violet eyes burning with resolve as he curses the situation, realizing he has been found. Damn it, they're already here. A sharp cry echoes through the cold, revealing a desolate, snow-covered landscape where a small, isolated hut stands amidst frosted trees. 3 cloaked figures emerge from the snow, one pointing towards the hut with a clear declaration. There's a hut over there. The blonde-haired leader, his expression stern, acknowledges the discovery with a firm affirmation. Yes, SIR. Inside the hut, Beck Uziel's violet eyes glow faintly, his expression etched with concern as he ponders his next move. What now? Aware that he cannot evade his pursuers indefinitely, as he acknowledges the finite time he has left. His hand clenches tightly, a visible sign of his internal struggle as he acknowledges his inability to confront them directly. But I can't fight them either. Leaving him to desperately search for a viable strategy. What should I do? As he stands before a closed door, a soft purple glow emanates from his body, accompanied by a subtle system notification sound, indicating a new development. And a system window appears, displaying a new available skill. You can use the skill, Blink. He reacts with a surprised, what? His expression shifts to one of profound surprise, his violet eyes widening as he processes the information, a spark of hope appearing in his eyes. A spark of hope igniting within him at the prospect of this unexpected power. I can use Blink. Within the interface of Magic Academy X Hero Blink, the player character, Beck Uziel, is displayed at level 2, possessing basic stats and the skill Blink. The system prompts him to continue. A sudden burst of blue light and particles signifies the activation of the Blink skill, a rapid movement through space. Despite this display of power, the system notes a critical condition. Beck Uziel suffers from magic leakage syndrome, a state that prevents him from accelerating mana within his body. Nevertheless, a golden glow emanates from his form, suggesting a profound, singular hope. This particular spell is not new to him. It is one he has practiced throughout his entire life. The scene then transitions abruptly, bringing the focus to the present time, amidst a desolate, snow-covered landscape. Now, in a school uniform, he holds a glowing blue tablet, his expression one of surprise and concern. The tablet screen illuminates, displaying a clear message. You can use the skill, Blink. The skill's properties are detailed on the screen. Blink is a Class 0 ability with a maximum distance of 5 meters, 1 charge, and a 3-second cooldown. He looks down, a thoughtful expression on his face, muttering, You told me to use Blink right now? But I'm a mage who's controlled. His thoughts drift to his past, recalling his character, which was once manipulated solely by a mouse and keyboard. Yet, his leg moves with a distinct, rapid motion, accompanied by a soft thudding sound, indicating physical movement. He moved quickly, using his Blink skill to traverse the snowy terrain, the sound of his rapid movements echoing through the quiet landscape. A sharp breath escaped him, his eyes glowing green as he sensed the approaching danger. He grimaced, muttering, Damn, they're already here. His jaw tightened, a sound of distress escaping him as he realized. There's no time left. His eyes glowed with determination, as he resolved. The only thing I can do is try. The front yard of the Magic Academy, a place of learning, had now become a critical location. Elsewhere, 2 cloaked figures stood in the falling snow, one with his hood down, revealing a stern face, as a sound like a snap broke the silence. His eyes, now glowing red, showed a fierce excitement as he bared his teeth, making a sharp, eager sound. Suddenly, Beck Uziel fell from the sky, his body a blur as the cloaked leader below exclaimed, I found that bastard. Chase him. Through the cold, snowy air, a command echoes from unseen figures. As 2 cloaked figures, their shapes blurring through the snowy forest, locate their target, a system message appearing. The first part of the tutorial. He pushes himself, his breath visible in the cold, looking back over his shoulder at the ongoing chase. a grunt of effort escaping him with each step. Knowing his pursuers are getting closer, he realizes their magic boots make them faster, a fact his system notes as memory. With a sudden burst, he activates Blink, forcing himself to stay calm. Even as the effort tires him, the system reminding him he has used the skill many times. His violet eyes glow with strong resolve, the exact timing of the skill now deeply ingrained in his muscle memory. He pushes beyond his limits, a silent thought about his own strength, the system again noting memory. One of the pursuers taunts him, their voice clear through the wind. You aren't going to escape. His glowing eyes narrow, the system's last message cut short, hinting at what's to come. They've. Even as the system warns of being caught, a chilling thought echoes through the air, questioning if he's truly been cornered already. Because the truth is, Blink's main disadvantage is that this powerful skill comes with a deadly drawback. If the user fails to control the distance, they could collide with the object and die in an instant, a fatal flaw in a high-speed escape. The very thought of such a catastrophic impact sends shivers down his spine, a stark reminder of the razor's edge he walks. However, a new realization dawns upon him. As one of his pursuers lunges forward, a crimson aura flaring around them, they snarl, vowing to send him straight to hell. Before he can even process the first attack, a second cloaked figure screams, unleashing another furious strike, demanding his demise. Cornered and facing a dual assault, he grits his teeth, his bandaged hand clenching as a flicker of defiance ignites in his eyes. A surge of energy courses through him, stirring memories of a different time, a past self perhaps, or a forgotten mastery. His eyes now glow with a golden intensity, his hair a lighter shade, as he declares with unwavering resolve that if he uses his skill this way, it's completely different. With that newfound understanding, he unleashes a blinding flash of pure energy, activating Blink with unprecedented precision and power. The sudden burst of purple-blue energy engulfs one of his stunned pursuers, a clear sign that the hunter has now become the hunted. A blue energy surge surrounds him, indicating the activation of a new power. And his violet eyes begin to glow with determination, glowing particles swirling around him. The glow intensifies, his eyes shifting from violet to a bright golden hue, showing a new level of power. A confident expression crosses his face as he declares, I did it. Elsewhere, the hooded mage looks down in surprise, asking, What? I asked that Blink. His blue eyes widen as he realizes he's a mage. He struggles to follow the movement, thinking, Faster. My eyes can't even follow it. He's actually good. The scarred man nearby reacts with a sharp sound, his face showing clear astonishment, as he watches the protagonist's speed. He looks down, trying to understand, asking, For US? Wait, how is that Blink moving? Suddenly, the hooded mage is struck and sent falling backward through the snow, with a loud impact. It is Beck Uziel, moving incredibly fast, leaving a blue trail behind him, his speed now a powerful force. His golden eyes show intense focus, as he thinks, carefully, more carefully. He considers his past actions, acknowledging that his focus had been solely on player-versus-player combat, rather than the story's progression. He wonders if he's overthinking the situation, but believes that once he masters the Blink skill, he can return to the main story. A concerning thought crosses his mind. What if he fails to progress to the next part of the story? Despite his thoughts, he continues to run through the cold, snowy forest, a visible breath escaping him, aware that most players failed this tutorial, and even those who succeeded struggled with blink, distance control, and continuous blinking. A sequence of numbers appears, marking a critical moment. With focused intent, he activates Blink, and a bright, ethereal glow surrounds him. He disappears in a flash of golden light, instantly covering a significant distance and leaving shimmering afterimages. His immense speed creates a strong gust of wind as he continues his rapid movement through the air. A cloaked figure observes from afar, visibly surprised by the demonstration of power, wondering why such a skill would be used in this situation. He reflected on his past, realizing he had focused solely on player-versus-player combat, neglecting the overarching story, which had now become a convoluted mess. Elsewhere, a stern, hooded figure issued commands, directing his companions to engage from afar and for magic users to provide frontal support. Two additional cloaked figures, their hands emanating a soft glow, started to gather their magical energy. A torrent of vibrant purple energy erupted from their combined efforts, swirling with intense particle effects as it prepared to unleash its force. The distant, snow-capped peaks loomed in the background, a stark contrast to the impending magical attack. His eyes widened in surprise as he realized the true nature of the incoming threat, a full-scale magical assault. This was the second part of the tutorial, a demanding test requiring him to use Blink to dodge a relentless barrage of magic arrows, a challenge he was expected to overcome. With a burst of purple energy, he blinked into existence, a glowing trail marking his trajectory as he moved through the deadly projectiles. He knew that in the game, a monitor provided a perfect overview, but here, in this reality, he had to rely on pure instinct and spatial awareness. Yet, with each precise, glowing teleportation, he demonstrated an uncanny mastery, effortlessly dodging the relentless magical onslaught. Each blink was executed with a crisp, almost musical jajang, a testament to his flawless execution. He moves with exceptional speed, leaving a vibrant blue trail as the tutorial's relentless assault continues. His incredible agility is fueled by the magic leakage syndrome skill, along with its derivative abilities, sixth sense, and cognitive acceleration, allowing him to perceive and react to the green magical projectiles that explode around him, each impact a testament to the danger he so narrowly avoids. His eyes, glowing with a green light, track every incoming threat, his focus absolute amidst the chaos. He weaves through the barrage, a phantom against the vibrant green energy, his movements fluid and precise. Each dodge is a testament to his mastery, his body twisting and turning to avoid the deadly projectiles, a dance of survival against overwhelming odds. Suddenly, the attacks shift, now manifesting as searing pink and purple energy, the challenge intensifying with each passing moment. A grimace of fierce concentration crosses his face, his eyes now burning with a vibrant purple glow as he pushes his abilities to their absolute limit. With a decisive tack, his foot lands, a burst of pink energy erupting around him, executing a perfect blink to escape the deadly onslaught. He leaves behind shimmering trails of pink and purple energy, a testament to the sheer speed and precision of his teleportation. The tutorial's relentless assault persisted, a blinding burst of vibrant pink and purple energy erupting from an unseen source, quickly coalescing into a deadly projectile. Beck Uziel, moving with incredible speed, expertly slid across the icy terrain. His form a blur as he dodged the incoming threat, leaving a shimmering trail behind him. His face, etched with intense focus, revealed the deep concentration required to navigate this challenge. And a relieved, "Phew, that was close," escaped him as he finally landed, the immediate danger having passed. Standing before a pulsating, glowing portal, he understood the trial was far from over, anticipating the next phase. Only to react with a gasp of surprise as the environment transformed, revealing a vast, treacherous snowy canyon. The new objective then appeared: cross a canyon while using blink. The biting wind whips through the desolate canyon, a stark reminder of the task ahead. Before him, a chasm stretches, an endless void punctuated by precarious floating ice platforms, each one a potential stepping stone across the abyss. His only path forward lies in mastering the absolute precision of his blink skill. He knows the key to survival is to control the distance of his blink perfectly, a feat that demands unwavering focus. Only then can he hope to navigate this treacherous terrain, reunite with his allies, and finally clear the tutorial's ultimate challenge. The sheer scale of the canyon dwarfs him, a chilling reminder of the stakes. One misstep, one moment of hesitation, and it's all over. A cold dread washes over him as the reality sets in. If he fails even once, he'll die right here. The silence of the blizzard is deafening, amplifying the weight of his decision. He stares across the expanse, the floating platforms beckoning him into the perilous journey. To conquer this part of the tutorial, he must execute his blink skill, which activates in a mere 0.1 seconds, at the absolute perfect moment. His eyes narrow, a faint violet glow emanating from them, as he acknowledges that 0.1 seconds is far easier said than done. His fist clenches, a silent vow to overcome the impossible. The challenge is immense, but his resolve burns brighter than the blizzard. However, the path to victory is rarely straightforward. Standing at the edge of the chasm, he considers the task ahead, thinking that it should be manageable. However, his attention is drawn across the wide, icy chasm, where he spots several figures in the distance. A grim realization settles in. The true challenge isn't the jump, but the threat directly ahead. The cloaked figures are now clearly visible, their presence serving as a clear warning. He quietly observes. His pursuers are closer than he had expected. The gap between them is rapidly diminishing, and he understands that he must eliminate them. Just 100 meters separate him from his adversaries, a challenging distance given his blink skill's 0.1 second cooldown. His gaze sharpens. The situation feels like a fortunate turn of events. For his own survival, he understands that he must fight to kill. With a determined expression, he prepares for the upcoming confrontation as the cold wind swirls around him. A strong wind blows across a desolate, snow-covered landscape, shaping sharp peaks of ice and rock, a harsh, empty world that seems to go on forever, with blurred, frozen trees showing how cold it is. In this frozen place, Beck Uziel kneels alone, wearing a cloak, looking down at something out of sight. A wave of anger crosses his face, his purple eyes glowing with strong determination. He thinks, how dare they? He clenches his hand, thinking that he can do this, even if he's not the main character, because in a game, the system would stop him from doing anything without trouble. But looking up at the cold, snowy sky, he knows clearly, this is real life. A bright light comes from him as he says with strong belief, no rule says he has to just follow the game's system. Standing tall among swirling lights and sounds of power, he gets ready to make his own way. His hand glows with strong purple energy, and a cold thought comes to him. Killing doesn't bother him, not because they are his enemies in the story, but for a deeper, more personal reason, which shows in his intense, glowing eyes. A sudden awareness grips Beck Uziel, and he states, they're here. His boots sink into the deep snow, a sword hilt visible at his side, as he prepares for what is to come. His thoughts firm in the belief that he can overcome the challenge. A determined expression settles on his face, his dark violet eyes glowing faintly, reflecting his unwavering resolve. He then surges forward with a burst of speed, snow scattering as he moves. His leg a blur as he rapidly covers ground, leaving a trail in the snow. A stern, hooded figure, accompanied by two others, confronts him, their leader's voice questioning, "You dare fight?" The leader's command rings out, directing his subordinates to pursue him. "Catch that rascal right now." However, he is already engaging, his sword moving swiftly through the air as he confronts multiple hooded figures in combat. One of the hooded enemies, their eyes glowing with an eerie white-purple light, repeats the challenge, "You dare fight?" Baek Uziel's eyes glow violet as he prepares for combat, believing his opponent is finished. And he moves with incredible speed, a swift streak across the dark space. However, an unseen adversary, whose eyes glow orange, targets him, calculating the target distance at 0.7 meters, a precise measurement in the midst of the chaos. With a swift blink, the opponent delivers a rapid strike. A powerful impact follows, a piercing blow striking Baek Uziel, who looks up in surprise, his violet eyes still glowing, as the attack makes a pusyuk and kwang sound. The attacker's face shows a grim expression, with blood splattering from the impact, indicating the severity of the blow. Meanwhile, the other hooded figures observe the quick, brutal exchange, one of them visibly surprised by the sudden turn of events, a silent reaction to the unexpected outcome. A confused "huh?" escapes from one of the observers, reflecting their shock. The attacker stands over him, his face showing grim determination, while Baek Uziel's violet eyes, though pained, still show a flicker of defiance, as he is held by his assailant. A blade is shown, deeply embedded, with glowing particles shimmering around the wound, confirming the severe injury. He doubles over, a choked yuk escaping his lips, as pain racks his body. He coughs violently, blood splattering from his mouth, a clear sign of his severe injury. Baek Uziel, though his face is splattered with blood from the recent attack, maintains a look of grim determination. He feels the cold reality of his injuries, the clear sensation of blood running down his fingertips. Yet, a thought crosses his mind, firm and unwavering. He feels no sense of guilt at all. With a burst of speed, he pushes past his pain, his form blurring as he begins to escape. He recalls his past struggles, understanding his own motivations. He only killed them to survive. He runs across the snowy, mountainous landscape, his footsteps heavy on the frozen ground. He continues his rapid escape, his body angled for maximum speed. Kicking up snow with each stride, he maintains his high speed. From a distance, the hooded figures observe his escape, one of them reacting with a surprised exclamation. Another hooded figure points towards the fleeing hunter, alerting his companions that he is getting away. Baek Uziel, his violet eyes glowing with intense focus, pushes forward with all his might. With a final effort, he continues to flee across the snowy landscape. He had dealt with one of his pursuers, but the next attack would not be easy. A grimace twisting his features, he wondered how he could possibly endure this again. Suddenly, a chilling silence descended, making him question, "Why is it so quiet? Have they given up on chasing me?" Standing amidst the swirling snow, his eyes glowing with an ethereal violet light, he remained poised, ready for any eventuality. But the quiet was a deception. A sudden impact confirmed, no, they had not given up. He considered his options, wondering if he could simply dodge the next assault. A sharp, unseen blow made him recoil, a frustrated curse escaping his lips. But his hesitation was fleeting, replaced by a surge of power as he declared, "Now." With blinding speed, he unleashed a devastating, golden-hued attack, slamming into one of the hooded pursuers. The force of his blow sent ripples of energy through the air, the hooded figure reeling from the impact. A vibrant pink and purple energy trail marked the path of his finishing move, leaving no doubt about the power behind it. The hooded figure was engulfed in a fiery explosion, a testament to the sheer destructive force Baek Uziel commanded. The inferno he unleashed continues to rage, a swirling vortex of orange and red flames, consuming everything in its path with explosive force. And as the sheer scale of the destruction unfolds, he grimaces, a frustrated thought echoing in his mind. "I've only concerned myself with player versus player combat, and not the overall story so far, but the entire lore has become a mess. Is this acceptable?" The fiery blast intensifies, a blinding flash of light erupting from its core, pushing back the encroaching shadows with raw, unbridled power. The swirling inferno reaches its peak, a maelstrom of burning energy that threatens to engulf the very world. Amidst the fiery chaos, he sprints forward, his form a blur against the vibrant backdrop of destruction, still desperately trying to escape. A frustrated growl escapes him, his mind racing. Damn it, why is the spell so slow? Suddenly, a shadowy hand lunges from the darkness, a chilling voice announcing, "There." His head snaps back, violet eyes flaring with intense magical energy, ready to meet the new threat head-on. Before the shadowy figure can fully emerge, a blinding circular burst of energy erupts from his position, a powerful counterspell striking with devastating force. The impact explodes outwards in a shower of golden particles and vibrant light, shattering the air with its raw power. Dynamic energy trails ripple through the air, a testament to the sheer force unleashed in that single, decisive moment. When the light fades, the landscape is utterly transformed, a vast expanse of shattered, icy ground stretching into the cloudy sky, a stark reminder of the battle's ferocity. The icy blast from Baek Yuziel's previous spell still echoes across the devastated landscape, showing its raw power. The ground itself, fractured and frozen, shows the damage from the explosive impact. A hooded mage looks at the destruction, smiling, sure his target is gone. Serves him right for acting so cocky and acting up, he says quietly, with a faint sound of ice cracking. A distant, loud crash echoes through the air, a final sound of the huge force that was released. The large, frozen area spreads out, a bleak, empty scene created by the attack's power. But then, the mage looks unsure. He squints as he searches the empty, icy ground. He asks, feeling more and more worried. He's not here? Suddenly, bright yellow energy appears, and Baek Yuziel moves very fast, a quick movement leaving shining particles behind him. The hooded mage steps back, a blue light appearing around him in surprise, as he sees the main character's sudden appearance. His eyes open wide, showing the bright golden light coming from the young man, as he starts to understand how powerful his enemy truly is. Baek Yuziel looks sharply, his purple eyes burning with focus, as he gets ready for his next move, a power that keeps its full strength, always. He clenches his jaw, the yellow energy around him growing stronger, a quiet sign of his strong determination. With a sudden, bright flash, Baek Yuziel disappears, only to reappear as a fast blur of purple and green energy, moving incredibly quickly. His speed carries him forward, leaving a shimmering trail behind him, showing how fast he is moving. Then, a sharp burst of dark energy comes from him, aimed at his opponent. Meanwhile, the hooded mage and another cloaked figure stand still in the icy, destroyed landscape, shocked by how much damage there is. The mage can only speak in shock, trying to understand what happened to their surroundings. He looks across the broken ice and swirling particles, asking what happened. But before he can fully understand what's happening, a strong hit lands on him, with purple and black energy spreading through his body. The force pushes him back, and a cry of surprise comes from him. His hood falls back, showing a face twisted in pure shock, the mage completely confused by what just happened. As the dust clears, Baek Yuziel stands victorious over his defeated enemy, the mage lying on the ground among the broken ice. A final, loud impact sounds through the frozen air, showing that the mage is completely defeated. A sudden impact causes him to flinch, his hand moving to his face as he processes the new threat. He looks down at his leg, understanding that there are now two opponents remaining, and the battle continues. Across the cold, icy landscape, two cloaked figures move forward, their presence a clear threat. His expression becomes determined, as he realizes he must finish this fight before more enemies arrive. With a burst of energy, a blue light surrounds him, as he gets ready for a quick move. One of the mages notices his speed, thinking he has a very fast reaction time for a magic user. The mage with the beard, looking surprised and thoughtful, watches his opponent closely. During the fight, he asks himself, who are these new enemies? The bearded mage remains steady in his dark robes, watching as the fight gets more intense. He knows his reaction speed is very fast, even faster than many professional gamers, but he remembers that this is a real fight, not a game. He realizes he cannot keep avoiding their attacks indefinitely, especially with their current intensity. Soon after, a new injury appears on his leg, with blood visible on the snow, showing that the mages have landed a hit. He surges forward, a blur of motion, determined to end this confrontation as swiftly as possible. But the cloaked mage is ready, his hand flashing up to meet the attack, a shimmering blue barrier erupting to deflect the blow. A chilling realization dawns as the mage speaks, his voice laced with unnerving confidence, revealing, "We've already figured out your blink spell." The words hang heavy in the air, a stark warning that they understand every trick this guy has up his sleeve. A flicker of surprise crosses Baek Yuziel's face, the mage's insight into his blink, and that dagger hitting him with the force of a physical blow. The mage continues, his voice dripping with disdain. "As long as I protect my face and neck, that dagger won't even scratch me." Undeterred, Baek Yuziel's eyes blaze with a fierce violet glow, his resolve hardening in the face of this unexpected challenge. The mage, sensing his opponent's renewed determination, unleashes a torrent of icy magic, shards of blue energy swirling around him as he prepares a devastating attack. But Baek Yuziel meets the challenge head-on, a defiant roar escaping his lips. "Come on, bring it on." With a thunderous surge, the mage unleashes his full power, a colossal ice wave, erupting, threatening to engulf everything in its path. Yet, in a flash of brilliant blue, Baek Yuziel activates his blink ability, evading the devastating attack with impossible speed. The ice wave crashes harmlessly into the environment, leaving a trail of frozen destruction where Baek Yuziel had just been. He unleashes a torrent of ice, confident in his victory, stating, "All right, I've got you." A smirk plays on his lips as he anticipates the outcome, muttering, "Now let's watch that face." His eyes glow with malevolent glee, reveling in the thought of his opponent's pain, a cruel taunt escaping him. But a bead of sweat, or perhaps a tear, escapes the corner of Baek Yuziel's eye, his gaze sharp with intense focus. Suddenly, the mage's confident expression shatters into surprise as Baek Yuziel's afterimage flickers through the ice, having completely evaded the devastating attack. The mage whips his head around, his surprise evident. He spins, searching frantically through the shimmering ice shards, his target nowhere to be found. A flash of violet in the darkness. Baek Yuziel's eye glows with renewed determination, a frustrated curse escaping his lips. The hooded mage's face contorts in anger, accusing him of cowardice before acknowledging his sudden reappearance. Standing amidst the shattered ice, Baek Yuziel simply confirms his presence, a quiet, defiant, yeah, echoing through the air. A confident smirk spreads across his face, his eyes burning violet, as he taunts the mage. Thanks for helping me get better at it. Enraged by the audacity, the hooded mage snarls. You little brat, I'll show you no mercy this time. Consumed by anger, the hooded mage makes a grim promise, his voice filled with deadly resolve. A wave of cold energy bursts from the mage, covering the ground in frost, but Baek Yuziel moves quickly, evading the attack with agile steps, his figure a blur against the icy backdrop. His foot just touches the frozen ground, showing his quick reactions as he moves through the dangerous magic. The air around him hums as he moves at top speed, like a ghost, always changing position and vanishing from sight. With a last burst of speed, he finishes dodging, now ready to counterattack. The hooded mage looks surprised as his target, who should have been caught, suddenly appears close enough to strike, a sudden change in the fight. A bright, glowing blade appears, its edge shining with strong energy as it moves towards the mage. The counterattack hits with great power, sending waves of blue energy through the air and making the mage stumble back. His thoughts race as he understands the bold risk his opponent just took. Was this a planned move, a trap to get him closer? A growl escapes him, his frustration growing, as he promises to stop his enemy from gaining any more ground, a red glow appearing around him. With new anger, he releases a powerful burst of ice and magic, the collision of spells lighting up the area in a bright flash of energy. Every muscle tenses, all his strength focused on defeating his opponent, his teeth clenched in a fierce fight for control. With a loud whomp, the mage's ice defenses break apart into many shining pieces and raw magic. A deep HNNG sound comes from the hooded mage, his jaw tight as he tries to take the sudden hit. His eyes open wide in shock as he thinks, in oh way. His mind struggles to understand what just happened. The strong hit sends a wave of energy across the frozen land, making ice and snow burst with a soft PFFD as the mage's shields fall apart. With another loud whomp, the hooded mage is pushed back, a red glow of pain and broken magic appearing around him. As he tries to stand up again, a cold thought enters his mind. Was he planning on attacking me at the front room from the beginning? A game interface for Magic Academy X Singblinder appears, displaying character ranks and game information. Without warning, the game interface gives way to a sudden fall, as Baek Yuziel drops through a glowing void, while system messages announcing, you have obtained EXP. Level up. Skill acquired. And new quest received, flash before him. He continues to fall, a rapid blur of motion amidst glowing particles, as the environment below approaches quickly. After a harsh landing, a small sound of distress escapes him, his face showing clear shock and disbelief, marked by dirt and blood. His hand, covered in blood, trembles, holding a broken piece of something, reflecting the harsh reality of his situation. He pants, his eyes wide with horror, trying to process the terrifying situation he is in. The area is dark and bloody, with blood splattered everywhere, indicating a recent violent event. Baek Yuziel stands in the bloody environment, his clothes torn, looking down at something out of view. He takes a sharp breath, then realizes the truth. This is real, and his eyes begin to glow purple. With determination, Baek Yuziel assumes a fighting stance, a purple aura surrounding him, preparing for his first blink and his first battle against the monster. His weapon swings, leaving a trail of purple energy, striking down the monster in what he calls his first murder. He lies on the cold ground, his body covered in fresh wounds and blood, as the harsh reality of his first kill begins to sink in. His face, bruised and injured, shows the shock he feels, but a soft purple light shines from his eyes, hinting at a new power awakening inside him. The stark truth echoes in his thoughts. He had killed someone to survive, a desperate act in a world much harsher than he knew. His hands, still covered in blood, shake uncontrollably, a clear sign of the shock from the violence he had just experienced. He lets out a ragged breath as he stands in the empty, snowy landscape, the heavy truth of his new situation weighing on him. With a firm decision, he chooses to leave the area, understanding he needs to find a safer spot to deal with the huge changes in his life. Later, now clean and wearing a suit, Baek Yuziel sighs, the first shock fading as he begins to think more practically, though still troubled, about his situation. He stops, a new thought coming to him as he looks at his surroundings, the meaning of his sudden change becoming clearer by the moment. A small, annoyed sound escapes him, his forehead creased with worry as he faces the difficult truths of his new life. Even though his past actions leave a bad feeling, He makes himself think practically, understanding the urgent need for money in this strange new world. With new determination, he states his goal to get a large amount of money, 1,000,000 credits, a target that now guides his next steps. He carefully counts the money he has acquired, approximately 2,000,000 won, noting that it is better than nothing. However, a new problem quickly occupies his thoughts. A strong wind blows through a desolate, snow-covered chasm. Its sheer, icy walls extend far into the distance, forming a significant obstacle. The vastness of the frozen wilderness is emphasized by the echoing wind. Baek Uziel stands at the edge, realizing he must find a way to cross the formidable cliff before him. The massive rock face dominates the view, a towering formation of ice and stone. He calls out, his voice echoing in the vast silence, hoping to find someone else in this desolate place. Suddenly, he spots a faint path leading through the snow, indicating a possible route. He recognizes something about the path, a realization dawning on him. He identifies a group of mages below, recognizing them as the same ones from the tutorial. From his vantage point above, he observes the mages, who are unaware of his presence, noting that there seems to be no other way to cross. High above the snowy chasm, a group of cloaked figures stands, their leader stating, "Yes, I am on my way." Nearby, another mage, with lighter hair, remarks, "He said he would cross this gap." The hooded leader expresses doubt, but to cross this cliff, he would have to be at least a second-class knight. Could that young boy do that? His companion's eyes widen slightly, showing a hint of concern. As a sudden, bright energy bursts from the cliff's edge, and a figure plunges into the abyss, causing a mage to exclaim, "Oh, It is Baek Uziel, his body surrounded by a bright, golden aura, moving across the large, icy chasm. The two mages watch, captivated by the impossible event unfolding before them. His focused look and the bright glow around him showing his power and determination. With a strong impact, his hand touches a floating ice platform, the force making a sharp sound. The chasm, once a huge barrier, now shows a path of scattered, glowing ice pieces, each a difficult stepping stone. The hooded mage, clearly surprised, finally asks, "Is that a jumping type of player?" As the two mages continue to watch, they begin to understand the meaning of such a unique ability. He had successfully traversed the vast chasm, his unique ability proving effective. His dark blue hair, with lighter streaks, moved around him, reflecting the energy of his movement. From the opposite side, the hooded figures observed, one of them asking, "Is that a blink?" The hooded mage, looking worried, stated, "However, a blink cannot control its direction and distance." Nevertheless, Baek Uziel moved through the air, a bright blue aura following him, his path accurate, causing the observers to exclaim, "How is that possible?" With a solid thud, he landed on the snowy surface, a flash of golden energy appearing around his feet as he absorbed the force. The hooded mage could only express his surprise with a sharp intake of breath. Now on the far side of the wide chasm, Baek Uziel stood, as the other hooded figure asked, "Those two individuals, are they with him?" He looked back towards the mages, his face showing no clear emotion as the cold wind blew. The hooded mage, still processing the incredible feat, uttered another sound of surprise. However, his surprise quickly shifted to determination, a red aura appearing around him, as he started to gather significant power, with a sound of crackling energy. His hand shone with strong, swirling red and orange magic, indicating that the conflict was about to begin. The chasm erupts in a powerful burst of red and gold magic, unleashed by the hooded mage, tearing through the air with great force. UND kompliziert, Lichtend Muster der Zerstörung Braden sich schnell aus, ein Bingstigen Demonstration von Macht, die alles in ihrem Weg zu Verschlingen droht. Der Wirbel aus Grüner UND Reter Energie verstarkt sich, ein Gewalttätiger, Wirbelnder Malstrom reiner magischer Kraft, der keinen Zweifel in der Zerstörerischen Absicht dahinterlässt. Plötzlich halt ein Verzweifelter Ruf über den Abgrund, der in Wort, aufzupassen, als die Feurige Explosion nachkommt. Mit einem Fluch aktiviert Baek Uziel sein Blinkfähigkeit, teleportiert sich weg, gerade als die verheerende Explosion sein vorherige Position verschlingt. Bricht aus dem Rand der Explosion hervor, ein Bugungsenscharf durch die Luft, sein Körper verdreht sich mit unglaublicher Agilität, während der unmittelbaren Gefahr entgeht. Mit einem festen Aufprall landet, a UND blickt zurück auf die verbleibenden magischen Rückstand. Sein Ausdruck ist ernst, während die neue Bedrohung einschätzt. Sein Blick schweift über die schwebenden Trümmer, ein Plan formt sich bereits in seinem Kopf. Die zerbrochenen Überreste Abgrunds werden ihm als nächst Trittstein dienen. Ein beunruhigender Gedanke durchfahren. Sind dies neuen Angreifer mit dem Magier von Zuver verbundet? Die Situation ist weitaus gefahrlicher geworden. Drang vorwärts. Das System seit ein wichtige Aktualisierung in. Blinks Abklingzeit betragt 3 Sekunden. Ein Kostbares Zeitfenster der Verwundbarkeit. Jedem einzelnen magischen Angriff auszuweichen ist unmöglich. Erkennt sein Verstand rast, den nächsten schwebenden Stein zu finden, den nächsten Weg zum Jubelben. Mit neuter Entschlossenheit setzt seinen Verzweifelten Sprung über den Abgrund fort. Sein Augen auf den Tuckischen Weg vor ihn gerichtet. As he plunged deeper into the chasm, his eyes, a vivid violet, reflected the urgency of his situation. As another surge of crackling blue-purple energy struck him, forcing him further downward. He acknowledged his inevitable fall, yet the persistent magic offered no chance for a pause. The impact of the magic resonated through the air, a sound of destruction accompanying his swift fall. Enveloped by the faint glow of the magical assault, he descended rapidly, a solitary figure against the immense force. A strange sound escaped him, as the combined force of the fall and the magic tested his endurance. Sharp rock formations rushed past, each a potential hazard, emphasizing his dangerous predicament. He spun, disoriented, the surroundings blurring as he continued his descent into the depths. Yet, amidst the turmoil, a strong determination set his expression, his jaw firm, unwilling to yield to the descent. His hand extended quickly, seeking any solid surface, any opportunity to halt his rapid movement. A subtle blue aura flickered around him as he rotated his body, attempting to stabilize himself, to find a point of purchase in the turbulent air. His focus sharpened on a distant fragment of debris, a solitary, precarious hope in the immense void. With a burst of desperate energy, his hand began to emit a faint glow, preparing to grasp his opportunity, ready to struggle for every bit of survival. As the chasm swallowed him whole, a sudden, disorienting flash, a magical blink, momentarily seized his senses. Still plummeting through the icy depths, Beck Uziel's body twisted, surrounded by the chilling glow of residual magic. Desperate, he reached out, his fingers clawing at the passing rock and debris, searching for any purchase. With a sharp impact, he slammed against a jagged outcropping, the force momentarily jarring his descent. A gasp of relief escaped him, a fleeting thought of survival echoing in the vast emptiness. But the grip was tenuous, and he plunged once more, the abyss beckoning below. A guttural cry of defiance tore from his throat, as a fierce, crimson aura erupted around him, his resolve hardening against the relentless fall. The red and orange energy intensified, engulfing him in a brilliant, protective blaze as he plummeted further. With eyes blazing with determination, he declared his intent to overcome, his power surging. From above, a chilling voice echoed, as a torrent of frigid blue magic descended, aiming to finish him. The blue energy struck with blinding force, a brilliant flash momentarily obscuring everything. But through the chaos, his crimson aura exploded outwards, a defiant burst of power clashing with the mage's attack, scattering sparks of light into the darkness. The magical energy from the recent clash still lingered, a mix of blue and purple light slowly disappearing into the environment. A soft rustling sound accompanied the fading energy, as the last bits of power disappeared, leaving only the cold. Below the clouds, the large, snowy chasm opened wide, a dangerous drop, with faint traces of red and blue magic still in the cold air. High above, on a snowy ledge, the hooded mage stood, a dark shape against the stormy sky, looking down into the chasm. Even as the last spell's energy faded, a faint, blue energy started to gather around his dark cloak, hinting at another attack. Meanwhile, somewhere in the chasm, Beck Uziel's mind worked quickly, trying to understand what he had just seen. What was that magic? An ice spear, but it also had. His thoughts continued, and he realized something shocking. Lightning. Someone used two types of magic in one spell, and this is just the tutorial. The meaning of it all made him feel cold, as he thought about the impossible. Also, the system clearly figured out the path of the spell without him even mastering mana. Who could? His thoughts echoed across the empty chasm. Do something like that? While the hooded mage stayed ready above, a quiet danger. With a strange sound, the hooded mage's eyes glowed a bright blue, his power growing as he got ready for a new, scary spell. His hand, now covered in bright blue light, started to form the magic into a sharp, crystal-like shape, full of power. Without waiting, the mage released his spell, a huge spear of cold energy that shot down into the chasm, aimed at the hero below. He survives the powerful dual attribute attack, his body injured but his will intact, while the hooded figure observes from above, murmuring, impossible. Despite the pain from the ice and energy, he lets out a cry, confirming his survival with a strained, "Ah. Seems I live anyway." The chasm around him is still filled with ice shards and lingering magic, showing the great power he had just faced. Gradually, the wild energies start to fade, giving him a chance to breathe, a quiet phew, it leaving his mouth. With new resolve, he starts his difficult climb out of the icy chasm, leaving the broken pieces of the attack below. His ability to recover is clear, showing his strong will, as his life energy, though lower, stays steady. Coming out of the chasm, he finds himself in a lonely, snow-covered place, where the hooded mage and two other people are waiting, their presence standing out against the calm scene. A sudden thought comes to him, his eyes widening in surprise as he understands the unexpected meeting. He walks up to the hooded figure and says with some hesitation, "Thank you for helping me just now," showing his gratitude for the help. The hooded mage, however, brushes off his thanks with a calm, almost uncaring voice, saying clearly, "I didn't do it to receive any gratitude, so don't mind it." as she turns to leave, and he responds with a simple, "Ah, okay." He feels a mix of wonder and confusion. His thoughts turn to her noticeable features, a quiet admiration growing as he thinks, "She's got the prettiest eyes I've ever heard in my life." Still, he senses a barrier, but she seems unwilling to approach. His gaze sharpens, a flicker of understanding crossing his features as he processes the world around him. He recalls the bandits, notorious for pillaging nearby villages, their fiery destruction a stark reminder of the dangers lurking in this realm. But in reality, most of the atrocities are committed by the Dark Demon Cult, a shadowy organization whose influence spreads like a plague. Their dark magic and sinister intentions are far more terrifying than any mere bandit raid, a cloaked figure embodying their chilling power. Even after surviving the chasm, he finds himself in a precarious position, standing on a desolate cliff edge, the vastness of the world stretching before him. He realizes that the moment he escapes this cliff, he'll enter the territory of the mages, a land shrouded in both magic and darkness. A system message appears before him, confirming his next objective, a new episode about to unfold. He walks through a desolate, snowy landscape, the cold wind biting at his skin, his journey into the unknown continuing. Another message pops up, making him wonder, is this truly the second episode already? He considers the title, Enroll in the Stellar Academy, and a smirk plays on his lips, thinking it doesn't sound too difficult. Having just considered the next quest, he now grapples with the implications. The idea of returning to school at his age fills him with a profound sense of dismay. Under the serene glow of a crescent moon, a vast, empty sky stretches into the infinite. Over a desolate, craggy landscape where only a faint, ethereal light hints at something hidden within the shadows, a stark contrast to the quiet desperation brewing within Beck Uziel. Meanwhile, a mysterious hooded mage, shrouded in darkness, clutches a glowing orb, its power pulsing with an ominous rhythm, a silent harbinger of the trials to come. Back in his room, Beck Uziel lies awake, his face etched with a profound weariness, the weight of his circumstances pressing down on him. Yet, a flicker of resolve ignites in his eyes, a quiet determination to overcome whatever challenges lie ahead, even as his mind drifts back to a simpler time. A distant memory, a faint echo of a voice, calls out to him from the past, a tender, familiar sound. A young Uziel, clutching a book, looks up with wide, innocent eyes, calling out for his mother. His youthful ambition shines brightly as he declares his future path, dreaming of becoming a mage. His mother, her face soft with pride and affection, gazes down at him, offering unwavering belief in his potential. Driven by that encouragement, the young Uziel pores over a second-hand magical text, a testament to his early dedication. Surrounded by countless tomes in a library, he vows to study diligently, his youthful heart set on making his parents proud. As the memories began to surface, a fragmented image of a younger self appeared, a small child with downcast eyes, seemingly lost in a haze of pain. The details of the memory are hazy, resembling an old, faded report, but the implications are unsettling. In the present, a desperate plea escapes Beck Uziel, a single word, "Doctor," echoing the terror of a past moment. The memory solidifies, showing his mother, her face etched with anguish, clutching her young son, her voice trembling as she asks, "Did you just say that my son has mana leakage overcome?" The child's response is a choked whisper, no, a denial against an unbearable truth. His adult eye flares with a violet glow, a desperate refusal to accept what he's seeing, the thought screaming, "There's no way." His hands clench, the past and present colliding as he questions the very nature of these visions. Are these Beck Uziel's memories? Or? A raw, guttural cry escapes him, a sound of pure anguish tearing through the silence. He stares down, utterly overwhelmed, the question burning in his mind. Are these my memories? A sudden, violent flash of memory hits him, a jarring impact that rattles his very being. The pressure intensifies, a tearing sensation as the fragmented past forces its way into his consciousness, threatening to shatter his composure. He's caught, held fast by an unseen force, a pained groan escaping his lips, as the full weight of the memory crashes down upon him. Still affected by the recent memories, he reflects on his past actions, realizing that his sole focus on player-versus-player combat has distorted his understanding of the game's story, leaving him to question the integrity of the world around him. However, the arrival of morning interrupts his thoughts, signaling a new day. Revealing a wide, snow-covered landscape illuminated by the gentle light of dawn, a peaceful scene. A voice then calls out, indicating someone was about to rouse him. As he begins to stir, a man with red hair leans over him, a friendly smile on his face, ready to start the day's travel. His companion then states their immediate destination, the satellite city of Arcanum, indicating their journey is about to begin. Before long, the rhythmic sound of a wagon moving across the frozen ground can be heard as they travel. Until they stop in the open, snowy area, where the red-haired man suggests they take a break from their journey, joined by another person. Stretching to relieve the stiffness from the long ride, Beck Uziel lets out a tired sigh, his body adjusting to the cold. His expression thoughtful, still deep in contemplation, as the weight of his past memories continues to affect him even during this new journey. The journey continues, with a hooded figure, their light blue hair visible beneath the cowl, leading the way through a desolate, snow-covered landscape. Meanwhile, the young man remains lost in thought, a question mark hanging over his head as he grapples with the distorted lore of this world. His companion presses onward, their destination still shrouded in the vast, open wilderness. Despite his initial worries about the messed-up story, Beck Uziel finds a strange sense of relief, realizing that things are progressing surprisingly well. He observes the world around him, noting that while magic is prevalent, the technology, particularly the engine, feels far more advanced than a medieval setting would suggest. Indeed, magic thrives in this ether world, but within its safe cities, modern conveniences like trains, flying ships, and even warp holes are meticulously established. All these marvels exist to make long-distance travel incredibly convenient. As they continue their journey, the young man learns they are heading to Lizodica, where they will board one of these magnificent flying ships. Lizodica, it turns out, is merely a stop along the route to the true destination, Arcanum. And it is in Arcanum, the legendary city of magic, where the real episode of his adventure is set to begin. This grand city is rumored to house numerous magic academies, formidable knight orders, and 5 towering wizard spires, each a beacon of power. Among them all, one academy stands supreme, the most powerful of them all, Stellar Academy. He had been so focused on player versus player combat, and not the overarching story, that the entire lore of Stellar Academy was now a confusing jumble in his memory. A slight smile touched his lips as he thought, I still don't understand how Beck Uziel managed to get into Stellar Academy with such a low rank. He let out a sigh, acknowledging his oversight. I haven't even checked my skills yet. His expression changed, a hint of worry appearing as he remembered his true condition. A system window appeared, showing the details of his condition, Mana Leakage Syndrome, Level 1. This condition increases his agility and sensitivity to mana, but prevents his body from storing mana. He considered the harsh truth of his situation. Even if I tried to gather mana, I would already be dead by the time 2 units accumulated. This cursed body, which prevents him from accumulating mana, is known as Mana Leakage Syndrome, a condition that stops him from storing mana within his body. A disturbing memory of his mother being held captive briefly appeared, as the system revealed a stark truth. It is a type of inherent curse. Despite this severe curse, Beck Uziel has a unique advantage. A rare ability that enables him to detect mana in his surroundings using his sixth sense, a power referred to as detection acceleration. This ability also lets him sense incoming attacks, even if he isn't consciously aware of them, making it seem as though the threat is moving slower. This is a crucial advantage, as any threat or attack approaching him is perceived at a speed a normal human could detect, giving him a significant edge. The detection sixth sense is a vital skill for Beck Uziel, especially since he cannot use mana, but this ability cannot be sustained for long, as it consumes a significant amount of his mind power. As he considers this, his attention turns to the next important information, his character's statistics. A status window appears, showing his current attributes, strength at 1 star 39%, agility at 1 star 51%, endurance at 1 star 97%, and a dash where mana should be, confirming his condition. His Mana Leakage Syndrome trait is also visible. He remembers that the original Beck Uziel had very low sensitivity, but it seems that some of the stats from the character he had developed in the game were transferred into him. The system explains that skills are measured in levels and stats in stars, with his current stats remaining low. He understands that the maximum stat level is 9 stars, but reaching it is considered almost impossible. Even after playing the game for over 10 years, the highest he ever reached was 4 stars in both stamina and sensitivity, but he knows he needs to find a way to invest in sensitivity for his detection sixth sense and reaction speed, which updates his stats to sensitivity 1 star, mana 1 star 51%, and power 1 star. He thinks he will have to achieve his goals through other methods. With his stat allocation finished, his sensitivity is now 1 star 97%, stamina 1 star 51%, and mind power 1 star 43%. That's done, he says, completing the process. However, a new thought occurs to him, a more significant issue than his mana problem. The actual problem isn't the Mana Leakage Syndrome. He understands that he cannot survive for long without training, and that upgrading his secret of mana is essential, meaning the way to reinforce his Mana Leakage Syndrome lies within Stellar Academy. It is the sole location that offers a solution to his predicament. This realization means he has no choice but to go to Stella, a necessary step if he wishes to prevent the world's end and address his debilitating syndrome. A sigh escapes him, as he admits he never wanted to go, wishing for something to assist him in this moment. He lets out a soft sigh, the weight of his decision settling upon him, a quiet acceptance of the path ahead. Suddenly, his attention is drawn to a screen, displaying new notifications, causing him to question why he had not seen them previously. As he processes the new information, a voice interrupts his thoughts, urging him to get going, and he promptly responds, indicating his readiness. Stella, the blue-haired figure, begins to walk away, her cloak swaying, and he follows, their footsteps making soft sounds. Her gaze is distant, lost in thought, as if contemplating the upcoming journey. A moment of silence passes between them, her expression remaining unreadable. Finally, They arrive at a grand, futuristic building, the imposing structure of Stella Academy rising into the sky. A large airship soars through the sky, heading towards its destination. During the flight, a message appears, stating, "We are now leaving for Arcanium." Inside the luxurious cabin, an attendant with purple hair addresses Beck Uziel, telling him to please take a seat for your safety. He looks around, observing the new environment with a thoughtful expression. The attendant sees him looking around and comments, "Hey, look at that dude looking around like some lost little kid." Beck Uziel turns towards the attendant, who keeps talking, asking if he never been on a flying ship. He remains silent, thinking about the attendant's words. The attendant, looking annoyed, says, "It's supposed to be the most renowned in the world. They're silly the number of their only 4. Beck Uziel stands between the two attendants, who both look serious. He turns and walks away, leaving the attendants behind. His face shows deep thought as he considers his situation. The purple-haired attendant then sighs, saying, "Phew." As the attendant's words settled, Beck Uziel reflected on his past focus, acknowledging that his preoccupation with player-versus-player combat had caused him to neglect the game's narrative, which now seemed disorganized. Elsewhere, the attendant's expression tightened with anger as he spoke under his breath, clearly irritated by a perceived challenge to his authority. With a sharp increase in volume, he commanded the individual to halt. His anger intensified, his face showing his displeasure as he continued to scold the person. He gestured in frustration, asking why there was so much noise. A moment of surprise registered in his gaze, as something unexpected drew his focus. From within the airship's luxurious cabin, a person appeared, their long white hair and red clothing standing out amidst the gently falling, luminous particles. Beck Uziel, looking puzzled, responded with a quiet sound of surprise, trying to understand the new person's sudden arrival. His thoughts quickly turned to the name, questioning if he had just heard Bayan. The elegant person is indeed Bayan, her beauty and dignified presence now clearly visible, a graceful sight within the airship's grand setting. The airship's cabin was illuminated by a gentle, soft light, with subtle flower designs on the walls, emphasizing the comfortable trip. Bayan stood facing the attendant, who now appeared calmer, her presence drawing focus as a quiet understanding seemed to pass between them, and the journey proceeded. As Bayan makes her entrance, an attendant bows respectfully, addressing her as, "Why, Your Highness?" The sight of her prompts a reaction from others, as Stella and Beck Uziel both seem to consider her presence. The attendant, still somewhat flustered, manages a small, Bayan, seemingly unaffected, walks away, her long dress trailing behind her with a soft rustle. Other attendants observe her leaving, their faces showing a mix of awe and concern, quietly acknowledging her title as she departs. Her presence leaves an impression, as a man in a suit observes her walking by, appearing thoughtful. The intricate details of her clothing, from her capelet to the embroidery, highlight her status. The man who observed her departure now considers her identity, thinking, "So she's." The truth about her role in this world is revealed. She is known as this world's villainess. She is identified as one of the main characters of this game, her fate linked to another important female character. Their paths are set to conflict, as she and the main female protagonist always have arguments, a conflict that leads to a tragic outcome. She dies in the end. Her death is an unavoidable outcome, and no matter what route you choose to take, a harsh reality where she's brutally murdered in some endings. And in other scenarios, she is dragged into the academy before ultimately being expelled. In one instance, she experiences something so shameful that she never appears before the main character again. It's as if the developers intended for her to suffer, wanting her to disappear regardless of the circumstances. Walking through the streets, he remembers hearing that she is quite popular among players because of her appearance. He ponders to himself, questioning if this situation is truly acceptable. Feeling a pang of hunger, he thinks he should probably eat something. He passes a shop displaying various baked goods and sweets, their enticing appearance catching his eye. However, upon seeing the prices, he lets out a surprised sound. He looks at the prices, thinking, everything is so expensive? Choosing to forego the expensive food, he decides he will just eat once they arrive at Arcanium. While walking, a soft buzzing sound comes from his wrist, causing him to look down. The notification displays a message, "Management for everyone," a phrase that appears alongside an image of Bayan. A calm voice announces, "We will be arriving in Arcanium in 10 minutes. Another attendant's voice then directs, "Please make your way to the first floor." The same announcement echoes, heard by the hooded mage, confirming their imminent arrival in Arcanium. Beck Uziel, his expression thoughtful, wonders, is it finally starting? He accepts that this new reality is now his own. With a determined look, he prepares himself, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Beck Uziel stands alone, his gaze directed downwards, deep in thought. A soft sigh escapes him, a quiet acknowledgement of the challenge ahead, as he considers if he truly resolved the past, or if he is mistaken. His violet eyes narrow with a mix of determination and apprehension, as the difficult task of surviving Stella Academy weighs heavily on his mind. But a chilling thought interrupts his resolve, a shadowy, dragon-like fear appearing in his mind, suggesting that survival might be impossible. The question echoes, amplified by the ghostly forms of three hooded figures with glowing red eyes, challenging his very existence. Can he truly survive in this world? He looks out a window, the unsettling reflections of those shadowy figures appearing in his peripheral vision, a constant reminder of the dangers that are always present. A desperate wish forms in his mind, a desire for any advantage or tool that could help him on this difficult path. His gaze sharpens, a flicker of realization appearing in his eyes. Then, a sudden memory comes to him, a forgotten notification, a potential help he had not yet checked. The Constellation Project presents a special reward, offering Beck Uziel a choice, a downgraded version of a skill he uses in the game or in real life. He considers his options, looking at the glowing holographic screen. He wonders if he could choose powerful skills such as returning light or pierce the flash, his eyes scanning the options. However, the system quickly informs him that the rank of such an item is too high and would be severely downgraded. A skill that exceeds his player's ability limit would be severely downgraded, its rank reduced, and its effect slightly lessened. He questions why a downgrade is necessary, and the system explains that due to his lack of narrative power, the skills cannot fully materialize. A look of confusion appears on his face as he tries to understand the explanation. The system repeats that a force exceeding his player's ability will be severely downgraded, but adds that if he continues to explore unknown branches of the story, the skill will accumulate. In short, he can choose any skill he wants, but it will be a downgraded version of a generic one. He falls into thought, considering the information. Then, a new thought occurs to him, and he asks about rules of Glasser. The system confirms that, following its examination, the item can indeed be provided. He accepts, agreeing to proceed with the acquisition. A soft hum accompanies the materialization of a pair of sleek glasses, glowing faintly. A wry thought crosses his mind as he considers wearing such an item. These are the rulebook glasses, an item designed to display all the information Beck Uziel has collected while playing the game. In the Ether world, it was inherently impossible to recall or read information about hunted monsters or acquired knowledge. Consequently, players developed various items to store information in their own unique ways. He slides the glasses onto his face, feeling them settle comfortably. Through the lenses, his vision seems to sharpen, ready to process new information. The rulebook glasses, a unique accessory obtained through the Constellation Project, display all collected information and can even share it with other players. Opening a holographic folder, he begins to navigate the newly accessible data. The interface presents categories such as ancient materials, mining points, dungeons, monsters, and characters, a vast repository of knowledge now at his fingertips. As the digital interface of the rulebook glasses activates, Beck Uziel confirms its readiness, a necessary step in his current situation. He considers this sufficient, understanding that in a world where life is a game, one cannot simply rely on brute force, as there is no way to progress without comprehending the game's systems. He recalls the extensive effort he previously invested in progressing through the game's system, but now, equipped with these glasses, he anticipates a significant shift in his approach. The glasses offer the potential for enhanced strategic understanding, enabling him to traverse this challenging environment with greater precision. His focus shifts to a recognizable individual, and he questions if it is Aerolith, the eldest daughter of Dutch Muff. The mention of her, the eldest daughter of the traitor Dutch Muff, prompts a brief internal reflection, as her appearance in this location is quite surprising. Aerolith, characterized by her long light blue hair and refined clothing, walks through the area, maintaining a calm composure despite her family's reputation. A quiet remark, or an internal thought, expresses surprise at her boldness, questioning her decision to appear in this location. Aerolith, appearing to perceive the attention, subtly responds, a quiet suggestion for caution, as if indicating she might hear any comments. Beck Uziel watches her, his expression neutral, the interaction contributing to his evolving comprehension of this environment. A new understanding then occurs to him. A primary function of the rulebook glasses is to record and verify character details, a crucial capability that could reveal significant narrative elements. With the glasses now properly positioned, he prepares to explore the extensive data contained within the narrative, eager to discover all concealed facts and tactical benefits. He delves deeper into the rulebook glasses data, which reveals the core mechanics of this unreal world and the controversial attributes of a fake heroine. A realization dawns on him as he processes the information, prompting him to question the identity of this fake heroine. To truly understand Aerolith, the fake heroine, there is one more crucial detail to consider. He discovers that the place he is currently in is a game called Etherworld. However, Etherworld is a game based on an original romance fantasy novel titled Don't Let the Prince Go. This novel, he learns, tells the story of the heroine Aerolith, who had lost her entire family. Her story progresses as she confronts the schemes of the villainous Hong Bayan, her resolve burning bright. And eventually, she ends up with the male protagonist. In the end, her revenge scheme completely disappears, and the male characters protect her, leading to a sad ending that received harsh feedback from its readers. He ponders this revelation, considering the implications of such a drastically altered story. The problem, however, is that although the game's world is based on the novel, the story is completely different. Furthermore, the story spoke of a woman, born to be loved, destined for happiness, yet fated to lose both the princess and the world itself. This was the stark difference. Unlike the novel, Acel became the fake heroine in the game, while Flame rose as the true one. Despite countless attempts and desperate efforts, she could not survive her many ordeals, ultimately stripped of her role as the true heroine. He dismisses the tragic fate, telling himself it has nothing to do with him. Yet a flicker of doubt crosses his mind, wondering if it's merely his imagination. He recalls the image of the forlorn woman, then shakes his head, reaffirming it must be his imagination. With a final thought, he decides it's time to log off. The scene shifts to the Grand Stella Academy, its majestic architecture standing against the sky. He stands among other students, all dressed in crisp uniforms, as the setting transitions to Stella Academy. An elder instructor, with a stern expression, addresses the students, stating, "As you are already aware, we are." The instructor continues, explaining the Academy's purpose: to protect humanity from demonic humans who emerge from rifts and become monsters. The instructor's voice carries, reminding them that their duty is ongoing. Even at this moment, demonic humans continue to emerge. He continues, explaining their role as mages. "Our destiny as mages is to protect the world from the emergence of darkness, and now, a selection to become a representative is about to begin." Beck Uziel listens, his expression thoughtful, as the instructor continues, and next up. The instructor then announces the upcoming event. "We will have the oath ceremony for the founding members who were readmitted with high scores, as well as the freshman representative." Beck Uziel turns to leave the assembly, and Bayan watches him depart, her long white hair visible. Bayan continues to watch, surrounded by falling cherry blossoms. The pink petals fall gently around her, emphasizing her quiet observation. Her red eyes remain fixed on his departing form, framed by the delicate blossoms. Beck Uziel, now by himself, observes the other students and thinks, everyone's faces are shining, as if they're the main characters. His gaze sharpens, a golden light flickering in his eyes, as he considers the true protagonist of this world. Among all the students present, there is one who undeniably shines the brightest. With an aura of effortless charisma and power, he stands out from the crowd. He is the kind of person who makes one wonder, how can someone be so handsome and intelligent at the same time? And just like that, the name clicks into place. That is the famous Ma Yuxiang. He is the central figure, the one around whom all the bad endings of this world revolve, a nexus of potential disaster. Ma Yuxiang, the character who proclaims, "Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one," possesses a terrifying power, even on his good side, his eyes glowing with an ominous red light. His mana status is SSS rank, wielding all elements in the realm of deities, a natural genius whose mana control allows him to manipulate every element in this world. For him, the protagonist, even if he cannot reach the true ending, he must at least aim to avoid the catastrophic ones. The path to those bad endings often involves bringing Ma Yuxiang to the brink, a dangerous game he is determined to navigate. However, there is always a twist. His expression remains thoughtful, a hint of cynicism in his gaze, as he ponders the complexities of this world's narrative. His thoughts turn to the heroine, a figure whose destiny is completely tied to Flame, the core of this world's story. However, everything depends on how she behaves from now on. He thinks about what her actions might mean. Since she is from the same reality as him, it might be a good idea to get along with her. However, the idea of facing her as an enemy and being rejected is a risk he doesn't want to take. Having the advantage in information, he should not have to risk anything, especially as Flame is a romance fantasy novel possessor, and he is a romance fantasy game possessor. Although his knowledge of the story cannot be compared to that of a simple villager, he still possesses a unique advantage. But things will happen as they are meant to. Additionally, the heroine possesses a powerful special ability, her staff glowing with strong magic. She possesses the special ability to control the black demonic beasts, but aside from that, she even has another ability that is yet unknown. This information is enough to improve his situation significantly. From a distance, he observes Ma Yuxiang, Bayan, and Stella standing together in a grand hall, their presence a quiet sign of the story continuing. He considers his past actions, acknowledging that he had only concerned himself with player versus player interactions and not the story itself, which has now led to the entire lore becoming muddled. As his thoughts conclude, the entrance ceremony comes to an end, signifying the official start of the new academic year. The assembled students, dressed in their uniforms, begin to disperse, preparing for their studies. A small, celebratory figure jumps with joy, confirming the successful enrollment into Stella Academy. A new chapter begins, revealing the grand spires of the Stella Magic Academy, a place of magic, its old walls standing tall against the clear sky. A strong place of learning where powerful mages are trained, and inside its respected buildings, a familiar person finds himself in a new situation. Beck Uziel, now a student, looks out a classroom window, his past experiences feeling very different from his current young surroundings, a calm thought coming over him as he gets used to this new life. He thinks to himself, finding it very strange to be a high schooler again, a big change from his old life as a university graduate. Wearing the academy's special uniform, he is ready to start this new journey, his face showing both strong will and calm thought. His past and future come together as he gets ready for what's to come. Suddenly, he looks at a shiny golden pocket watch, its detailed look suggesting it's very important, a strong item now in his hands. A soft light comes from the Stella pocket watch, making him feel good, a sense of being right filling him as he holds it. This magic watch is more than just a clock. It's a sign of his new identity and place. It shows clearly that he is a student at Stella, the most famous magic academy, a golden key opening a world of special treatment and power. Having this watch ensures he gets much better treatment and services, much more than what even experienced magic warrior license holders receive. He considers the Stella pocket watch, acknowledging the need to use its power, despite any lingering reservations. A grand, ornate door swings open with a soft click, revealing the interior of the Stella Magic Academy. Inside, a man with striking blue hair stands at a podium, instructing the assembled students to take their seats. He then announces the commencement of exams, directing everyone to put away all items except their writing supplies, adding that those wearing glasses would be examined separately. Beck Uziel sits among the other students, observing the scene, a thought crossing his mind about this being the entrance ceremony. The Stella Academy's curriculum is known to be far more rigorous than any other university, demanding an exam even on the very first day. This particular assessment, a narration explains, is called the Class Organization Exam. The blue-haired man at the podium clarifies its purpose, revealing it to be a class placement exam. With a final command, the exam officially begins, the grand doors of the hall now closed. A hand reaches out, poised over the Stella Magic Academy entrance exam paper. He stares at the exam paper, feeling a wave of confusion. Meanwhile, Ma Yuziang, also looking confused, struggles with the questions, finding them very difficult. The source of their anxiety is clear, the class placement exam. This is not just any test. It is known for its extreme difficulty, separate from the challenging entrance exam. The stakes are high, as students are assigned to the S, A, or F classes, all based on their performance on this exam. Bayan and Aralit observe from their desks, as the pressure builds for all students. For Beck Uziel, who entered the academy in last place among 1,141 students, the situation is more serious. He considers just handing in a blank page. Ma Yuziang, deep in thought, considers the criteria for class assignment, aware that a bad performance could automatically place someone in the F class. A spark of determination appears in Uziel's violet eyes, a silent promise to himself. From across the room, Bayan and Aralit look on curiously, perhaps noticing a change in his attitude. His hand hovers over the blank exam sheet, his future depending on his next move. Ma Yuziang watches him closely, a silent question in his eyes as Beck Uziel prepares to make his decision. Observing the exam, Ma Yuziang notes that Beck Uziel is already deeply engrossed. A moment later, his eyes fall upon the exam paper, realizing it has already been completed. A moment of contemplation follows, as he processes the unexpected turn of events. Ma Yuziang's fundamental nature was characterized by a deep feeling of boredom. He was born into the world's strongest family, his life marked by inherent advantages. Possessing both a brilliant mind and exceptional talent, he found everything in life to be effortlessly simple. This constant ease led to a significant lack of challenge, which is why even topics like demons, humans, and how to defeat them failed to hold his interest for long. However, a new feeling begins to stir within him, his eyes glowing red, a rare sign of genuine interest. A red energy swirls around his outstretched hand, indicating a newfound focus. This unexpected turn of events means that someone would naturally draw Ma Yuziang's attention. As he watches the protagonist, he considers that his primary problem might stem from his family. Deep in thought, his expression serious, Beck Uziel considers his past actions, acknowledging that his focus on player versus player combat has led to a disruption in the game's overall story. A new thought occurs to him, and he ponders if he could use the bulbul glasses for this purpose as well. He remembers his past gameplay, acknowledging that he used the item quite frequently while playing. His objective was to accumulate more skills by studying at the library, but now he feels he has nothing to show for it. Deciding to investigate further, he reaches into his jacket, preparing to check the item. As he pulls out the item, he expresses surprise, wondering about the true nature of these glasses. He holds them up, examining the glasses closely. A thought crosses his mind, recalling the notion that if one were to use glasses, they needed to obtain them personally. An older man, observing him, utters a soft "oh" in recognition. The moment hangs in the air. The older man then takes the glasses, stating his intention to examine them. He begins his examination, a quiet HM, indicating his focus. The older man's examination of the mysterious glasses leaves Beck Uziel feeling uncertain, his thoughts consumed by the potential consequences of their discovery. While the older man carefully examines the item, Uziel worries about what will happen if the glass's magical nature is discovered. He understands that if their true nature is found out, he might be expelled, which would be a terrible outcome for his studies. He lets out a nervous sound as he waits for the older man's decision, not knowing that a system message has identified the glasses as a missing part of the bulbul glasses and is asking if they should be activated. Feeling overwhelmed by the idea of the glass's real power being discovered, Uziel silently begs the older man to find nothing, his face showing his distress. The older man stays calm, his face showing no emotion as he continues his careful check, looking closely at the glasses that appear normal. He thinks to himself that he can't feel any magic from the item, deciding to examine it more closely another time, a small sign of interest on his face. With a brief nod, the older man hands the glasses back to Beck Uziel, who takes them with a deep breath of relief. The young man feels a strong sense of relief, understanding that if the glasses had been fully working, they would have been found out, making their current inactive state a lucky outcome. When he puts the bulbul glasses on his face, a bright blue energy flashes around them, and a system window immediately shows many skills, proving they are now active and showing how powerful they are. He could truly see the answers, a revelation that felt like hitting a jackpot. A confident smile on his face, Beck Uziel imagined the possibilities, wondering what rewards he would get if he achieved first place at this speed. With this advantage, he was sure he could escape F-class and maybe even reach a higher class. His pen moved quickly across the paper, his future suddenly looking much brighter. But just as he was about to celebrate, a thought struck him. The exam was finished, and so was his chance to use this power for school. Confusion washed over him, his expression changing from happy to surprised. As if reacting to his thoughts, the bulbul glasses glowed with a strong blue light, sending out energy that pulsed around him. The power surge was clear, a strong burst of magic coming from the glasses. Surrounded by the bright blue light, Beck Uziel stood still, the glasses now showing a new, deeper function than just seeing answers. He looked at the text now in front of him, a list of questions that suggested a much bigger challenge than any test. Later, wearing a dark outfit, he carefully looked over a document, his face serious as he understood the glasses' real power. A sudden thought hit him, his eyes widening in shock as he fully understood his situation. A sense of relief washed over Beck Uziel, the F-class ordeal finally behind him. Elsewhere, Ma Yuziang adjusted his glasses, a thoughtful expression on his face as he considered. That must have been too much for Beck Uziel. His eyes suddenly widened in surprise, a small sound of confusion escaping him. His composure broken, he pointed an accusing finger at a nearby subordinate, his voice rising in a sharp demand. You, give me your sleeves right now. The subordinate, startled, could only manage a confused, pardon, as Ma Yuziang urgently commanded, hurry. A moment later, a faint blue glow emanated from his hand as he looked down, a grim realization dawning on him. There's no way. With renewed urgency, he pointed again, his voice sharp with command. You over there, go grab Dr. Grant. The subordinate immediately snapped to attention, responding with a crisp, yes, sir. Ma Yuziang's expression remained troubled, his thoughts racing as he considered the implications of what had just transpired. He had even had to adjust his answering process. A sudden, eerie green glow pulsed in the darkness, a chilling question echoing through the void. Was I caught? In a dimly lit room, a figure stood, addressing an unseen individual with a query. What do you think, doctor? Dr. Gran, an elderly man with a thoughtful expression, adjusted his glasses, a quiet hum escaping him as he pondered the question. The esteemed magic engineering professor, Dr. Gran, is formally introduced. Ma Yuziang, standing before Dr. Gran, initiates a discussion, inquiring if the person involved had resorted to cheating. However, he promptly dismisses his own query, stating that the individual had not cheated. He elaborates, explaining that he was unable to perceive any magic tool energy emanating from the glasses or their components, suggesting no illicit magical interference. Dr. Gran expresses his profound interest in the matter, finding it a remarkable occurrence, despite the lingering unpleasantness of the amplified prototype apology to the Academy. He responds with a simple, understood, accepting the professor's assessment. With a contemplative expression, he offers an apology, acknowledging his error. However, a private thought reveals his true actions. He confesses to having cheated, and acknowledges the potential trouble if the cheating functions had been operational. A faint sound accompanies a slight smirk that appears on his face, revealing a hidden satisfaction. He then offers a word of caution for the future, while privately acknowledging his good fortune in not being detected. High above the clouds, the Mage Academy stood as a large school for magic. Its grand buildings reaching towards the sky. Inside its halls, a nameplate marked the office of Professor Lee Hanwheel, who sat looking at papers, while Beck Uziel stood nearby. Among the papers, an F on an exam paper was clearly visible, causing the professor to hum thoughtfully. Before he was surprised by the student speaking to him, Uziel asked if those were the exam papers for the freshmen, to which the professor, surprised, could only confirm. Meanwhile, Professor Stella, smiling, commented on how interesting these new students were. A sentiment Lee Hanwheel could only agree with, looking annoyed. A vibrant, fiery aura pulses across the screen, suggesting the powerful magic and intense rivalries within the Academy. From the most renowned families in the Empire, we are introduced to Bayan, her elegant form adorned in a striking red gown, her white hair and crimson eyes exuding an undeniable aura of prestige. Then, with a confident smirk, Jeremy Goldone appears, a blonde-haired noble whose red eyes gleam with ambition, a successor from the Duchy of Muff's eldest daughter's lineage. He is the one who completed the Royal Academy in the race for the crown, hailing from the Full Moon Tower, another of the Empire's most renowned families. And finally, the successor of the Magic Tower Master, Archmage Awakens, his purple hair and matching eyes reflecting the immense power he is destined to wield. The ethereal glow of magic washes over the scene, a silent testament to the extraordinary talents now gathered. Meanwhile, a bespectacled man remarks that the Academy has been flooded with inquiries from so many talented and prominent families, all asking many interesting questions. His colleague, a stern-faced man, responds that he is glad the questions were to their liking, hinting at the unique nature of the class placement test. The stern man's gaze sharpens, revealing the true intent behind the test Professor Lee Hanwheel had mentioned. The first 3 questions were designed to be unsolvable unless one was born in an ordinary manner, serving as a flexibility test to see if students could quickly skip problems they couldn't solve and move on. Professor Lee Hanwheel proceeds with his evaluation of the Academy's class placement test, moving to the second stage of its design. He considers the central question posed to the students, a problem that could not be found in any of their textbooks. This was not a test of memorization, but of adaptability, suited for a new age. He looks up, a subtle expression on his face, recognizing that a new age had arrived. His eyes return to the documents, confirming that the questions were not intended to be solved. The results were clear, as more than 1,000 of the 1,141 students left the questions unanswered. Among the remaining 100 students who tried to answer, the outcome was even more decisive. Most failed to provide a single correct answer. However, among the new students, only 3 successfully answered all 3 questions. His expression changes, showing a hint of interest as he reflects on these unique individuals. Among them, a figure like Baek Uziel is notable, his presence suggesting quiet strength, and another, a girl whose talent glows like an unfamiliar star. And finally, there is a student who, despite her commoner status, received a principal's recommendation based solely on her abilities, identified by the codename Flame. Baek Uziel stands, holding a microphone, the focus of attention. Elsewhere, Professor Lee Hanwheel and Ma Yuziang review test scores, with Ma Yuziang stating that despite their own genius, Baek Uziel's score would be superior, which surprises the professor, who hadn't anticipated him solving all 3 challenging questions. The professor's surprise grows as he remembers Uziel struggled with the other, less complex problems. Ma Yuziang, aware of Uziel's reputation, confirms he is a new student, and the professor concurs. Still, the professor feels the score is illogical, a puzzling inconsistency. Ma Yuziang tries to explain, saying the test had many difficult formulas he couldn't solve, but the professor argues that some could be solved without prior learning. A thought strikes the professor, and he declares, this student could be a genius. Ma Yuziang, being practical, suggests it might just be a coincidence. The professor remains in contemplation, his hand on his chin. He then examines a document outlining Ma Yuziang's academic achievements, which show his consistent high performance. His attention shifts to another document, this one for a General Uziel, which includes a principal's recommendation, indicating special talent. Facing Ma Yuziang again, the professor asks with urgency, who is this student admitted by the principal's personal recommendation? Professor Lee Hanwheel maintains a focused expression, a subtle scar visible on his cheek, as he considers the outcomes of the recent examination. He makes a small gesture, his thoughts drifting to the exceptional capabilities of a genuine mage. Elsewhere, a confident student with brown hair states, we will discover the truth shortly. His statement lingers, reflecting his contemplation of whether the recent unusual events are simply chance or if an exceptional individual has appeared. The academy is filled with a low hum of excitement as students congregate, including the brown-haired student, Stella, and Bayan, awaiting the announcement of class assignments. In the professor's office, the confident student informs Lee Hanwheel, I possess the principal's recommendation. Therefore, I am superior, and I anticipate being placed in the highest class. His ambition is evident, fueled by family expectations, as he remembers his mother's strict instruction. My mother informed me not to return home unless I am assigned to Class A. A slight smile touches his lips as he muses. The class assignments are unexpectedly ideal. I am in the same class as the 2 who only have 1 class. Students assemble before the illuminated class lists, with the brown-haired student, Stella, and Bayan carefully examining the names under Class C and Class D to locate their assignments. Close by, Archmage Awakens' eyes widen in astonishment, his light blue hair framing his purple gaze, as he notices an unforeseen entry on the list. The confident student, his green eyes showing curiosity, asks a question that reflects the academy's increasing interest. Is that Baek Uziel? A student, later identified as Baek Uziel, overhears a conversation about someone receiving a low grade on the comprehension section of the entrance test. He expresses disbelief, questioning how someone with such a grade could be associated with Stella and what that implies about her judgment. Dismissing the gossip, he decides to check his own class placement and then depart. The focus shifts to a glowing purple class list, a significant document containing the results of the class placements, though he tries to downplay its importance. The list is filled with numerous names, indicating the results of the class placements for all students. Baek Uziel scans the list, his expression turning to confusion as he fails to locate his name. A close-up on the list shows his growing bewilderment, as the absence of his name becomes undeniable. He realizes with a jolt, His name is conspicuously absent from the list. A wave of panic washes over him as he recalls the implications of not being placed, specifically the rumor that only nobles could avoid such a fate. The gravity of his situation sinks in, leading to a desperate internal question about his survival. His mind flashes back to his past on Earth, remembering a previous instance where a mistake had dire consequences, suggesting a pattern of unfortunate events. Meanwhile, other students discuss the class placements, noting that someone from Marquis Goldwyn's family secured a spot in Class A. Still processing the absence of his name from the class list, he hears a student mention that Kyle has been placed in Class B, highlighting the difference in their situations. A feeling of dread settles over him as he tries to comprehend the impossible situation. He can only voice a confused question, trying to understand the events unfolding. His eyes remain fixed on the list, searching for his name. A gasp escapes him as a realization dawns, the implications of his absence becoming clear. Then, a name appears, glowing with a purple light: S.O. Beck Uziel. His confusion grows as he wonders why his name is on this separate, glowing list. Meanwhile, Jeremy Goldwyn, a student from a noble family, walks past him, unaware of the protagonist's distress, his own class placement already secured. His face shows clear disbelief, completely confused by the situation. He then understands the meaning of the glowing name. It indicates Class S, the most special grade available to all students. This elite designation leads him to a magnificent, golden structure, the place where the most special students of Stella Academy gather. It is a place of extreme exclusivity, very different from the other grades with their hundreds of students, as even Class 5, the highest, has only 41 students. He found himself assigned to the S grade, a development he perceived as a grave mistake, causing him considerable distress. The situation felt utterly bewildering, pushing him to the brink of his composure. This placement meant he would now frequently encounter the story's main characters within Class S, a fact that weighed heavily on him. Such interactions, he feared, would only accelerate the shortening of his already limited lifespan, a fate he felt powerless to prevent. His only recourse was to maintain an extremely low profile, hoping to avoid any significant involvement. As he walked through the Academy's grand corridors, a quiet figure followed discreetly behind him. He turned to look, meeting the gaze of the blue-haired girl, who let out a soft, almost imperceptible sigh. Her eyes remained fixed on him, a silent, contemplative observation. Beck Uziel reflects on his past actions, admitting that he had only focused on player-versus-player combat and not the overarching narrative, which has now caused significant disruption to the story's lore. Meanwhile, the Grand Magic Academy is shown under a clear sky, its tall spires reaching towards the sky, a symbol of magical learning. Within its ancient walls, the 9th chapter of the story begins, revealing more of its impressive architecture and large grounds. Inside, the Academy's halls are filled with a soft, glowing light, the air feeling heavy with unseen magic. A powerful aura comes from a figure inside the Academy, its bright purple energy showing strong magical power. Elsewhere, Bayan, with her white hair and red eyes, asks about the situation, wondering if something has gone wrong with the story. Standing before her, the elemental class instructor, Yeel, a woman with long white hair and sharp red eyes, replies, her face serious as she talks about the students' worries. Bayan, still sitting, continues to ask if the story of the fallen mage has been completely ruined. Yeel, her eyes steady, listens carefully, her stance showing authority. Bayan, speaking clearly, states that the student was not asking hard questions, suggesting that the instructor's answer was wrong. Yeel, her eyes glowing with a soft red light, answers with a clear yes, her face suggesting she understands the situation more deeply. She then adds, with a touch of scorn, that Bayan is even lower than an insect, her words sharp. A soft sigh escapes Bayan's lips, a quiet reaction to the words she is hearing. Standing over the kneeling girl, Yeel's voice is firm, telling Bayan to listen closely. She continues, stating that Bayan cannot hope to become like her, and that the Wisdom Guild is merely a stupid professor position. With a cold expression, Yeel suggests a different future for her, perhaps even becoming the empress of the kingdom. A quiet sigh escapes the kneeling girl as she processes Yeel's statements. Her hand reaches out, a gesture of distress as dark particles seem to swirl around her. Yeel then takes Bayan's face in her hand, her expression intense, pulling her closer. A small sound escapes Yeel's lips, her gaze fixed on Bayan. Bayan's eyes, filled with a mix of fear and confusion, meet Yeel's as the older woman asks if she understands. Tears well in Bayan's eyes, her face showing clear distress as Yeel's hand remains on her cheek. The emotional distress continues, her expression a mix of sadness and confusion. A faint blue glow appears around Bayan's hand as she states that she does not understand. Yeel remains still, her expression composed, as the emotional weight of their exchange lingered in the air. For Bayan, the situation felt overwhelming, a complex array of magic, spells, and formulas she had not learned or been taught to solve. Her thoughts were consumed by the problems at hand, all stemming from knowledge she lacked. Tears welled in her eyes, and a soft blue light emanated from her hand, reflecting her deep emotional distress. Her voice trembling, she asked, "Why are you tormenting me?" The other woman remained silent, her long hair falling around her shoulders. Elsewhere, a large academic building stood, its sign bearing a prominent S. Inside, a sprawling library housed countless books, filling shelves that reached high towards the ceiling. Meanwhile, Beck Uziel sat at his desk, his hand on his head, muttering, I'm screwed. He mused about his assignment to a place filled with special weirdos, and wondered if he was truly meant to be the main character of this story. His gaze sharpened, focusing on a particular problem. Just how is he here? That's what I still can't figure out. While looking at a screen, a memory of Ma Yuziang surfaced, recalling his words. Did you forget about our parents' promised marriage? You're the only one left. And my two sisters had their hearts set on the crown prince. A sudden realization strikes, leaving him bewildered, as if the situation makes no sense. He reflects that he feels like an outcast. Still, he remembers how hard he has worked since he was young. He finds it frustrating to be in the same class as someone he considers a dunce. However, he reminds himself that class assignments change based on test results, so it's acceptable. He thinks that the class isn't exactly what he prefers, though there are some exceptions. A wave of annoyance washes over him as he considers the future, realizing he won't be able to get into the A class later, a problem he'll figure out eventually. Still, the presence of certain classmates, like Jeremy Goldwyn and Ma Yuziang, is quite annoying. He thinks that these are just game characters, yet they are right in front of him. He knows that in a few years, most of the students in this class will become famous worldwide. The classroom is filled with students who will achieve great things. And among them, about 5 also have the potential to betray magic. His mind wandered, contemplating the expansive world around him, a world that included individuals like Ma Yuziang. He observed the blue-haired student, a figure he recognized from his previous life's game, realizing he was just one of several such game characters present. His violet eyes briefly narrowed, reflecting his awareness of the unusual circumstances. Meanwhile, Stella, a girl with light blue hair, was absorbed in her reading, her internal monologue expressing a simple desire, hoping to find a kindred spirit among her peers. A sudden, authoritative voice interrupted the quiet chatter, calling for order among the students. A man with a serious expression, Professor Lee Hanwheel, appeared at the front, his presence bringing immediate quiet to the room. Beck Uziel observed the professor's clothing, noting the formal uniform he wore. The professor's voice carried clearly from the podium, greeting the students and formally reintroducing himself, acknowledging that some might already know him. His dark eyes surveyed the room as he stated, I am Lee Hanwheel, the professor of the A class. Jeremy Goldwyn and Ma Yuziang, seated together, reacted to the introduction. Jeremy remarked, so that's the famous Professor Lee Hanwheel, and Ma Yuziang quietly added, I've heard that name so many times, it makes me sick. Beck Uziel, seated at his desk, silently acknowledged the professor's reputation, recalling that he was known as the tyrant professor for his demanding teaching style. He surveyed the room, a slight smirk forming as he considered. There seemed to be many talented students present. He had only ever concerned himself with player versus player combat, completely ignoring the story's intricate details in his past life. But now, as Professor Lee Hanwheel addressed the class, he realized the entire lore was irrevocably altered. The professor's voice cut through his thoughts, explaining that this academy was a place where they trained combat mages. He continued, detailing how, as magic warriors, they would undergo a rigorous, non-scientific education spanning 3 years. Jeremy Goldwyn, ever the pragmatist, scoffed, not expecting anyone to actually follow such a demanding curriculum, while Bayan listened intently. Professor Lee Hanwheel paused, his gaze sweeping over the class before asking if there were any questions. He waited, observing the students' reactions, a subtle tension filling the room. With no immediate responses, the professor gestured dismissively. He then declared it was time to begin the class, his words carrying an undeniable weight that made even Bayan's expression tighten. Bayan, usually composed, showed a flicker of concern, her gaze fixed on the professor. Meanwhile, Jeremy Goldwyn muttered to himself, finding it absurd to think anyone would actually follow the rules, believing it was already too late for such strict adherence. Professor Lee Hanwheel stood poised at the podium, ready to commence the rigorous training, his presence dominating the classroom as Bayan watched on. A question hangs in the air, a single word echoing with uncertainty. Did something happen? Bayan's gaze is fixed, her expression etched with concern. Meanwhile, Uziel, now wearing reading glasses, focuses intently on a screen, deciding to check something. A system window flashes into view, displaying an addendum for Hong Bayan. She is the villainess, an ice mage who loves candy, occasionally buries herself, drinks espresso brewed the mafia way, is easily flustered, and is ultimately guaranteed to die. The weight of the revelation settles, prompting the silent question, this, isn't it? Uziel's eyes widen, a flicker of disbelief crossing his face as he processes the information. He falls into a deep thought, the implications of the addendum settling heavily upon him. His hand clenches slightly around the device, the chilling phrase guaranteed to die, echoing in his mind. Standing before Bayan, who looks downcast, Uziel recalls the game's narrative. Hong Bayan, the villainess, was destined to be abandoned by both Flame and Ariel. Her downcast expression seems to confirm the tragic truth, as if acknowledging the inevitable fate of a villainess. He wishes he could save her, but acknowledges his own precarious position, unable to help anyone else. With a sigh, he removes his glasses, instructing her to return to her seat. He sits alone, a heavy feeling in his chest, aware of the tragic fate awaiting the girl nearby. He feels a sense of regret, wishing he could help, but his own difficult circumstances compel him to keep his distance. A sudden change in the atmosphere makes him look up, a soft HM, leaving his mouth, as something catches his attention. He sees the girl looking sad, her shoulders drooping, as another student, Ma Yuziang, walks up behind her, his arrival feeling out of place. With a relaxed manner, Ma Yuziang places a hand on the table next to her, his action appearing simple, but hinting at something more. The girl's face twists in pain, her red eyes shining with tears, a look of deep sadness on her face. A wave of shock crosses his face, his eyes growing wide, as he feels the strong emotion coming from her. A soft, glowing light of magic starts to come from her, a quiet but strong sign of her inner struggle. He moves uncomfortably in his seat, a rising worry inside him, the situation making him feel very uneasy. Now standing next to the upset girl, Ma Yuziang looks towards him, a quiet challenge in his gaze while the girl stays lost in her sadness. His eyes now shine with a bright yellow light, a rush of power or understanding moving through him as he thinks. What is this feeling that things are getting twisted right from the start? The Magic Academy's digital interface displays Baek Yuziel's account, showing his S-class senior status among the other class rankings. Then, Ma Yuziang, a distinguished figure, begins to address the students, announcing that before classes officially begin, a staff succession ceremony will be held. He clarifies that this ceremony involves the succession of the magical staff students will use throughout their time at school. The announcement further specifies that both the S-class and A-class students will participate in this staff succession together. As the details unfold, Baek Yuziel listens intently, his expression showing a thoughtful consideration of the implications. A slight frown crosses his face, as he finds the situation somewhat annoying. Ma Yuziang, however, continues his address, hinting at further developments. Indeed, a sense of anticipation fills the air, as someone looks forward to the unfolding events. Beyond the staff succession, the Stella Academy crest is displayed, signaling two major events on the horizon, one of which is the familiar contract. And the other, revealed in a depiction of Bayan, is the heroine's birthday, a grand celebration featuring her in elegant attire, holding a staff. The staff succession ceremony commences, with Ma Yuziang presenting a glowing staff. Ma Yuziang, his expression thoughtful, appears to be deep in contemplation, considering the implications of the staff succession ceremony. He stands still, observing the surroundings, his thoughts occupied with the upcoming choice. A staff with a glowing blue gem draws his eye, representing the significant power available to its future owner. Considering the various options, he wonders aloud which staff he should select. His hand moves forward, as if to touch one of the magical staves. He remembers a previous time when he chose the Chronos staff, which was suitable for a knight. But now, his circumstances are different, and he has no reason to choose the knight class staff again. With a clear understanding, he concludes that the wand, a short-form staff, is the best choice for his current role, feeling its suitability. Staves are generally divided into two main categories, the short-form wand and the long-form staff. Wands are commonly used by the knight class, enabling quick movements and attacks, as they allow for fast actions. On the other hand, long-form staves are used by the mage class, who focus on delivering powerful single hits, which often require more time to cast. While Ma Yuziang considers his options, Jeremy Goldone, watching him, asks, "Hey, which one do you think he's going to pick?" Ma Yuziang's face shows deep thought, as he continues to ponder his choice. As he continued to consider his options, a voice nearby stated that an S-class individual should easily be able to cause a resonance effect. The speaker let out a soft chuckle, their steps accompanied by a faint, glowing effect. With a casual demeanor, he stated that others could think what they wished, implying their thoughts held no weight. A distinct click broke the quiet, highlighting a small earring on his ear. Ma Yuziang was taken aback by the sudden appearance and confident words, uttering a sound of surprise. The unknown figure maintained his confident walk, his body faintly glowing with magical energy as he drew nearer. Unable to hold back his curiosity, Ma Yuziang asked who the person was. With a slight smile, the figure introduced himself, stating his name was Uslek. The name was unfamiliar to Ma Yuziang, who confessed he had never encountered it previously. Acknowledging the introduction, Ma Yuziang absorbed the new information, his eyes on Uslek. He then redirected the conversation to the ceremony, asking Uslek which staff he intended to choose, only to learn that he had not made a selection. With a knowing smile, Uslek offered advice, recommending that Ma Yuziang select a staff that genuinely fit him. Ma Yuziang, clearly annoyed, advises against causing trouble for the professors. His eyes fixed on the other student, a silent pause hanging in the air. Uslek, however, remains calm and dismissive, telling him not to worry about other people. The comment clearly frustrates Ma Yuziang, his face showing clear anger. A faint magical glow appears around his clenched hand, showing his growing anger. Unable to control his temper, he calls Uslek a bastard. Uslek, however, remains calm, simply turning and walking away, leaving Ma Yuxiang angry as a magical aura shimmers around him. Still angry from the encounter, Ma Yuxiang asks if Uslek is trying to start a fight. With a frustrated sigh, he loosens his tie, finding the whole situation very annoying. As Uslek leaves, a small, glowing card falls to the ground, showing his name, Uslek Jianwu, a student of the Royal Academy. Ma Yuxiang picks it up, his anger fading, wondering if this is all the information he will receive. He stares at the card, a thoughtful look replacing his anger, thinking about what this encounter means. Baek Yuziel considers the situation, questioning the extent of the other's unusual nature. He lets out a small sound of annoyance, then states his intention. Anyway, I'm going to pick that one, so you should watch carefully. The two students walk through a brightly lit, magical environment, surrounded by glowing blue artifacts. His attention drawn to a specific staff, Baek Yuziel begins to ponder its nature. That staff is... The artifact in question is known as the Edmuri Edamirai. The staff itself is golden, adorned with a prominent blue gem. He identifies it as a powerful item, thinking, that should be the highest one here, a middle-high class. Uslek wears a confident expression, looking at the staff. A middle-high class staff is usually utilized by professional magic warriors. Uslek, now cloaked, holds the staff, which emits a soft purple glow around him. However, for students, regardless of talent, middle-low class staves are typically the recommended limit. He reflects on the difficulty of wielding such power, thinking, especially since even the professional magic warriors are barely able to handle middle-low class staves. Beyond the Edmuri Edamirai, another middle-high class staff exists within this very space. Though it is not truly here for anyone to pick out merely for display, a voice states, as a staff shimmers with an ethereal glow. The instruction then rings out for everyone to stand before the staffs. As the students prepare, Baek Yuziel stands, observing the scene with a keen gaze, his expression unreadable. Uslek, meanwhile, is enveloped in a vibrant blue aura, the magical energy swirling around him with palpable force. Jeremy Goldone offers a confident smile, a similar glow emanating from the staff he holds, his eyes gleaming with ambition. Bayan, too, stands bathed in a soft, magical light, her presence serene amidst the power. The air around them shimmers with raw magical energy, a testament to the artifact's immense power. The intensity of the aura around Uslek grows, his gaze fixed on an unseen point, prompting Ma Yuxiang to exclaim about Haywin's choice, the Hayden Amikatan, a middle-class staff. Flame then questions if Prince Scalvin also opted for a middle-class staff, her curiosity piqued. As the light around Uslek pulses, and another voice confirms Princess Yonhwa's selection of the Shatterlawson, another middle-class artifact. The selection hall is filled with a palpable tension, as students struggle with the middle-class staves, which are usually only wielded by certified magicians. Jeremy Goldone, his face showing frustration, comments on how unusual this year's selections are, a quiet damn it escaping his lips. But a spark of determination ignites within him, as he promises to prove his own abilities, resolved to succeed where others fail. Suddenly, a wave of excitement spreads through the crowd, as a figure steps forward, and people realize it is Uslek, drawing everyone's attention. The question is asked, could he really be trying to connect with a middle-high class staff, a difficult task few attempt? Uslek stands before a staff, his determination clear, while Jeremy Goldone watches, showing a mix of curiosity and worry. A smirk appears on Jeremy's face, as he tells the onlookers to watch carefully, suggesting something impressive is about to happen. His confidence is clear, as he promises to show what true high-class talent looks like. Uslek reaches out, his hand glowing with new power, as the staff in front of him starts to pulse with strong, bright energy. A bright flash of light bursts forth, surrounding Uslek in a swirling storm of magic, showing a strong connection. The strong magical energy sends waves through the air, making the students watching, like Baek Yuziel and Bayan, cover their eyes from the bright light. Uslek stands in the middle of the swirling magic, his shape outlined by the bright, pulsing energy, showing his great talent. As expected, the powerful magical surge from Uslek's attempt to resonate with the staff quickly dissipates, leaving him collapsed on the shimmering ground. He failed to resonate, the energy now merely a faint glow around his prone form. A pained groan escapes him, his hand twitching weakly. His face, pale and unconscious, reflects the toll the failed attempt has taken. Nearby, the instructor Yeo cries out in alarm, realizing he's been badly hurt, while Jeremy Goldone urges someone to quickly call a professor. Jeremy sighs, a thought crossing his mind that perhaps a middle-class staff is simply impossible for some. Bayan, observing the scene, silently agrees, believing it would be better for him to simply give up. Yet, even in his unconscious state, a faint tremor of stubbornness runs through Uslek's body, his foot twitching. His hand clenches, a silent refusal to yield, because he simply cannot. Yil watches him, a question forming in her mind. Why is he so stubborn? From a distance, Ma Yuxiang observes the unfolding drama, a knowing smirk playing on his lips. The true owner of that staff, it seems, has already been decided. A quiet statement confirms that the owner of the staff has already been determined. Standing within a shimmering blue and white magical aura, Ma Yuxiang presents a striking appearance, his expression sharp and concentrated. A soft sigh escapes him, suggesting a sense of burden or contemplation. The individual identified as the owner is Ma Yuziang. As he stands, holding the staff, another student questions whether he intends to try and take possession of the staff. However, Ma Yuziang's own internal monologue reveals a more nuanced perspective, as he doubts his ability to fully manage Ethan's staff. With a determined look in his red eyes, he firmly grasps the staff, its detailed structure emanating a soft, latent power. His hand tightens around the staff, and a vibrant blue energy emanates from it, surrounding his fingers in a bright glow. The staff itself pulses with an intense light, its power visibly awakening as he holds it. As the staff surged with an overwhelming blue light, Ma Yuziang could only stare in disbelief, a single thought echoing in his mind. What is this power? The raw magical energy swirled around him, a vibrant, ethereal blue consuming his vision. His eyes widened, reflecting the intense glow, as the staff's power continued to erupt. A resonant shua echoed through the air, the sound of pure magic manifesting. He looked up, then down, his expression a mixture of awe and shock, the blue energy pulsating around him. His grip tightened on the staff, the source of the incredible power now firmly in his grasp. Nearby, Jeremy Goldwyn watched, his own eyes wide with surprise, muttering, "No way." An incoming student managed to activate the class staff. He stared at Ma Yuziang, the question hanging in the air. Is this even possible? A smirk then played on Jeremy's lips, his initial shock giving way to a knowing confidence, as he declared, "Well, I expected this." His gaze sharpened, a glint of ambition in his eyes, as he continued, "Now a lot more people will know how talented he is." With that pronouncement, Ma Yuziang looked down, his expression still one of profound surprise, the weight of his newfound power and its implications settling upon him. Jeremy Goldwyn's expression becomes serious, his eyes reflecting a subtle red hue as he considers the situation. He appears momentarily confused, trying to comprehend the scale of the event that just occurred. His thoughts begin to coalesce, a question forming in his mind. A moment of surprise passes, replaced by a more determined expression as he moves past his initial reaction. He recalls that Flame also possesses a high-end class staff, an item of significant power. His expression grows more resolute, his thoughts turning to future possibilities. He realizes this could be a branching point in their plans, if Flame were to acquire her own staff. Then Ma Yuziang would likely become interested in her due to her exceptional talent. This would initiate what he terms the Ma Yuziang route, a specific course of events. Conversely, if she chose to pursue a different staff, a completely different outcome would arise. With a determined expression, Jeremy decides he needs to use Flame as a means to bring Ma Yuziang to their side. A confident expression settles on his face, his plans beginning to solidify. Jeremy Goldwyn observes the scene, his expression thoughtful and calculating. Meanwhile, bathed in a soft, shimmering light, Flame stands, her attention drawn downwards, a quiet intensity about her. Her face shows deep concentration, a quiet determination settling upon her as she prepares for the task ahead. The back of her uniform, adorned with a neat bow, suggests her affiliation with a formal institution. Her attention is drawn to a sword, identified as Terry Vaughn, a significant item now within her reach. A subtle smile touches Jeremy's face, his eyes reflecting a quiet confidence as he observes the situation. A thought echoes, wondering what Flame's next action will be. From a distance, he maintains his watch, his presence a silent force in the background. Flame's gaze remains fixed on the sword, its presence commanding her full attention. Her expression, now clear, reveals a strong sense of purpose. Jeremy's smile broadens, confirming his thought. She will indeed take Terry Vaughn. This action, he believes, will cause Ma Yuziang to take an interest in Flame, fulfilling his objective. She stands before the legendary sword, Terry Vaughn, sensing an opportunity to influence its fate. And a vibrant blue aura erupts around her, causing her to react with a surprised, "Eh." The sword itself responds with an equally mystified glow, as if questioning the sudden resonance. Meanwhile, the observer's thoughts race, realizing he won't be able to resonate with any staff himself, given Flame's role as the female lead. Jeremy Goldwyn, his expression thoughtful, questions the situation, wondering about Terravon's unexpected reaction. A flicker of concern crosses his face as he considers the possibility, wondering if she possesses hidden knowledge, concluding that the situation is unfavorable. He continues to observe the heroine, his internal monologue continuing, considering what she should do next. A sudden, alarming thought strikes him, his eyes widening slightly, as he considers an undesirable outcome. His face contorting in shock as the full implication hits him, the possibility of her choosing an unexpected artifact. The thought sends a wave of distress through him, as he realizes the potential catastrophe for his carefully laid plans, that his other advantageous paths might also be compromised. He slumps, defeated, acknowledging the current state of affairs, resigning himself to the unexpected turn of events. But a sudden surge of determination, marked by a glowing aura, hardens his resolve. He concludes that he has no alternative but to guide Terry Vaughn towards her. Reflecting on his past actions, he considered that he had focused solely on player-versus-player combat, neglecting the overarching narrative of the world. Now, With the entire lore disrupted, he questioned if the situation was still manageable, observing a subtle, magical glow around the legs of a student walking in the distance. Then, with a sudden movement, the student ahead disappeared from view, a quick, almost imperceptible shift. Before she could fully comprehend the situation, he appeared beside her, a slight smile on his face, causing her to exclaim in surprise, questioning his sudden proximity. The faint magical glow around her legs persisted, a subtle indication of her inherent abilities. Her face registered confusion, as she attempted to understand his unexpected presence. A confused "huh" left her lips as he offered a similar, questioning sound. He merely let out a soft laugh, a knowing expression on his face. He casually stated that he was simply wondering why a visitor was walking down the room, which led her to inquire about his interest. His smile broadened as he responded, asking if she truly desired an answer, then suggesting he merely wished to assist her because she appeared disoriented. Her patience visibly diminishing, she retorted that the matter did not concern him. With a final, dismissive gesture, she departed, leaving him with a simple farewell. As she continues to walk away, he makes a light-hearted comment, asking if she is lost, considering her typically friendly nature. He thinks to himself that something feels unusual about her current behavior. He recalls that the heroine is typically friendly with everyone, yet she is acting so cold, and he questions why this might be. He calls out to her once more, stating that his life depends on this, then quickly says, "Hey, wait." She stops, and he clarifies that he simply wants to help her make a choice. Without turning, she curtly tells him to mind his own affairs. He continues, suggesting that the staff she is holding appears perfect for her, but she remains firm. His expression changes to one of genuine confusion as he asks, "What do you know about staffs?" A subtle, almost unnoticeable smile appears on her lips, showing a hint of amusement despite her cold expression. He continues to inquire, asking what she is doing alone and if she is not getting along with her friends, his concern clear. She simply states that she has heard a lot about him, then adds that he would not be capable of choosing that particular item. They stand together in a shimmering, crystalline chamber, its blue light reflecting off their uniforms. Before them, a staff of brilliant blue energy rests partially submerged in an ethereal pool. A voice echoes, questioning, "Terry Vaughn?" The question hangs in the air, leaving Beck Uziel with a puzzled expression. He murmurs in confusion, his gaze fixed on something unseen. Suddenly, a low rumble begins, catching his attention as he starts to question the source of the noise. The sound intensifies, and his eye flares with an unnatural golden light, streaks of purple energy radiating from it. A surge of raw power erupts, accompanied by a deep, resonant hum. The energy explodes outwards in a blinding flash of white and azure. He remains silent, processing the overwhelming sensation. His expression hardens, a newfound determination settling upon his features. With a decisive motion, he reaches out and firmly grasps the glowing staff, admitting that the sudden event had startled him. A sudden, jarring realization slams into him, leaving him utterly bewildered. His mind races, trying to process the impossible, his expression a mask of disbelief, as the world around him seems to blur into an incomprehensible haze. He clutches at his uniform, a desperate anchor in the storm of his thoughts, his grip tightening as if to hold onto reality itself. His eyes, wide with a chilling dread, reflect the sudden, terrifying clarity of a memory, a sharp gasp escaping his lips. The question forms in his mind, a desperate, fragmented whisper, challenging the very fabric of his recent experience. Beck Uziel's voice, strained with disbelief, echoes his internal turmoil, wondering if the incredible power and the mysterious staff were nothing more than a figment of his imagination. But then, a memory of flame flashes through his mind, her distressed face a stark contrast to his own confusion, as he recalls her intended role in the unfolding events. A hesitant sound escapes him, a small, uncertain utterance, as the pieces of the puzzle begin to shift in his mind. The image of flame returns, her expression now subtly unsettling, a flicker of something darker beneath her usual demeanor. Then, the vision twists, her face contorting into a chilling, red-tinged smile, a sinister revelation that sends a jolt of horror through him. The single, agonizing question rips through his mind, echoing the betrayal he now perceives, a desperate plea for understanding in the face of such deceit. Overwhelmed by the horrifying truth, Beck Uziel gasps, clutching his chest, the weight of the revelation crushing him. A horrifying realization washes over him, leaving him with a profound sense of despair. He understands that he is in an extremely dire situation, utterly and completely. A quiet conversation begins to spread through the academy, as one student asks, "Hey, did you hear?" The question hangs in the air, and Flame listens carefully as the news begins to circulate. The murmurs intensify, disclosing that this year, 2 people successfully acquired and resonated with Mythic class staffs. This information causes her to reflect, realizing the significance. Now, the truth becomes clear. Only 5 people had managed to obtain those before, so the number has increased by 2 people now. However, an even more surprising detail emerges. But, surprisingly, one of the students exclusively used Blink during the magic manifestation exam. This information prompts a discussion between Mai Yuziang and Uslek, with Ma Yuziang questioning, "Why is Blink considered basic magic? How could that be possible?" Uslek further explains, "My parents mentioned that Blink was considered a children's game-level magic. The implications of such a basic spell being used in a significant exam leave Flame feeling quite concerned." Her expression shows worry as she ponders, did something go wrong? The question remains unanswered, her concern evident, as the mystery surrounding the Blink user grows. The quiet halls of the academy offered a brief respite from the day's commotion. Sunlight streaming through tall windows into empty study rooms and through the main hall. A sigh of relief escaped her lips, as she finally found a moment of peace. Though the whispers of the day's events still echoed in her mind, a topic that seemed to follow her everywhere. Indeed, the news of 2 new students resonating with myth class staffs had spread like wildfire across the campus. Elsewhere, a young man expressed his confusion, unable to comprehend the implications of such an event. The thought alone made her gasp, wondering if the rumors were true and who this mysterious individual could be. He, however, had a different perspective, having read the original novel 3 times, and knew that a character named Baek Yuziel had never once appeared within its pages, despite the novel's supposed ability to be rewritten. Considering the recent news of myth-class staff wielders, Flame reflects on the situation, questioning how such a high level of power could appear so soon. Elsewhere, Baek Yuziel watches appears confident demeanor, internally noting that the other individual seems to be trying to impress him. Ma Yuziang stands confidently, holding his staff with an assured posture. Flame continues to contemplate the situation, finding it a significant development to consider. Her focus is broken by someone calling her name, causing her to look up in surprise. Bayan stands with a raised hand, her serious expression indicating she is stopping someone. Turning to Stella, Bayan asks if she plans to go off by herself. Flame's face shows a mix of surprise and annoyance as she observes the interaction. A slight smile appears on her face, suggesting a moment of amusement. Her expression turns annoyed as she thinks, wondering why her friends always make her feel like hitting them or causing trouble. Bayan, still holding Stella's arm, denies the accusation, stating that the situation is not as Stella believes. Stella, looking annoyed, questions Flame, asking why she always calls them kids when they are the same age. Flame, reflecting on the day, finds herself falling into a familiar pattern of thought. It's just a habit, she thinks, a lingering effect from her past life, where she was always treated as older. The realization that she's living inside a novel, a truth she'd uncovered previously, still brings a wry smile to her face. Her thoughts then drift to the present, wondering if she'll be left alone today, a subtle hint of loneliness in her expression. She tries to recall a name, a flicker of recognition crossing her mind, thinking of someone named Jackie. But then, a correction, as she realizes it's the younger sister, a girl quite similar to the one she initially thought of. She ponders the implications of revealing supplementary settings from the original work, a dangerous game of meta-knowledge, before dismissing the thought with a confident declaration of her own charm. With a renewed sense of purpose, she declares her readiness to embark on a new life, striding forward with a determined humph. As she walks, her gaze falls upon Stella, clad in her academy uniform, and Flame can't help but sigh at the youthful energy surrounding her. She internally remarks on the challenge of dealing with girls at this age, a sentiment born from her unique perspective. The intricate details of Stella's uniform, from the crisp fabric to the delicate bow, are momentarily highlighted, emphasizing the youthful setting. A name, Hei Wonriang, crosses his thoughts. His attention returns to the present, as Stella cries out in pain, tears forming in her eyes. Her face, marked by sadness, shows a deep, hidden pain. Baek Yuziel looks at her with concern, the name Hei Wonriang still on his mind. He reaches out to her, offering comfort in her moment of sadness. Despite his clear worry, Stella manages a small smile, claiming she is fine. However, her true feelings are clear on her face, a story he cannot overlook. He speaks, his voice gentle but firm, asking if something is wrong. She avoids looking at him, her silence saying much, as her hidden problems weigh on her. She eventually looks up, still denying anything is wrong, even though her eyes show otherwise. As they start walking, he changes the subject, asking about her plans for self-study. Stella, however, turns his worry back to him, saying he cannot focus if he is concerned, to which he replies that she should not say such things. As Stella remains withdrawn, her gaze fixed on the ground, Baek Yuziel continues to inquire about her distress. He asks if everything is truly all right, his expression showing a mix of concern and gentle inquiry. A soft sound escapes him, a quiet acknowledgement of her silence. But as he speaks, a faint glow begins to emanate from Stella's hand, a shimmering blue light hinting at a deeper, hidden turmoil. He offers a gentle later then, a concession to her reluctance, his eyes still fixed on her, searching for answers. The blue light around Stella's hand intensifies, crackling with unseen energy, a silent testament to the powerful emotions she struggles to contain. Without a word, she turns and walks away, her form receding into the distance. A dismissive "how bland" escapes her lips as she glances back, a remark that belies the emotions simmering beneath her calm facade. Baek Yuziel watches her go, a puzzled escaping him, her words and actions leaving him with more questions than answers. As she continues to walk, a vibrant blue aura flares around her, the magical energy swirling and crackling, a clear sign of her agitated state. Her hand, still glowing with intense blue particles, seems to pulse with an uncontrolled power. Concern etched on his face, Beck Uziel wonders why the magical manifestation persists, and he begins to call out to her. As Stella's magical aura recedes, Beck Uziel remains, contemplating the situation, a thought forming that his previous preoccupation with combat has caused him to overlook the broader story at play. Elsewhere, Flame walks through the academy corridors, her thoughts already on the day's schedule, aware that she must prepare diligently for upcoming events. Her footsteps are steady as she continues her walk through the busy school. The academy building stands grandly, its architecture suggesting a long history of learning. Inside, a specific area is designated the self-study hall, a place for individual learning. However, a different event is planned for today, a special supplementary meeting that Flame is preparing to attend. She proceeds onward, her uniform visible as she moves through the academy's corridors. A voice then speaks to her. Uslek, his eyes showing a blue glow, informs her about the upcoming meeting. Flame pays close attention, realizing the importance of observing the upcoming confrontation between the female lead and the villainess from the romance fantasy novel. The academy's large archways are visible, their detailed designs part of the old building. Considering the warning, Flame proceeds, holding a book and looking thoughtful as she nears her destination. Elsewhere in the academy, Ma Yuziang and Jeremy Goldwyn are seen talking quietly, their expressions showing worry as they discuss recent happenings. She observes the academy hall, realizing that all the important characters are present for the special supplementary meeting. Jeremy Goldwyn stands in quiet contemplation, his thoughts consumed by the prospect of entering the S-class. A system message appears, stating, "I've only concerned myself with PvP and not the story so far, but the whole lore got messed up. Is this okay?" His expression tightens, a flicker of unease crossing his features as he considers the implications, wondering if this unforeseen consequence could truly be acceptable. The thought echoes, Beck Uziel really was a genius and was acting like that, a chilling realization of the protagonist's true nature. The conclusion is stark and undeniable. Then he's dangerous. Meanwhile, Ma Yuziang stands poised, his gaze sharp and observant, a silent judgment in his posture. Beck Uziel's brow furrows, a deep sense of apprehension settling over him, his thoughts racing with the weight of the revelation. A quiet sigh escapes him, a sound of resignation or perhaps just exhaustion. Nearby, Ma Yuziang and Kyle observe him, their expressions unreadable as Ma Yuziang remarks, "This guy doesn't seem to be doing anything." Then, with a direct challenge, Ma Yuziang confronts him. "Uziel, why did you come here?" He continues, his tone firm, "You don't need to listen to this kind of stuff." Still processing the system's message, he considered the consequences of his past actions, questioning if there was another reason for his intense focus on player-versus-player combat, a reason he had overlooked, having removed everything unrelated to it. A sudden thought crosses his mind, and he utters a soft "huh," as his eyes show a hint of surprise. Elsewhere, an observer considers the protagonist, a sense of wonder about why he is so interested in him. Ma Yuziang, the student with blue hair, offers a slight smile, his thoughts revealing the focus of his attention. "Me anyway?" Returning to the current moment, Ma Yuziang faces Beck Uziel, his expression serious, as Kyle and Yeel stand quietly behind them. Ma Yuziang's thoughts turn to a previous lecture, where he addressed a class from a podium, informing them that they would encounter some problems. Aralit and Bayan, among other students, paid close attention, as the speaker reiterated, "As you all already know, this is a problem." The memory shows Ma Yuziang's confident statement, claiming that he managed to solve one of those issues. His thoughts turn to annoyance, muttering, "Damn it, why are there people like him in here?" while contemplating expanding his strategies. The person he refers to is Beck Uziel, whose previous academic record stands out, as he received the lowest score in the placement exam. Returning to the present, Ma Yuziang's face becomes serious as he observes Beck Uziel, his mind concluding, "No, this is actually my chance," recalling that Beck Uziel got the lowest score. He completes his thought, the lowest score in the placement exam still in his mind as he looks at the protagonist with a new kind of interest. He smirks, his mind still focused on Beck Uziel's past exam score, believing this unexpected weakness offers him a chance to prove his own superiority. With a clear goal in mind, Ma Yuziang's eyes show his strong resolve, as he silently promises to prove his superiority. He remembers a time when he stood in front of a class, saying, "You know, I solved it first." He points to a difficult problem on the blackboard, remembering his success, thinking of the problem that everyone was struggling with, which he had easily solved. As he quickly writes the solution, he remembers his easy skill, with a student's hand reaching out next to his in wonder. A pleased look crosses his face, his eyes keen behind his glasses as he holds the pen, his past success still driving him. Meanwhile, Beck Uziel's eyes show a hint of understanding, as he thinks about what Ma Yuziang's thoughts mean. Back in the present, Ma Yuziang's smirk grows wider, a silent challenge forming on his lips as he looks forward to their next encounter. Beck Uziel's thoughts show his confusion, as he wonders, what is he saying? I don't understand it. Ma Yuziang's look, now at Beck Uziel, holds a slight challenge, his unspoken question clear. What is the three questions problem? Following the implied challenge, Beck Uziel responds with a casual indifference, uttering a simple whatever, as if unconcerned by the situation. However, an underlying thought emerges, a quiet resolve to simply be honest. For in truth, he admits to himself that he doesn't know. Elsewhere, Ma Yuziang maintains a self-assured expression, holding a pen with a confident air. Suddenly, a thought crosses his mind, identifying the source of the earlier sentiment. That's Beck Uziel. His confident demeanor shatters, replaced by distress as he processes the implication. Is he saying that Kyle's doing it wrong? He questions, clearly troubled by the thought. Internal turmoil erupts, his thoughts racing with a confused Hunt-wise as his understanding is challenged. At the same time, Beck Uziel senses an unspoken judgment, looking around with a confused expression and thinking, everyone looking at me like this, as if under scrutiny. His hand, holding a pen, shows a slight tremor, reflecting the internal pressure he feels. The earlier self-doubt returns as a direct question. Am I doing it wrong? He ponders, feeling uncertain. His expression, now filled with concern, reveals the weight of his self-doubt and the unexpected attention. He reflects on his past, realizing he had been so focused on player-versus-player combat that he had neglected the story and lore of this world. Now, the entire story felt broken, and he wondered if any of it could be fixed. A sudden sound breaks the silence. As Ma Yuziang's face shows clear shock, his mind struggling with what Beck Uziel had just said. He couldn't believe it. Beck Uziel, meanwhile, simply turns his head away, letting out a quiet sigh. A voice, perhaps a memory, offers encouragement. You can do it, Uziel. But Ma Yuziang's frustration grows as he thinks about Beck Uziel's method, wondering if it was part of Kyle's plan. He couldn't believe Kyle would do this on purpose. Another sharp sound fills the air, and Beck Uziel simply walks away, looking tired. Ugh. Oh well, he says, his shoulders dropping. He accepts the task, deciding to just finish it. His hand holds a pen, ready for the next challenge, even if he doesn't feel like it. The two students stand in the classroom, a quiet tension between them, their different reactions to the problem creating a gap. It is not just a simple test, but a complex riddle, more like a fun quiz than a straightforward exam. To show what it's like, one could think of an example. This is the core of the three questions problem, a puzzle that questions normal understanding and makes one ask, why would that be? However, despite its difficulty, the answer is said to be simple. Professor Lee Hanwheel explains, giving an example where dirt itself starts the process of decay. He admits it sounds silly, but says this strangeness is what the three questions problem is about, daring anyone to solve it. His face stays serious, his eyes focused on the task. He then points to Kyle, saying that he was the one who gave some important clues for solving this difficult problem. The problem itself deals with strange ideas, like the ground breaking open when it cries, or other odd thoughts. Professor Lee Hanwheel says he solved some parts of it, but wonders if a different way of solving it might be wrong. Though he cannot show the exact solution, he offers to help others by showing them where they might be wrong. The conversation about the three questions problem progresses, and Beck Uziel addresses his fellow student, who responds with a simple, what? Still trying to understand the problem's abstract nature, Uslek asks aloud. The problem mentioned Earth, but what if it had been Mars or Pluto? Beck Uziel responds to his question with a direct challenge. Do you think your method will still work then? Uslek's confidence falters, and he looks down, stating, I will just try a different method. Beck Uziel, with a serious expression, continues to question him. But you think you'll have to do everything differently? The implication weighs heavily on Uslek, who, appearing more distressed, finally states his growing understanding. It was only because of luck that you got the answer right. Beck Uziel makes a dismissive gesture, confirming, not because it was what the maker intended you to do. The truth impacts Uslek, his eyes widening in surprise before he looks down in defeat, uttering, that's. With a look of complete dejection, Uslek finally agrees, you're right. Beck Uziel, however, has a moment of self-doubt, thinking, eek, did I kill his confidence too much? Putting aside his brief concern, Beck Uziel returns to the lesson, stating, anyway, this is supposed to be. He continues to explain the problem, standing in front of a blackboard, his voice clear in the classroom. Later, they are both seated at desks, still engaged in their discussion, with Beck Uziel continuing to guide Uslek through the complexities of the three questions problem. During the lecture, a student carefully writes down the information being presented. A sudden realization causes her to gasp, her expression shifting to one of surprise. The atmosphere in the room changes, as the lecture's content sinks in for everyone present. The student, processing the information, quietly questions, how is this possible? She keeps writing, recording what is being said. However, she observes that Ariel and Hong Bayan, who often argue, are not doing so, appearing distracted. She understands that both are focused on the problem, setting aside their usual disagreements. A thought crosses her mind, questioning if this situation is acceptable. A digital interface for Magic Academy X Heroes Blades appears, displaying character profiles and game statistics. Outside, a cityscape is visible, illuminated by the colors of dawn or dusk. Inside, Ma Yuziang bids farewell, stating, then I'll see you tomorrow, Uziel. He makes a casual gesture, before turning to leave. Ma Yuziong walks away, leaving Baek Yuziel standing alone. The other student looks back with a slight smile, as Yuziel thinks, all messed up with someone like Ma Yuziong, letting out a sigh. Ma Yuziong's smile suggests he believes, tomorrow, I don't have to worry about it for the rest of my life. While Yuziel sighs again, his expression still downcast. A close-up shows Ma Yuziong's hand holding a phone, as he thinks, it's probably because of the telephone. Yuziel's thoughts continue, as he looks at the distant figure of Ma Yuziong. I can't even get into the novel, let alone catch Ma Yuziong's attention. He ponders the situation, thinking, I just can't understand why he came to me. His thoughts turn to the story's plot, as he notes, there weren't any other important characters like it should be. A close-up of his face shows a troubled expression as he grapples with his thoughts. The heroine, Flame, approaches, reflecting that she had only ever concerned herself with player-versus-player combat, neglecting the broader narrative of the story. Baek Yuziel, still processing recent events, considers if this new development is something he should be expecting. He attempts to dismiss the situation, telling himself it has no bearing on him and that he should leave swiftly. However, the heroine's attention falls upon him, and she addresses him directly as Baek Yuziel. She lets out a light laugh, her expression suggesting a hint of amusement. Looking at him directly, she states that she has a question for him. Her statement lingers, as she ponders the challenge of explaining a concept that even Hong Baiyin found inexplicable. Baek Yuziel's thoughts churn, as he considers what she might want to inquire about. She then asks her puzzling question, how can a non-magical duel be logically explained? The question leaves Baek Yuziel bewildered, as he finds himself without a suitable response, grappling with the concept of a non-magical duel. Feeling flustered and unprepared, he confesses that he has no answer. Hong Baiyin, with her white hair and red eyes, stands opposite a male student. He asks her why she did not use a coupon at a previous time, to which she calmly replies that she understands. He repeats his question, inquiring again why she had not used the coupon at the time. A look of confusion appears on his face, as he quietly thinks that her understanding is not what he meant. With a determined look in his red eyes, he states that he will compensate her. Baiyin responds with a simple, what? And he reiterates his promise to compensate her fairly. Bayin's expression turns thoughtful as she states. Her noble attire is visible, emphasizing her status as she processes the conversation. The male student's face registers extreme shock, as he lets out a surprised exclamation, clearly taken aback by Bayin's words. The setting changes to a library, with tall bookshelves and a warm lamp illuminating the space. In this new setting, Baiyin and the male student are now seated at a wooden table, continuing their conversation. A document from the year 2514 shows the results of a test, with Baek Yuziel's name and score visible. In a quiet library, the male student, clearly confused, asks Baiyin why she is asking him these specific questions about the placement test. He replies respectfully, yes, of course, my lady, but she quickly interjects, noting that he only got 3 questions wrong. He looks embarrassed and asks if she isn't ashamed to ask him about the questions he got wrong. Baiyin, completely calm, states that she is not embarrassed at all, finding it interesting that he still doesn't know the answers. The student, looking resolute, declares that if he can find the answer, he is willing to do anything. He thinks to himself that she sounds like a model student. Baiyin then asks him why he asked her specifically. He replies that as a princess, she must be good at everything, or at least capable of it. Holding a document, Baiyin explains that among all the students who got the 3 questions wrong, she was the only one who included him. The student looks surprised, beginning to ask, what are you? With a serious expression, Baiyin states that these 3 questions were meant to be unanswerable, but Ma Yuziong managed to answer them. Grappling with the shocking truth, Baek Yuziel finds himself in a difficult situation, his mind racing as he scribbles notes. He frantically flips through pages, trying to understand the situation, a desperate no, wait, escaping his lips. Baiyin, observing his distress, reminds him that he never truly knew the story while playing the game, leaving him to wonder if these revelations are truly insane. His eyes widen in disbelief, the realization hitting him hard. How could he have understood anything in class without knowing the underlying lore? The weight of his ignorance presses down, as he recalls a crucial detail. Flame had held him back, a memory now imbued with new meaning. Baiyin continues, her voice calm amidst his rising panic, explaining that she herself didn't know all the intricate details of the world building, nor was she aware of the existence of those 3 unanswerable questions. Yet, there was one who stood apart, for Flame was different. A golden aura envelopes Flame in a fleeting vision. As the truth dawns, she possessed knowledge of the original novel, a crucial advantage that allowed her to understand the game's lore, a knowledge others lacked. The implications ripple through Baek Yuziel's mind, affecting most of the story's settings, especially the sign of the 3 unanswerable questions. His expression contorts in a mix of shock and frustration, realizing that he, once an extra, was now the novel's main character, yet it was Flame who had held him back, a fact he now understood with chilling clarity. Baiyin, noticing his profound distress, asks why he looks so troubled, to which he can only offer a dismissive, don't worry about it, his mind still reeling. Lost in thought, his brow furrowed in deep contemplation, Beck Uziel struggles to process the overwhelming implications of these new revelations. Meanwhile, Bayan addresses Jeremy Goldwyn, reminding him, "You aren't forgetting that you still owe me a favor for helping you with the registration, right?" Jeremy Goldwyn responds with a simple yeah, before stating his request. "I have a simple request. Alter my staff into a magic sword." He continues speaking, as if the request were straightforward. He even offers a suggestion. "The blacksmiths of your kingdom should be able to do that easily." Bayan, however, looks surprised, her expression changing as she asks, "But only high-level mercenaries use those kinds of weapons. Why would you, a mage, use dash?" Jeremy Goldwyn interrupts her, simply stating, "It fits my style." Bayan's disbelief is clear, as she simply says, "I don't," unable to comprehend his logic. Jeremy Goldwyn then clarifies, "No, I'm not going to do it on my own." Bayan remains quiet, her expression thoughtful as she considers his statement. Jeremy Goldwyn continues, offering a condition. He then reveals his true offer, holding up a document and promising, "Great. Then, I'll tell you the unanswerable question first." With a knowing look, Jeremy Goldwyn hints at the nature of the information, a change of perspective. A change of perspective, he had suggested, and Bayan quietly agreed. Her thoughts turned to Hong Bayan's weakness, a flaw she was very familiar with. Her magic was strictly by the book, leaving her unable to progress, stuck in a repetitive pattern. This realization only came to her in her second year, a truth she now saw mirrored in Beck Uziel's situation. After a significant loss to Flame, she felt she couldn't give any advice at the moment, her own recent defeat still too fresh. However, Jeremy Goldwyn, watching her think, believed he could still guide her, and he prepared to do so. He then asked her, "Do you happen to know what a meaningless quiz is?" Inside the Magic Academy, Bayan begins to question Beck Uziel about a cave, her voice soft as she asks. Before she can finish, Beck Uziel interrupts, asking if she knows what a nonsense quiz is. He gestures with his hand, while Bayan listens, her red eyes showing a hint of recognition. A moment later, she admits she might have heard of such a thing, a nonsense riddle. With a confident expression, he offers to give her an example. He starts, saying, "the back of the knee," then adds, "is and." The realization hits Bayan as he finishes, reminding her of his question. "I asked what's between a knee and a knee, remember?" She lets out a frustrated groan, finally understanding the riddle. Bayan, still processing the previous riddle, found herself drawn into a deeper discussion about the nature of magic. As he mentioned his current power level, then quickly dismissed her attempts to understand complex formulas, insisting that true mastery was not about memorization. He urged her to set aside her questions about raw power, focusing instead on a more profound aspect of their craft. For him, the true challenge was not about mastering existing techniques, but about forging new ones, pushing the boundaries of what was known. He explained that solving problems with one's own ingenuity was the essence of creativity, leaving Bayan to ponder if such an abstract concept could even be taught or memorized. Her expression shifted from confusion to deep contemplation, the weight of his words settling upon her. Finally, with a soft sigh, she conceded, acknowledging the truth in his unconventional wisdom. He watched her, a subtle intensity in his gaze, knowing she was on the verge of a breakthrough. Bayan, now with a newfound determination, affirmed that while knowing spells was crucial, there was something even more fundamental for a mage. He nodded, ready to articulate the core of his philosophy, the true secret to unlocking magical potential. It was about perceiving the world beyond conventional thought, to see the unseen, to feel the unfelt, and to challenge the very fabric of reality. As a soft, golden aura enveloped her, Bayan finally understood, magic was not just about power, but about growth, about embracing even the smallest shifts in perspective to achieve greatness. Bayan remained deep in thought, contemplating the nature of magic, prompting herself to consider how she performs them. Beck Uziel continued his explanation, stating that casting spells involved more than just memorization when performing them. He conceded her strength in analytical thinking and judgment, but highlighted that creativity was the most vital quality for a mage. As his words resonated, Bayan's understanding deepened, realizing spells were not simply about technique, and weren't just about memorizing, and a soft, golden aura began to emanate from her, indicating a significant internal shift. A surprised exclamation escaped her as the realization fully dawned, uttering, "Whoa." Noticing her serious demeanor, Beck Uziel remarked on her intense focus, stating the look on her face was too serious. He then cautiously inquired if she had truly grasped his somewhat complicated teachings, asking, "You understood everything I said, right? Even though it sounds kind of complicated." She met his gaze with a confident smile. Her eyes now glowing with a vibrant red, she affirmed her complete comprehension, saying, "Of course, I did." His expression shifted to one of comical disbelief, admitting he himself had no idea what he was talking about, stating, "That's fascinating. I have no idea what I'm talking about." A soft glow emanates from a nearby lamp, illuminating the quiet space as the profound implications of the lesson begin to sink in. Bayan, deep in thought, ponders the abstract teachings, her mind grappling with the unconventional wisdom, yet she finds herself unable to articulate the exact nature of her burgeoning understanding, simply thinking, "I don't know." Her brow furrows slightly as she considers the bizarre analogy, wondering, what would the man say to the horse while petting it? I don't know. The question hangs in the air, a testament to the profound and unsettling nature of the lesson, leaving her to conclude once more, I don't know. Her hand moves across the paper, diligently taking notes, as the abstract concepts begin to solidify into tangible understanding, a process that feels like deep work. Still, the elusive answer to the horse analogy evades her, prompting the thought, I don't know, because they're always looking down on the job. But then, a spark ignites within her, her red eyes glowing with newfound insight. As the pieces of the puzzle finally click into place, the abstract becoming clear, yet she still murmurs, I don't know. Meanwhile, Beck Uziel, recalling his own profound, if somewhat nonsensical, example of how rock began to crumble and scorpions were vaporized, can't help but wonder if his own teachings are truly sound. Thinking, is this okay? He watches Bayan intently, a subtle shift in her aura indicating a breakthrough, while she, in turn, looks back at him, her expression unreadable but her eyes still holding that inner glow. Her gaze remains fixed, the red light in her eyes intensifying, a clear sign of the powerful magic now flowing through her, a direct result of her profound comprehension. The glow from her eyes pulses, radiating a quiet power that speaks volumes of her rapid growth. And Beck Uziel, witnessing her incredible progress, can only scratch his head in comical disbelief, realizing he might have stumbled upon something truly extraordinary, musing, oops, guess I should explore my mind more. Still processing the profound concepts, Bayan's glowing red eyes fixate on her instructor, as she presses him for clarity, asking, is that then what you meant by the ocean? He, however, seems to have momentarily lost his own train of thought, muttering to himself, what the cloud did to the ocean. What was I saying? A moment of silence hangs in the air as Bayan waits, her expression shifting from contemplation to a growing sense of urgency. Her hands clasped in earnest, she pleads, please. Her heart pounds with anticipation, and her instructor's eyes widen in surprise as he finally catches on, a soft, questioning, oh, escaping his lips. A triumphant smile breaks across Bayan's face, her glowing eyes shining brighter, as she exclaims, why you got it right. Her entire demeanor radiates pure joy and understanding, a brilliant smile illuminating her face as she holds her pen, ready to absorb more. Her instructor, utterly taken aback by her radiant expression, admits, wow, this is my first time seeing her smile so brightly, and in reality. As Bayan diligently writes, applying her newfound knowledge, it becomes clear that she's on a practice of magic on another level entirely. Looking up with an eager grin, her eyes still glowing with insight, she confidently declares, about that, I know, give me the next question. Beck Uziel, with a confident expression, reflects on his past, admitting that he had only concerned himself with player versus player combat, neglecting the story. Now, however, the entire lore of this world has become complicated. High above the sprawling academy, the moon casts its light, illuminating the grand architecture. The intricate details of the towering structures stand as a testament to a world more complex than he had previously considered. As he walks through the academy grounds with Uslek, Beck Uziel considers whether this chaotic narrative is truly acceptable. His thoughts are consumed by the implications of his past actions, and the altered story weighs heavily on him. He recalls the countless hours he spent acquiring power, oblivious to the unfolding plot. He spent 4 hours, just training with Hong Bayan, completely focused on gaining strength. A sudden realization strikes him, a jolt of surprise as he processes the full extent of his past negligence. The implications of his single-minded focus on player versus player combat now weigh heavily on his expression, showing a mix of concern and regret. Yet, amidst his turmoil, he remembers Hong Bayan, an individual of unparalleled excellence and a very sharp mind. Her only weakness, a peculiar way of thinking, might just be the key to utilizing her incredible potential. As he remembers Bayan, a feeling of guilt washes over him, recognizing her part in his current situation. His thoughts turn to his past actions, realizing he had focused only on player versus player combat, and not on the story, which had now become completely messed up. Pushing these thoughts aside, he decides it's time to go to his next class. His footsteps sound softly as he starts walking. His footsteps continue as he looks around, unsure if he is in the correct location. He walks with a clear goal, looking carefully at the city around him. He shows a hint of recognition as he looks more closely. Then, with a feeling of relief, he announces that he has found it. After finding what he sought, he stands with his back to the viewer, thinking about what to do next. As he observes the game interface, Beck Uziel considers his past actions, acknowledging that his focus on player versus player combat led him to overlook the narrative, which has now become significantly altered. This new environment, a vast magic academy, now presents itself, a location where significant characters like professors and heroines resided, and which serves as the primary setting for the game's narrative. Inside its historic structures, a wealth of information is stored, with a specific area, a named descript bookstore, appearing to be of particular importance. A solitary individual surveys the silent, resonant corridors, commenting on the desolate atmosphere of the location. Yet, despite the emptiness, he understood, a sudden understanding impacting him profoundly. This location was the Magic Academy, the central point of the game's primary narrative, where figures such as professors and the heroine resided, their destinies now connected to his. Within this academy, the named Descript bookstore exists, a site holding numerous undisclosed facts and vital knowledge. It is possible that the hidden notes of Maella are hidden here, the writings of a student who achieved top honors at Stella Academy 10 years prior, emanating a subtle, ancient energy. Truly, the significant object was concealed within this exact location, a golden symbol indicating its existence. Whereas the game would merely offer a yes or no choice to enroll in a class, this current situation required considerably more effort. In this real-world scenario, he would need to physically locate the textbook for his chosen field of study, a luminous volume of information that would not simply materialize. Furthermore, the consequences were more significant, since the particular textbook selected would directly affect the speed of his academic progress, a crucial element in this challenging environment. He remembered how, in the beginning, he had purchased textbooks from well-known bookstores, but later found out that the truly good textbooks were often hidden in less obvious places. These were not just any stores, they were often found in hidden locations, without any clear signs, making them difficult to find. He understood that to take a high-level class, he would need the hidden notes of Maella, a text that almost guaranteed perfect grades. While simply wearing the bulbul glasses might earn him good grades, he would still need to discover the correct method to truly succeed. His expression grew serious, a focused look in his eyes, as he carefully searched the old bookshelves, aware of the importance of his task. Suddenly, he found what he was looking for, a quiet "here it is" escaping him as he recognized the book. He reached out carefully, his fingers touching the old cover of the book. The pages made a soft sound as he gently pulled, carefully taking the important book from the shelf. But just as he held the book, a sudden, unexpected voice made him jump, a surprised "huh," leaving his mouth as he looked around. The name sounded in his thoughts, a familiar yet surprising Acel, was spoken. Before him stood a young woman with long, light blue hair and light blue eyes, her appearance a sudden, graceful break in his quiet search. Her arrival added a new level of difficulty, as if his world had just changed again. Acel, her light blue hair framing her face, confirms her recognition of him, saying, "I am. Of course, I remember you." Her expression becoming clearer, she adds, "Ah, I remember now. You're from the supplementary group." She then confirms, "Your name was Beck Uziel, right?" Clutching the textbook, Beck Uziel silently questions, what does she mean by supplementary group? Acel, continuing her explanation, states, "I've checked the records." About it, Acel wasn't able to figure out that question fully either. Her words only add to his bewilderment. With a polite farewell, she turns and walks away, saying, "Anyway, it was nice meeting you." Beck Uziel remained standing, surprised by the interaction, his thoughts consumed by her words. Looking at the book, he feels a sense of relief, thinking, thankfully this has been taken away. His eyes follow Izel's retreating figure, and he wonders, why would she be here? The book he holds is clearly titled Theory of Magic, a significant find amidst the day's unexpected events. He lets out a quiet sigh, the recent encounter weighing heavily on his mind. He stands in a dimly lit, old bookstore, surrounded by shelves filled with forgotten tomes, as he processes his thoughts. His attention is suddenly drawn upwards, a look of surprise on his face, as he wonders, what could that be? This particular bookstore typically sells used books, making it a common destination for students facing financial hardship, and he counts himself among them. His thoughts turn to Acel, a young woman from a once prominent family, who had lost everything and was left with no other choice but to come to this place and face her new reality. She is seen, her expression thoughtful, as she holds a book in her hands, a quiet moment amidst her difficult circumstances. Her father, it is revealed, was likely killed by the demonic race, despite being human, a tragic event that shaped her early life. A vivid image of blood splattering against a wall serves as a grim reminder of the violence she endured and the pain of her past. He reacts with a subtle gasp, understanding the depth of her unfortunate circumstances and realizing the full extent of her plight. Adding to her tragic story, Acel also met an untimely end in the original novel, dying even before the true main character of this world could fully emerge. A visual of intense flames appears, symbolizing the powerful emergence of the story's central figure. That central figure, the one destined to lead, was known as Flame. It was often said that the most unfortunate character in the game was Acel. Her eyes, which had been looking down, now lifted slightly, showing a hint of surprise. Elsewhere, a hand places another book onto a stack, with a small sound of effort. Acel, now sitting opposite Beck Uziel, watches him with confusion as he points to the books, asking her to give him all of them. She stammers, "All of those?" Sure, thinking to herself that he is stranger than she thought. Beck Uziel smiles at her, and she looks back with a questioning expression. A soft sound of annoyance escapes her, and she looks down, slightly flustered. He continues, "You just look like it looks like you picked out the most boring topics." She wonders if he was about to call her names, while he continues to smile. Her attention turns to a book titled Elemental Magic, and she questions his choices, asking why he would want the advanced healing theory. Acel explains her reasoning. I only thought healing is an ancient magic that has no use as of later, and that she thought she would just study current trends in elemental and magical engineering. Beck Uziel simply responds, oh, they say that it's a subject that doesn't have much use. Acel, still processing his unusual choices, acknowledges his understanding. As she explains her reasoning for taking the class, a strategy she believes gives her an advantage. She elaborates on her approach, noting that everyone else's underestimation of the subject allows her to easily excel, securing high grades with less effort. He listens intently, a subtle smirk playing on his lips. Acel then announces her departure, preparing to leave. Just as Acel had mentioned, the class on the theory of sealing wasn't popular. That was precisely why Beck Uziel chose it, knowing he could dedicate less time to it and still achieve high grades compared to more competitive subjects, optimizing his academic performance. He confidently declares that with this approach, he anticipates no problems for the semester, feeling secure in his choices. His hand already reaching for another book, continuing his studies. Leaving Acel to simply stare, speechless. The scene shifts to the second day, revealing the grand architecture of the academy. Acel observes that their initial class is focused on the theory of nihility. Even so, she considers that the subject's reputation for being easy to pass should make it acceptable. A brief silence fills the classroom as she pauses in thought. She then turns to her companion, inquiring if he is also enrolled in nihility. Her expression changes to concern as she understands that despite believing she was the sole enrollee for the easy class, the rumor has spread, and many intelligent students are now signing up. The understanding settles in, a hint of frustration appearing on her face, as her academic strategy faces an unexpected challenge. With a resolute look, she decides to simply try harder in her other classes. She sighs, then states that the class has ended. Beck Uziel, meanwhile, announces that he is hungry. Acel asks what he will have for lunch, and he replies that he will decide at the cafeteria. She lets out an exasperated sound, complaining that with so many students in a class, it will be hard to get a good grade. Frustration swirls around her head in a pink and purple glow, and her stomach growls loudly, indicating both her stress and hunger. Still processing the unexpected popularity of the theory of nihility class, Izel's thoughts began to wander, a more immediate concern taking hold. Her stomach rumbles audibly, drawing her attention away from her academic worries. She mentally calculates her remaining class tickets, a necessary step for the upcoming semester. The feeling of hunger grows stronger, leading her to decide on a simple meal to satisfy it. Her expression remains thoughtful and slightly troubled, as she continues to ponder her circumstances. Elsewhere, Ma Yuziang, appearing composed and elegant, gently fans himself, seemingly unburdened by the concerns of others. However, despite these personal concerns and the calm demeanor of some, the influence of Beck Uziel continues to be a significant factor. A system interface appears, showing a player profile for Beck Uziel, complete with his statistics for Magic Academy X Senior Blinders. In a classroom, Ma Yuziang looks at his tablet, his expression changing slightly as he says, "That's." He then looks up, his glasses reflecting the light, observing the classroom. Erlit watches him from a distance, a look of surprise and curiosity on her face, thinking, what is he doing here? The lecture continues, filling the classroom with its steady rhythm. Yuziang begins writing notes, a small, but indicating a deeper thought. The classroom is not very full, and a thought arises, there are so few students here, and all the others. The thought continues, students here are people who scored iffy grades too. Erlit looks concerned, thinking, this lecture might be in danger of getting cancelled. Yuziang shows a slight smirk, a small if, appearing in his thoughts. The thought continues, if I push up for this class. Erlit, now looking determined, thinks, I'll be able to raise my grades without putting a lot of my time into it. Beck Uziel looks at his textbook, thinking that he has only concerned himself with player versus player combat so far. He realizes he needs to study other subjects, as this will allow him to earn more money. Meanwhile, Erlit observes him from a distance. Her light blue hair falls over her shoulder, as she continues to watch him. Beck Uziel, unaware of her gaze, continues to read his book with a focused expression. Erlit's expression shows concern, as she wonders if the lecture will be cancelled, which would be a significant problem for her grades. However, a new thought comes to her, and her eyes widen with understanding. No, this isn't a problem, it's an opportunity. A moment of quiet thought passes, as she processes her realization. The large academy building is seen from the outside, a place where magic is taught. Inside the academy, Beck Uziel continues his studies, thinking about the origin of magic, which he believes everyone already knows. A lecture begins, explaining that with the arrival of the founding mage, known as the Mage in White, magic spread across the world, enabling humans and other species to learn its use. This historical account is delivered by Professor Lei Din, a scholar of divine moon studies, who continues to explain the ancient origins of magical understanding. As the lecture continues, vivid images of the past appear, showing the world before magic became common. The glowing figure of the Mage in White appears, as the professor explains that her actions allowed everyone on Earth to use magic. Even the strong dwarves, shown in their armor, were among the first to learn these new magical skills. Fancy patterns and glowing particles fill the air, showing how magic became a deep part of the world. Meanwhile, Beck Uziel sits at his desk, taking in the information, learning about elemental magic and how the mage in white later went to the heavens. A moment of quiet thought passes as he considers this ancient history. He feels a bit annoyed, wondering how he will get through 3 more years of school. A memory shows his younger self, also bored, complaining that being in school again at his age is very hard, wishing he could skip the lessons and go straight to practice. His eyes become focused, showing a hint of resolve, as he thinks about what the lecture truly means. Despite his first feelings, he realizes that this lecture is very important, thinking it might hold the key clues he needs to find the true ending of his story. He considers his current understanding, admitting that it is only an assumption. A thought that occurred to him only at that specific time. A new question then crosses his mind, as he quietly asks, was Acel always in this class? He looks towards Aralet, who stands calmly next to Uslek, their presence a surprising detail. Aralet, appearing unaware, continues to listen, as he thinks, I don't remember any main characters taking this class. The fine details of her formal clothing catch the light. But he quickly puts the thought aside, concluding, well, that doesn't matter to me. His attention shifts back to the lecture, as Professor Layden explains that human curiosity was not limited to elemental magic. The professor continues, explaining that human mages traveled the world, learning magic from other species. However, even with all this knowledge, they were still not satisfied. The reason for this was that the founding mage, after leaving behind the 12 divine moons, had simply disappeared. A mysterious, hooded figure, surrounded by a soft blue light, appears as a symbol of this missing mage. Before asking the class, does anyone know about the 12 divine moons? Aralet listens as the professor explains that the 12 divine moons are known for keeping the balance of power on the continent. He continues, saying that they were scattered across the world and did their duties for over 1,000 years. Layden confirms this, stating that they had special powers they used to protect the continent. He then gives an example, the divine moon that stood for summer, which had a core of red energy. Inside it, flames flow with a bright light, a strong energy that burns without any real red fire. This special quality is well known, showing its magical nature. It is said that these flames never go out. Layden then changes the subject, saying that if you go into the deep sea of Alamanca, you can also find something like this. He quickly clarifies, looking serious, that this is not a joke. The professor's words make it clear, if any living thing entered the home of Alamanca, the king of the seas, it would die right away. He continued his lecture, delving deeper into the world's ancient lore, presenting a visual of Levian's coast. A massive whirlpool had recently emerged there, now under the control of the deep-sea mage of the Blue Winter. The professor considered the unusual events that might unfold if all the divine moons were to awaken together, then asked, the miracle? Pausing thoughtfully, that's. Before concluding, no one knows, as he referenced his research. He clarified that these moons had been dormant for 1,000 years, a point his student agreed with. However, awakening divine moons was not a straightforward task within the game. A reality our hero understood firsthand, having only managed to find 5 of them through special, time-limited events. And he acknowledged that this achievement was largely due to information shared by other players. He felt certain that no other players had managed to encounter more of them than he had. If his assumptions were correct, then the game's true nature was about to be revealed. These 12 divine moons likely held the key to the true ending, a secret that had remained hidden from all players. If no one had managed to reach the true ending in the last 10 years, then the solution would not be found through conventional means. The answer must be hidden within content that no one had yet acquired, and he had only encountered 5 of them himself. Having risked his life on numerous occasions, he understood that only one course of action remained. He had no alternative if he wished to witness the true ending, the ultimate secret of this world. He would simply have to repeat the process, overcoming every challenge until he uncovered the truth. Suddenly, a burst of intense flame erupted, moving through the air with significant force. The attack moved with extreme speed, a fiery streak directed at an unseen target. In a grand hall, Layden observed the demonstration, noting that strength alone was not enough, while Bayan prepared her next action. With her eyes glowing with intense red energy, Bayan launched another fiery assault, stating that regardless of an attack's power, it served no purpose if it failed to connect with the opponent. She unleashes a torrent of blazing energy, moving with incredible speed as her fiery assault closes in on the target, her crimson eyes igniting with an intense glow. With a decisive motion, she channels the Inferno, conjuring a colossal column of fire that erupts from her outstretched hand. The searing pillar slams into its mark, a violent impact sending shockwaves and debris scattering, culminating in a blinding explosion that momentarily fills the air with light and heat. Even from a distance, the sheer force of the blast causes Layden to recoil, shielding himself from the intense heat and energy. As the flames begin to dissipate, she stands amidst the fading inferno, her gaze unwavering. The crimson glow in her eyes slowly recedes, leaving behind only the lingering echoes of power. Where the target once stood, a charred silhouette remains, smoking and barely holding its form. With a final crack, the heavily damaged training dummy begins to crumble. Its head, now a fractured mess, disintegrates completely, leaving no doubt about the power of the demonstration. The immense magical energy from Bayan's spell began to dissipate, swirling around her in a vibrant golden haze. Her red eyes glowed intensely, reflecting the raw power she had just unleashed, as a thought crossed her mind, wondering, how terrible. The golden light continued to fade, revealing her standing amidst the lingering magical particles, a testament to the spell's devastating force. She remained, bathed in the last vestiges of the light, her gaze cast downward, contemplating the aftermath. In a large, ornate hall, Flame stands by herself, a lone figure surrounded by high ceilings and arched windows. Elsewhere, Bayan's face shows a clear sense of regret, her thoughts heavy with self-blame. She thinks to herself that she had shown her mother a scary face once more. The thought of her mother's reaction weighs on her, believing she must be disappointed. She continues to look down, lost in her worries. Back in the hall, Flame waits patiently, looking forward with a calm expression. Her long hair falls down her back, a bright color against the old stone walls. Finally, Bayan looks up, showing concern, and asks if the other person is okay. Soon after, the two girls are sitting on a stone bench. Flame looks at Bayan, who keeps her gaze down, lost in thought. Bayan, still troubled, looks at Flame with admiration, calling her an amazing princess, her voice softening as she speaks. She continues, noting that Flame used the same magic as her, but it was significantly more powerful. Her own attempts, she admits, were so weak that she couldn't even aim correctly. A small sound of embarrassment escapes her as she remembers how impressive Flame's magic was. Flame, observing with a gentle smile, listens as Bayan explains that she had heard about her since childhood, jokingly referring to her as a celebrity. Bayan then changes the subject, asking if the powerful fire mage they are talking about is named Erswang. Flame's expression remains calm as she responds, that she believes she has heard of her before. Indeed, rumors describe a new, highly talented individual with fire magic, a powerful genius who has recently emerged, her abilities shining brightly. This talented individual, Erswang, is seen standing among intense flames, her presence seemingly controlling the fire around her. Flame, however, appears surprised by how widely known this information is, believing her own magic was still a secret, then modestly suggests it must be due to Bayan's own impressive nature. Bayan offers a warm, encouraging smile, her eyes showing sincere belief. She reassures Flame that with more practice, even Erswang would not be able to compare to her. Following their previous discussion, Bayan shares a quiet moment with Erswang, who gently tells her, "Enough with the kissing," before adding, "But speaking with you always makes me feel better." With a gentle expression, Erswang bids her farewell, saying, "Goodbye." As Erswang begins to depart, Bayan quietly echoes her sentiment, whispering goodbye to herself. The red-haired woman continues her departure, her figure growing smaller. Her ornate capelet moves gently as she walks, a last detail of her formal wear. However, before she is completely out of sight, Erswang turns her head, a slight blush visible and her eyes softly glowing, leaving a quiet impression. Finally, with a last movement of her elaborate clothing, she disappears from view. The view changes to a large, impressive castle, its tall towers silhouetted against the evening sky, suggesting a different environment. Inside a simple room, a potted plant sits on a shelf, with a soft ta sound. A quiet phew is heard, a sound of relief in the otherwise silent room. Bayan, now wearing a student uniform, stands by herself, her shoulders drooping, a deep sadness visible on her face. Her eyes, typically bright, are now lowered and filled with sadness, the impact of her recent goodbye clearly affecting her. After the emotional farewell, Bayan finds herself in a new, opulent setting, as a figure in a crisp uniform stands ready to serve. With a polite bow, the guard offers a simple, yet formal, welcome. This is Ye Terran, Bayan's exclusive guard, her presence a stark contrast to the recent solitude. Soon, a delicate tea set is presented, Terran offering both a drink and some candy to her charge. Terran remains attentive, her posture impeccable as she waits for further instruction or conversation. As they settle into conversation, Terran explains that the staff had been dismissed and a new person was expected, to which Bayan simply responds with a questioning yeah. However, a flicker of concern crosses Bayan's face as she admits, there's something slightly questionable about the situation. Terran listens intently, her expression prompting Bayan to elaborate further. The guard then shares a piece of unsettling lore, revealing that staves are known to continuously drain their owner's mana. Bayan's eyes widen in alarm, her fingers instinctively touching her own staff, a silent question forming on her lips. She asks about the nature of this demonic tool, to which Terran cryptically replies that it's a bit different this time, hinting at a unique and potentially dangerous artifact. She couldn't believe it, a staff that was supposed to be in resonance with nature's energy. The idea was to take the staff's mana and replenish it with nature's mana. Her guard then asked, why was such a staff considered middle-high class? The guard explained, that's precisely why it was simply a middle-high class item. Bayan, looking surprised, asked for clarification, as its mana-draining ability typically downgraded a staff by one class. The guard explained that because it sucked in mana just by holding it, it was downscaled to a middle-high class. Looking at the staff, Bayan wondered, how could such an item be considered high class? Her guard, deep in thought, wondered, how could a student wield that? Bayan admitted her confusion, knowing that it wasn't there for them to resonate with in the first place. Her guard then suggested that Professor Lee hadn't said anything because he didn't know it had been given to them, and then asked if Bayan thought a demonic tool was a bit different this time. Bayan, still thinking, confessed she didn't get it, but was sure it contained some things. A small gasp escaped her, as the conversation left her feeling uneasy. A thought passes, recognizing something distinct. The view transitions to the academy's arched windows, illuminated by the gentle light of dusk. The clear blue sky above suggests time is passing, ushering in a new period of study. A few days after the official start of the semester, students are now engaged in their classes. Inside a classroom, a professor addresses his students, preparing to teach them. He explains that attack magic refers to spells that deal damage, differentiating it from other types of magic. This is why mana orbitology, as Professor Kasim states, is a mandatory class. Stella, a student, listens as Kasim explains that from today onwards, their lessons will focus on PvP battles. He clarifies that they will learn orbitology with a focus on shooting and target practice, crucial for accuracy. He taps the chalk against the blackboard, starting to write out the concepts. He then asks the class if they are ready to discuss the orbital formula. A complex problem appears on the blackboard, determining the mana and angle required to hit a target moving 700 meters away, a task for a skilled magic hunter. Professor Kasim continued his lecture, explaining the complex nature of mana attributes to the students. He explained, of all the attributes, it's fire, and the students reacted with murmurs and slight discomfort. Stella, looking puzzled, thought that if one wasn't a water attribute mage, they couldn't answer the question, and wondered if the professor was simply trying to annoy them. Beck Uziel, however, found the lecture uninteresting, letting out a small yawn and thinking it was quite boring. The professor's attention was drawn to him, and he looked directly at Beck Uziel. Professor Kasim then instructed, "Student Beck Uziel, please stand up and answer." Uziel stood up, realizing he had been noticed. A short time later, the scene shifted. Beck Uziel stood at the blackboard, having finished writing the solution, and stated, "All done." Professor Kasim looked on in surprise, clearly impressed by the completed work. He turned to Beck Uziel, his expression showing clear admiration. The professor complimented him. "Good job, you did it quite easily. To be able to manage the reincarnation of mana," he said, clearly impressed. He then asked Beck Uziel, "Is your first major off the water attribute?" Uziel simply answered, "Nope." Professor Kasim, having observed Beck Uziel's unexpected solution, concludes the mana orbitology class, stating that the remaining questions will be discussed in the next session. Meanwhile, Stella, still processing the events, stands observing, her expression reflecting a mix of surprise and contemplation. As students begin to leave the classroom, she and another student proceed towards the doorway, the sound of their footsteps echoing softly. However, before she can exit, a voice addresses her, as Beck Uziel says, "Excuse me." The blue-haired student turns, a slight gasp indicating her surprise at being addressed. She holds a book close to her chest, her eyes briefly lowering as she processes the unexpected interaction. Her light blue eyes, however, soon meet his gaze, awaiting his next words. Meeting her gaze directly, he states, "I have a question for you." A system interface for Magic Academy X Heroes Blinded appears, showing a current level of 19, with options for skills, items, and quests. Then transitions to a quiet, sunlit room. Inside, Ma Yuziong stands, looking down thoughtfully, a contemplative expression on his face. Aralit, with her light blue hair, turns to him, asking if he has something to ask. She waits for his response, her stance attentive. He had been watching Beck Uziel, and through his observations, he had determined the reason for his abilities, a reason unrelated to his grades. Regardless of his grades, Uziel was undeniably smart, possessing a keen intellect. His intelligence was comparable to even the top-ranked students, a fact that was now evident. Ma Yuziong finally speaks, his voice firm, announcing that the task is finished as he points to a complex problem on a blackboard. Aralit's eyes widen in disbelief, her mouth open as she looks at the solution, exclaiming, "No way." The question's difficulty, clearly university or even professor level, leaves her stunned as she tries to understand how it was solved. The blackboard is covered in intricate equations and symbols, showing the profound intellectual challenge that was just solved. Still processing the information, Aralit considers Beck Uziel's true nature, even if it means admitting that someone else might be more important than her. Meanwhile, Beck Uziel, lost in thought, confirms a suspicion, believing his first impression of the situation was accurate. Ma Yuziong, watching the situation, concludes that the protagonist's actions are not random, but part of a planned course registration strategy. If that is true, the consequences are significant. Aralit, still thinking about her studies, asks about the next step, inquiring about her next class. Ma Yuziong, curious about her sudden interest, asks for more information, wanting to know what she is so interested in. Meanwhile, Beck Uziel continues his careful research, looking through different class options on his device. A hint of surprise appears on his face as he takes in new information, his forehead showing a slight frown. His expression changes to one of slight worry, a quiet sign that something unexpected has happened. Back with the others, Ma Yuziong asks Aerolite again, wanting to know why she wants to be in the protagonist's class so much. She replies that if she misses it, they will have to cut more. Baek Yuziel, still focused on his device, thinks about his own situation, wondering what he, as an adult, should do. His research shows a pattern. All the classes he is taking are known for being easy to pass. Aerolite, with a determined expression, addresses him directly, stating, "I'll ask you straight up." She continues to press him, her question hanging in the air. "That's strategic. Where did you?" "Because this is pretty important to me," she emphasizes, while he, seemingly caught off guard, wonders what she intends to ask. He attempts to deflect her seriousness with a light laugh, asking, "Haha, what do you mean? It's not a coincidence." Without waiting for a reply, he declares, "I'm going to head out," prompting her surprised exclamation, "What?" He turns and walks away, his movements swift and decisive. A sound of frustration, escapes her as she watches him depart. Her hand extends, reaching out to grasp him, unwilling to let him leave. "Please, wait up," she calls out, her voice conveying a sense of urgency. His steps halt, and he turns his head slightly to look back at her. She catches his arm, insisting, "Hold on a second," to which he responds with exasperation, "What the? Why do you follow me?" Looking down at her, he dismisses her request, advising, "Go learn that from someone else. There are lots of smart people here." She attempts to speak, her expression showing her exasperation, but her words are cut short. Baek Yuziel, however, dismisses her concerns, stating that his choice of the Dying Moon Class 1 is inconsequential to him, as it will not impact his personal standing. He clarifies that registering for other classes would negatively affect his grade, as the grading system appears to be based on a curve. She continues to ponder the situation, considering how his choices might affect her own academic standing, especially concerning her scholarship. Baek Yuziel, seemingly aware of the broader narrative, comments on the perceived unfairness of the situation, but states that his story is not limited to a single female character. The topic of discussion changes, moving on from the previous points. Aerolite, still seeking information, asks if he could explain the strategy behind Class 1, and if there's anything that could persuade him to elaborate. His reply is an odd tangent, stating that he finds it unusual, as his own reflection typically helps him alleviate stress. Aerolite reacts with a disbelieving sound, clearly taken aback by his statement. Regaining her composure, she shifts her approach, informing him that she has prepared some form of compensation, and repeats the word, emphasizing her offer. Baek Yuziel, however, appears unenthused, questioning why the conversation began in the first place, if compensation was the ultimate goal. The narrative then shifts to a new, intriguing question, inquiring about knowledge of the ghost story of the Seventh Tower. Baek Yuziel's expression shifts to one of confusion as he considers the new information. A brief silence follows, as he continues to think. He then asks, with a tone of surprise, if that many people really disappeared. Aerolite confirms the details, stating that it was an abandoned building that later disappeared. In addition to its disappearance, there are now many barriers preventing people from getting close to the tower's former location, but there is still more to know. Aerolite, noticing his reaction, apologizes for the information. Baek Yuziel's expression shows his distress, as he asks if everything is truly all right, feeling overwhelmed. He holds his head, processing the details, and acknowledges that this is very important information. It is understood that if Flame can use the Mage Tower's ghost story to offer protection, she could receive a large amount of compensation. This information is vital for the protagonist, serving as a significant clue. Since Flame knows this, it suggests that Acel, the heroine of the original novel, also knew it, and Aerolite is expected to share this information. Ultimately, this important information is meant for the male protagonist. In a bright, green environment, Aerolite holds a book, appearing ready to share some important information. He listens as she dismisses the ghost story of the Seventh Tower as too scary and uninteresting for someone like her, not just an extra, but her expression suggests there's more to her words as she speaks to Baek Yuziel. He had thought she was afraid of ghosts, but Aerolite quickly explains that it's not fear, but rather that her mind is free to change, and she will tell him the story without charge. A thoughtful expression crosses his face as Baek Yuziel considers her words, understanding that her offer holds more significance than it first appears. With firm resolve, Aerolite states that it is enough that Acel, her true self, sincerely wishes to give him something, her eyes showing a quiet determination. Holding the book tightly, her expression remains serious, the importance of the information she possesses clearly visible. She explains that even though this information might not affect his grades, it will be very useful, and then reveals that the meditation room will appear in his liberal arts class. With a final, important statement, Aerolite concludes, telling him to think of the meditation room as part of his liberal arts class. Still processing the information about the meditation room, Baek Yuziel is asked about his involvement in Divine Moon studies and cultivation, to which he promptly denies any participation. Struggling to explain his situation, he remembers his master, who was a bishop. Through meditation alone, she could control her magic power, a concept that seems surprising. Aerolite nods, indicating she understands, her expression calm. The full extent of this power is not yet known. Despite the unknowns, through meditation, his master became a high-ranking bishop. While powerful magic often comes from complex formulas, mana ultimately comes from one's mind. This energy is emitted from the mind. Arlette leans in and winks, telling him she doesn't usually share this information, but he's an exception because she finds him pretty cute. He looks confused, remembering that she had called him ugly earlier. A slight blush appears on her face as she looks away, a little embarrassed. Despite her teasing, he thanks her and says it's a shame it's not a graded class, but he will register for it anyway. He considers the implications of her words, a simple declaration of whatever you want echoing in his mind. As they walk away from their conversation, a subtle sound of movement accompanies them. He glances back, a flicker of thought crossing his features. A soft sound of his steps punctuates his internal monologue, as he admits to himself that he actually told her something significant. His expression shifts to one of deep contemplation, confessing that it scares him a little to think about how this could change the future. Meanwhile, Arlette, surrounded by a vibrant red aura of determination, vows that if she just learns her skill, she'll be the best in her year, confident that she will become a great mage and live her life well. His thoughts return to the young woman, musing that it would be nice if meditation was a good fit for her. Suddenly, his eyes widen in a flash of realization, a new thought striking him with unexpected force. He brings a hand to his chin, pondering, wondering if it isn't a bit weird, now that he thinks about it, why he didn't consider training her himself. His gaze sharpens with renewed purpose, recalling how the Beck Uziel in the game trained his body strictly, a memory that now holds new meaning. His magic revelation delay physique awakens, growing immensely. And he reflects that in the game, experience was gained with a simple button press, but now he can achieve it directly. He considers how quiet things have been lately, with no new events or monster hunts, which has limited his ability to gain experience. A thought crosses his mind that he should be grateful to Acel. Beck Uziel had previously focused only on player-versus-player combat, ignoring the story of his world, but now the entire lore has become complicated. Walking through the hallways of Stella Academy, he notes that the dormitories are quite large. At Stella, all students live in the dorms, a system that was meant to be convenient and comfortable, allowing students to decorate their rooms for fun, but for Beck Uziel, this is now his only home, as his village was burned down. His simple dorm room, though the same size as others, marks a new beginning for him. The dorms are organized by class, and the number of students in each room changes based on their class, with the S classes getting the top floors to themselves. He sits on the floor, letting out a quiet sigh. He feels a bit lonely, but he is finally ready to use his skills for something good. Taking a deep breath, he gets ready for what's next. With a determined look, he states, "Then, I'll start." He sits, ready, his mind already thinking about plans. A new thought comes to him, a new belief for his journey. Stats aren't the most important thing. With a determined look, he realizes that since this is reality, he must get used to his new body. He remembers that in the game, Beck Uziel was a genius who could create sword aura. His sword would glow with a golden light, showing his great skill. Now he focuses on how mana is always moving in and out of him. No one else paid attention to it, but he knew its importance. This understanding allowed Beck Uziel, the genius, to become the best swordsman. Now, he needs to make his body remember that skill again. He focuses on his breathing, feeling the energy flow. He realizes that if he can slowly increase this, he will get stronger. He understands that skills don't just level up by getting experience. Instead, it means that all he needs to do is train. The steady tick of a clock marks the passage of time in the quiet room, as sunlight filters gently through a tall window. A soft, golden luminescence begins to emanate from Beck Uziel, who stands with his head bowed, deep in thought, the clock's quiet insistence a backdrop to his internal process. Suddenly, his eyes open wide, now glowing with an intense, golden light. A wave of realization washing over him. This world system is precisely like the game he once mastered. He then assumes a cross-legged position, enveloped in a vibrant, golden aura. His hands extended as if to grasp an invisible force, recalling his early acceptance of the Mana League syndrome. The golden energy around his palms intensifies, and he can distinctly perceive its faint yet undeniable presence. The light around him flares, radiating outwards in a powerful surge. As a system message appears, confirming that his mana sense has leveled up, his expression now one of determined focus. His mana sense has just leveled up, confirming his unique understanding of this world's game-like mechanics. With this new development, a new chapter begins, signaling a fresh start. Beck Uziel, his eyes gleaming with determination, knows he is one step closer to his goal. A subtle tremor runs through his hand, a physical manifestation of the power now coursing through him. He clenches his fist, his resolve hardening as he vows. He will find the true ending, no matter what. The story then shifts, introducing the next arc, the Magic School Entrance Genius. This new segment, Episode 20, hints at the unfolding adventures of Beck Uziel and Stella. As the world around them blossoms with new life, a sense of growth and potential permeates the air. Footsteps rustle through tall grass, leading the way to an unknown destination. A grand field trip unfolds, a tradition set up on the academy campus, bringing together a diverse assembly of students and faculty, including Stella, Bayan, Aralit, Jeremy Goldwyn, Uslek, Kyle, Ayers Huang, Ma Yuziong, Yil, Flame, Ye Taran, the Hooded Mage, Dr. Gran, Li Hanwheel, Laid In, Kasim, Uziel's mother, and General Uziel. Their destination is the Stella Dome, a large-scale dimension set up on the academy campus. Within its confines, they can freely manipulate the size of the place, as well as the terrain and the monsters that appear. The Stella Dome, a large crystalline structure, serves as the venue for all sports events and battle training. Within its expansive confines, dungeons, gates, and monster training are all conducted, making it a crucial facility for the academy, a fact Beck Uziel seems to acknowledge as he looks on. Elsewhere, a student holds a glowing device, its display showing a crucial piece of information: the total number of students in Class 2. A large group of students, dressed in their uniforms, assembles on the grassy field, preparing for the upcoming activities. Flame, with a pensive look, reflects, "I've only concerned myself with player versus player combat, and not the stories so far, but the entire lore has become complicated. Is this acceptable?" Uslek stands among the students, with Kyle and others positioned behind him, while the total count for their class is noted as 44 people. Stella, Bayan, and Ayers Huang are also among the students, contributing to the overall count. There are 50 students from Class 1, but if the original novel stated 39 for Class 2, then the current number is different. Her thoughts persist, a feeling of unease settling in, as she had anticipated a total of 40 students, including herself. Her eyes emit a subtle violet glow as she comprehends, but to think another person was added. Ma Yuziong, with a serious expression, articulates the question many are likely pondering: where did Beck Uziel originate from? A framed portrait of Beck Uziel, shown in formal attire, accompanies Flame's internal clarification. In the original novel, Class 2 had approximately 40 students, and with her inclusion, the total became 41. The surprising truth becomes clear to her. Beck Uziel was also a character in the original novel, a fact that changes her perception of the narrative. She struggles with the new information, her thoughts racing as she attempts to understand the discrepancy in the story. Her previous understanding of the story is now broken, making her question everything she thought she knew about this world. Elsewhere, a close-up on an academy uniform, decorated with gold, shows the high status of its owner. With the lesson about to start, she walks through the academy, still thinking deeply. A voice interrupts her thoughts, asking if she has registered for the field trip. Jeremy Goldwyn stands in front of her with other students, confirming his registration with a smile. His face lights up with excitement, looking forward to the trip. A bright smile appears on his face, surrounded by golden light and flowers, suggesting a hidden side to his charming look. As they walk, it is revealed that Prince Jeremy was an important character in the original story. The text confirms his name as Prince Jeremy, a name important to the story. In the original story, he was obsessed with Aralit, but she rejected him. This rejection led him down a dark path, making him a powerful villain by the end of the story. A sudden shift in perspective occurs. As Flame, processing recent revelations, observes Jeremy Goldwyn from afar, noting his calculated demeanor. He appears pleasant, yet his actions seem carefully planned, requiring her to remain vigilant. Jeremy, seemingly unaware of her gaze, offers a pleasant smile, his blonde hair catching the light. Yet a faint, internal glow surrounds him, suggesting a hidden power beneath his calm exterior. Flame maintains her observation, as the gravity of her circumstances becomes clearer. She recognizes his strong presence, understanding why he is so admired. Jeremy Goldwyn is undeniably the most noticeable student in the school, drawing all eyes even when others are present. Turning away, she resolves to compose herself, recognizing the need for clarity. With firm steps, she departs, a new resolve guiding her, as this world is now her reality, and she must prepare for what lies ahead. Meanwhile, Jeremy, still exuding charm, looks towards the other student, his expression neutral. A subtle smile touches his lips, a hint of something concealed beneath his composed appearance. As Flame continues to walk away, a voice, or perhaps a thought, follows her, uttering a single name: Flame. A clear command for attention echoes through the space, gathering the students' focus. Professor Li Hanwheel, with a steady demeanor, begins to outline the upcoming session, stating that they will commence with basic training before advancing to the dungeon for their examination. He stresses the importance of understanding their individual skill levels, requiring a thorough evaluation to provide appropriate guidance. With a clear tone, he announces that he will be the sole director of this training, and any objections should remain unvoiced. As they are already aware, he reminds them, the professors possess the authority to both award and deduct points. The consequences are significant, as falling below a specified number of points will lead to expulsion. With the preliminary information conveyed, he changes his focus, declaring that the specifics of the training will now be explained. Their assignment, he discloses, will involve a mock dungeon training exercise. To thoroughly assess them, he will utilize phenomena encountered in genuine dungeons, such as traps and various monsters. While he speaks, luminous blue crystalline formations appear, serving as visual examples of the magical phenomena they could face. These are swiftly replaced by bright green, glowing orbs, suggesting the varied and hazardous elements that lie ahead. For each challenge successfully completed, for every monster vanquished, they will accumulate points, symbolized by the point stick. Continuing his address to the students, he then added a serious warning that students who accumulated 0 points would have their points taken away, implying a severe penalty. Among the students, Flame listened carefully as the professor continued, clarifying that failing or using an ICBM would result in the loss of their team's points. He then outlined a competitive aspect, stating that if a student managed to eliminate another, they would earn all of that student's points. With the rules now clear, the students stood together, awaiting the start of the training. A voice then offered a simple, "That's it, good luck," as the training was about to commence. The open, grassy field stretched out, seemingly peaceful and uneventful. Suddenly, the ground began to shake, causing a student to exclaim, "Ugh, what?" in surprise. A heavy thud resonated, and the ground beneath them started to collapse, prompting a panicked thought. The ground is. Large cracks rapidly spread across the surface, the sound of the earth breaking apart filling the air. Amidst the chaos, Beck Uziel let out a cry as he lost his balance and began to fall into the collapsing ground. The ground continued to fracture and collapse, creating a wider and deeper chasm. After her sudden fall, Flame lands in a dense, rain-soaked forest, her expression one of profound shock as she surveys her surroundings. Above her, a massive, ancient tree with intertwining roots stretches towards a brilliant, golden light, accompanied by a low, rumbling sound. A moment of recognition dawns on her, and she murmurs, identifying the fantastical setting as the Jack and the Beanstalk map. The Magic Academy's Sense Blinder system activates, showing Beck Uziel's profile and current rank. As the digital interface fades, the students find themselves on a green, overgrown path, where the air smells of damp earth and old magic, a different setting from the academy. Groups of students gather, their uniforms standing out against the wild background, each getting ready for their training. Among them, Beck Uziel walks with a calm focus, looking straight ahead with a quiet resolve. A familiar voice interrupts his thoughts, and he gives a simple, positive reply. Turning back to him, Flame, holding her staff, says she will also go. Her name is spoken. As they walk together, she asks an important question, her worry clear. He acknowledges her, using her nickname, a short moment of friendship before the training begins. Inside, Beck Uziel thinks about his choices, knowing that teamwork is safer, but he can earn more points by working alone. With a determined look, he makes his choice, deciding to go alone for this training. As he stands firm in his decision, a concerned voice cuts through the forest's quiet, asking if he truly understands the risks of distinguishing teammates from monsters. Her tone, laced with a hint of sarcasm, suggests a deeper worry, as she offers to accompany him, a gesture he gently declines. With a simple okay, he acknowledges her concern, his resolve unwavering. Turning away, the young woman begins to walk deeper into the woods, leaving him to his solitary path. A final glance over her shoulder reveals her lingering worry, a quiet thought escaping her lips about whether her imagination is playing tricks on her, or if he's truly mocking her. She mutters to herself, a faint hope that her concerns are unfounded. Left alone, he simply sighs, acknowledging her departure as merely a temporary pause in his journey. An hour later, the young woman is still pushing through the dense foliage, her form a blur of motion as she races through the forest. Her expression remains etched with concern, a quiet thought escaping her lips about the exhausting nature of her current situation. Still moving through the dense training grounds, she wonders when this practical training will finally end. She remains focused, moving through the tall plants. A bright blue aura surrounding her as she uses her magic. She swiftly collects another point, observing her progress, 18 points. The large plants create a challenging environment, a labyrinth she must navigate, realizing she must contend not only with monsters, but also the field's attacks. Her current score isn't bad, but the difference between her and others feels significant, a difference that could be closed with a single point stick. With renewed resolve, she knows she must keep moving, her gaze firm as she continues deeper into the training grounds. Within the dense forest, where sunlight filtered through the leaves, a subtle disturbance was detected, a presence that seemed out of place. As the energy signature grew stronger, it became clear this was not merely a monster, but something more significant. A figure emerged from the bright light, their form silhouetted against the radiant glow, confirming the unexpected presence. A gasp escaped her lips as she realized this was not an animal, but a person, and she wondered how anyone could have bypassed her stealth. A jolt of surprise ran through her, her eyes widening as the situation became clear, yet she remained calm, knowing her defenses were still active. Considering her own skill with Scene with Nature, a technique that allowed her to perfectly blend with the environment, she found it confusing that anyone could approach without her noticing. Her mind raced, trying to identify the intruder, and then, with sudden clarity, a name came to her. It was Beck Uziel, his profile illuminated by the forest's light, a revelation that left her completely surprised. Still surprised by the unexpected encounter, she questions the situation, wondering if he is truly alone. As she ponders the nature of the person she has found, she remains unsure of his intentions or capabilities. Her gaze then sharpens, focusing intently on her target. Suddenly, a bright yellow orb appears, and she recognizes it as a point stick. Beck Uziel, the young man, holds the glowing stick, confirming her observation. A determined expression crosses her face as she prepares for action, realizing this is the perfect moment. Meanwhile, Uziel, confident in his abilities, decides to try a new tactic. A vibrant green orb, a light caster, materializes before him. Flame, staff in hand, charges forward, her own aura flaring. Uziel closes the distance rapidly, the forest blurring around him. At this range, she knows he will not be able to defend himself effectively. But with a sudden surge of power, a brilliant golden aura erupts around him, propelling him forward with incredible speed. Within the golden glow of the training grounds, Flame began to prepare her magical assault. Her eyes shining brightly as she gathered her power, and then, with a clear command, she launched a light bullet. The golden spell firing from her hands with a brilliant flash, and moving swiftly through the air, its path directly towards her opponent. However, a sudden burst of green energy surrounded Beck Uziel, his eyes narrowing in concentration. As he began to move with remarkable speed, a green blur following him, a powerful surge pushing him forward. He then activated a skill, declaring Ibling, and accelerated rapidly, a powerful green streak across the ground, closing the distance instantly with an undeniable force. The two collided in a massive explosion of golden and green light, leaving Flame momentarily speechless and surprised by the impact. Her expression showing both shock and irritation at the unexpected turn of events. The impact echoed through the training grounds as the two powerful forces met, and Flame, caught off guard, could only manage a surprised sound, her composure briefly broken by the sudden turn of events. The forest echoes with a thunderous impact. As she stands amidst the swirling green energy, her back to the viewer, her eyes widening in disbelief, a tremor running through her hand as she grips her staff, unable to comprehend how her second-class spell could have been so easily avoided from such a distance. Still holding her ground, she remains wary, when suddenly a blinding yellow light erupts, signaling the activation of Ibling. And with another explosive crash, Beck Uziel strikes, enveloped in a vibrant green aura, the force of his attack rippling through the surrounding foliage. Flame, now visibly annoyed, wonders if he is truly trying to kill her, questioning the unexpected light bullet attack. Meanwhile, Beck Uziel glances back, a faint purple aura still clinging to him. Relieved that the mana leakage had increased someone's level, or else he would have been in serious trouble. A skill description for Ibling appears, detailing its Class B ranking, its effects of increasing mana and granting invincibility, and its 30-second cooldown. Ma Yuziang watches from afar, considering his options, believing he could engage the opponent to some degree, but preferring to avoid a direct fight. The air still hums with energy, a bright yellow glow marking the spot of the previous impact. The impact leaves a subtle mark, a soft sound indicating the force that was unleashed. He remains at a safe distance, thinking that it should be acceptable to observe from his current position. With his primary objective clear, he confirms that his aim is to secure 5th place, and therefore, he has no reason to take any risks. A skill called Ethiopic Roots is revealed, detailing its benefits as a reward for reaching 5th place, which include an increase in strength, agility, and health. He continues to ponder, feeling secure in his position, that with his recent achievement of 5th place, he has no reason to be concerned. His attention is suddenly drawn to something in the distance, and he remarks, "Oh, look who it is." He fixes his gaze on the distant figure, his face showing no clear emotion as he observes. After a brief moment of observation, he identifies the person, stating, "It isn't Beck Uziel from the E-class." As the previous events concluded, the figure Ma Yuziang had been watching became clear, revealing Jeremy Goldone, standing among other students with a confident expression. A brief pause followed, a moment of quiet before the next event. The scene then shifted to Kyle, whose eyes widened slightly as he took in the sight, a single word leaving him, "He's." A young man stands alone in a lush forest, sunlight filtering through the trees. He appears thoughtful, his eyes holding a distant look. This is Raiden, a student who has recently become well-known at school, gaining a reputation among his peers. Soon, 2 other students join him, their similar uniforms indicating they belong to the same group. These are Uslek and Jeremy Goldone, known members of a particular group, often considered less influential within the school. Raiden walks forward with purpose, his eyes showing clear intent. He stops, a small frown on his face, as if something has drawn his notice. A golden light appears in his hand, showing a small, bright object he holds. The 3 stand together, their grouping observed by someone unseen, who comments on the interesting people Raiden has gathered around him, despite their reputation. A student observes that a commoner has managed to enter the C-class, noting that this achievement would require over 500 points, and that Stella had called him a genius. The discussion continues, with one student asking if others are also trying to achieve the same thing, noting their stubbornness. He has indeed been trying, his expression showing determination. Elsewhere, Jeremy Goldone, Uslek, and Raiden smile together, as one of them mentions having received a point stick. The comment about the commoner's genius is repeated, referencing Stella's assessment. One of the students reacts with surprise, then asks if the other is interested. The student holds a pen, his mouth slightly open, as if about to speak or make a choice. Jeremy Goldwan, Uslek, and Raiden smile again, with one of them saying, "Thank you, can face us again." The student walks away, stating, "Don't wanna," leaving the others in silence. Jeremy Goldwan then asks, "Are you doing this because you want to enter the S class? You can't enter S class, much less the A class," expressing doubt. Deep in thought, the student wonders, what should I do?" The narration reveals the protagonist of this world, Beck Uziel, standing with Jeremy Goldwan, Uslek, and Raiden behind him. He considers his current standing, wondering if he could have achieved 3 ranks, yet a crucial variable remains in his grasp. This variable, a glowing golden object, is the point stick now held firmly in his hand, a realization that dawns on him with sudden clarity. And the shocking truth is that this very location, this lush forest, is in fact a dangerous dungeon. Meanwhile, deep within the same verdant expanse, Jeremy Goldwan, Uslek, and Raiden stand together, their gazes fixed on something unseen. The golden point stick, now radiating a soft, inviting glow, becomes the focal point. Jeremy, now holding the luminous artifact, studies it with a thoughtful expression, a quiet escaping his lips. His thoughts quickly turn to the potential of the item, a surge of ambition fueling his next move. A wide, almost maniacal grin spreads across Jeremy's face, his eyes gleaming with newfound power, as Uslek and Raiden watch his transformation unfold. A brilliant golden aura erupts around Jeremy, crackling with raw energy, his determination now absolute. The golden light intensifies around Jeremy, while Uslek, standing beside him, also begins to glow with a vibrant blue aura, both ready for whatever comes next. Raiden, witnessing the sudden surge of power from his companions, lets out a surprised gasp. With a wide, confident grin, Jeremy focuses intently on the now brilliantly glowing point stick, its light reflecting in his determined eyes. As the power of the point stick flows through him, Uslek is surrounded by a bright blue aura, his eyes reflecting the intense energy. Meanwhile, Raiden, seeing the sudden burst of power, shouts in frustration as the situation quickly gets out of hand. The moment weighs heavily on him, as he realizes their challenge has completely failed. Overwhelmed by what happened, he falls through the air, a quick movement against the bright magical energy. But Uslek stays calm, his blue aura still bright as he looks down, a small smile on his face. Raiden, however, quickly stands up again, his strong will showing as he promises to set up another plan, not giving up. Meanwhile, Jeremy Goldwan, who caused all this trouble, runs through the sunny forest, holding the point stick tightly, with a soft golden light following him. A sudden sound is heard, and Raiden's eyes grow wide with worry, understanding how far Jeremy has gotten. Jeremy keeps running quickly, moving between the old trees, the ground a blur under his feet. Finally, he slows down to catch his breath, a small smile on his face as he thinks about the danger he just went through. With a happy laugh, he proudly shows off the point stick, its golden light making his playful smile even brighter. But his victory doesn't last long, as Raiden and 2 others appear, their angry shouts filling the air, telling him to give back the powerful item. These point sticks are highly efficient, making them desirable. Jeremy Goldwan, holding one, had learned this information confidentially, while other players were still engaged in the game. These point sticks were, in fact, a bug item, a flaw in the system. Their high durability prevented them from being destroyed by student magic, and they had the strength of most magic tools. Although more helpful for those who used magic, they were also powerful for those who weren't physically strong. A weapon with strong attack power could be used to its full potential, 100%. However, Jeremy's moment was interrupted as Raiden and another student confronted him, demanding to know why he took their point stick. Surprised, Jeremy exclaimed, then turned and fled, with the 2 students pursuing him. Jeremy Goldwan ran through the forest, a green magical aura around him, while the students behind him urged each other to catch him quickly. The chase continued, with Jeremy running through the trees and his pursuers gaining on him. Jeremy cursed internally, frustrated that the dungeon's appearance was making his escape difficult. Behind him, Raiden commanded his companion, telling everyone to use their magic and not lose the person they were chasing. Barely keeping his lead, he looks back, feeling the rush of adrenaline as the chase becomes more intense. A frustrated shout comes from behind him, asking where he is going, but he has no plan to stop. Suddenly, a bright blue light appears around him, a skill he uses to escape, just as a message on his screen announces that a dungeon has appeared. With a last burst of glowing particles, he disappears entirely, leaving only a fading blue light behind him. His pursuers look on in shock, one of them saying that their target is better than they thought. Raiden curses, annoyed by the sudden escape, wishing for another chance to hit him. The blonde student asks where he went, while Raiden says the target is too fast to find. But the blonde student's eyes show new determination, as his many years of PvP experience mean he is good at using the environment to help him. Raiden, still angry, repeats their goal, they just need to hit him once. Suddenly, the blonde student points, showing Raiden the large dungeon that has appeared in the distance. Calming his friend, Raiden says their A-class rank is strong enough, deciding they will wait for the ground to settle before going into the dungeon to keep chasing their target. As Raiden's magic surged, Jeremy Gold won, now with green hair and glowing yellow eyes, braced himself, a green aura flaring around him to meet the incoming assault. Unleashing a torrent of arcane energy, Raiden pressed his attack, his eyes glowing with determination as purple and blue magic erupted from his hands, aiming directly for his target. The impact sent Jeremy Gold reeling, his body contorting under the force of the spell, magical effects crackling around him. From a distance, Raiden and his blonde companion watched the unfolding chaos, the blonde student letting out a small gasp as the battle intensified. Refusing to yield, Raiden channeled even more power, a brilliant blue aura engulfing his arm as he prepared a follow-up spell, crackling with energy. But before his attack could land, a sudden, unseen force erupted, blasting Raiden backward with explosive power, his blue magic dissipating into thin air as he cried out in shock. A shimmering blue magic circle, pulsating with immense energy, materialized around Jeremy Goldwyn, a powerful barrier or teleportation spell activating with a resounding hum. The counterspell exploded outwards, engulfing Raiden in a blinding flash of blue light and crackling lightning, sending him flying through the air. Overwhelmed by the sheer force, he was utterly consumed by the brilliant magical discharge, unable to resist its power. Finally, the magic subsided, leaving Raiden sprawled on the forest floor, defeated and groaning in pain, the escape complete. His blonde companion, looking down at the fallen Raiden, could only utter a frustrated sigh, realizing their target had once again slipped through their grasp. Raiden, slowly pushing himself up, acknowledged the escape, but his resolve remained unshaken, declaring his intent to continue the pursuit. A bright light suddenly appears. From the light, two golden sticks appear, held by a hand, their surface gleaming. Raiden, now holding the golden sticks, considers their purpose, thinking he should give them as a gift if they are complete, a small question lingering in his mind. His thoughts are interrupted by a sudden realization, and he asks in surprise, "You, when did you?" Looking down at the golden sticks, Raiden demands, "Give that back." A voice from an unseen speaker replies, "Be annoying. That was fun, so I'll be off." Raiden watches as the figure disappears into the lush, magical forest, and he mutters, "Why you?" His face shows a mix of shock and frustration as he processes the escape. Standing in the glowing forest, Raiden sees a faint, blurry figure in the distance and remains silent. The magical forest glows with vibrant energy, its luminous particles dancing in the air, creating a beautiful scene. With a renewed sense of purpose, Raiden stands in the mystical environment, a confident smile on his face as he says, "Hee hee, I struck the jackpot." His expression changes to one of satisfaction, and he remarks, "This is an adult's experience." A soft, ethereal glow emanates, subtly altering the immediate surroundings. And Raiden, standing in a lush, green environment, questions his own perception. But am I just feeling things? He senses a distinct presence, a pull from an unknown source, prompting him to search. I feel something from somewhere? A look of surprise crosses his features, his gaze fixed on the shifting environment, as the lush greenery around him begins to pulse with an unfamiliar energy. Without warning, the environment transforms into a swirling vortex of intense, golden flames, a powerful magical energy manifesting around him. Despite the sudden, overwhelming heat, he steps forward with unwavering determination, his figure silhouetted against the vibrant, fiery backdrop. The intense flames then recede, revealing a deep, crimson void, an ominous darkness that seems to stretch into infinity. Beck Uziel stands in a vibrant, otherworldly landscape, holding a glowing orb. He senses a strange, powerful energy nearby, causing him to wonder where it is coming from. His eyes widen, with a reddish glow reflecting on his face, as the unknown force rapidly grows in intensity. Then, with a bright flash and a loud sound, a large, fiery magical explosion bursts forth. The force of the blast pushes him back, his body briefly overwhelmed by the sudden, strong magic. Sweat forms on his forehead, and he can only stare in disbelief, as the size of the event is much greater than he expected. The magical energy keeps expanding, filling the dark space with a strange, green glow of many particles. With a surprised sound, the fiery explosion grows stronger again, its bright orange and red colors swirling with destructive power. The magical energy reaches its peak, bursting outward with a loud quang sound as it covers the whole area. The peak of the power releases a blinding flash of light and energy, with a deep whoom sound echoing as if the world is breaking apart. As the first shockwave calms down, the remaining energy from the huge explosion fades into shimmering golden lines, leaving a strong, lasting glow. Finding a moment to catch his breath, he looks back at the shimmering air, a quiet few that was close escaping his lips. The magical energy around him subtly pulses, a faint sound accompanying the lingering aftereffects of the explosion he had just avoided, the forest itself seeming to resonate with residual power. He acknowledges the recent danger, quietly stating, "Was almost trouble," his expression remaining serious. Continuing his journey through the mystical woods, his breathing still heavy, a subtle change in the atmosphere causes him to halt. From above, a voice calls out, "Hey, come on," followed by a frustrated question, Why didn't you tell me you were going to run from those monsters? Seeking an explanation for his hasty retreat. He looks up to see a figure descending gracefully from the trees, her long white hair and flowing robes appearing to glow softly, her presence emanating a calm power amidst the forest's glowing particles. Her distinct red eyes meet his, and he recognizes her, a surprised gasp escaping him as he speaks her name, Hong Baiyan, in a tone of astonishment. Baiyan's elegant clothing, featuring a golden bow, suggests her noble or magical background, her descent continuing with smooth movement. As she reaches the ground, Baek Yuziel's thoughts churn, attempting to reconcile her presence with his current situation, a confused question forming in his mind. Who is she now? He attempts to clarify, feeling a misunderstanding, explaining that it wasn't a matter of simply not doing something, but rather, he questions her actions, asking if she hadn't also done something to him in the first place. The ground around them is littered with the bleached bones of creatures, a stark reminder of the recent danger. A look of utter shock crosses his face, his eyes wide with disbelief. He continues, his voice rising in exasperation, warning her that she's biting off more than she can chew by trying to take on all the monsters by herself, even catching her running earlier, demanding to know how she could possibly do that. The white-haired woman stands before him, her gaze unwavering as he confronts her. She responds with an air of undeniable authority, declaring her royal lineage, a statement that hangs heavy in the air. Her challenge is clear, inviting him to approach if he truly understands the implications of her words. His feet remain planted, a silent testament to his resolve. She then offers a surprising proposition, stating that since he'd taken objects from the royal treasury for a ritual, she would support him instead of killing him. His mind reels at her words, a single question echoing in his thoughts. Was he a Highland? She continues, her voice laced with disdain, speaking of him going around with those bastards from the Highlands. He couldn't shake the memory of the accusation, the words echoing in his mind. You didn't even use proper magic, so face them. Meanwhile, deep within a verdant forest, Baiyan moved with a swift, almost ethereal grace, her long, silver hair flowing behind her as she navigated the dense undergrowth. A sense of urgency propelled her forward, a silent mantra repeating in her mind. I need to hurry. If I don't want to get caught by those bastards, I need to hurry and hide. Suddenly, a faint murmur reached her ears, causing her to glance back with sharp, crimson eyes, a whisper of the sound of talking, escaping her lips. Far away, in a completely different setting, Baek Yuziel was in full flight, a desperate scramble as voices shouted behind him. Baek Yuziel's running away. You bastards, where are you going? The sounds of pursuit, the pounding footsteps, were unmistakable, and Baiyan, hearing them, recognized the familiar chaos. That's. Her eyes widened slightly in surprise, a flicker of concern crossing her features, as the commotion grew louder. The forest around her remained still, a stark contrast to the distant uproar, sunlight dappling through the leaves onto the quiet path. Back in the urban chaos, Baek Yuziel continued his desperate sprint, glancing over his shoulder, his expression a mix of confusion and growing alarm. The pursuers were relentless, a determined group identified as Baek Yuziel and Raiden's crew. Baiyan, now holding a small, glowing artifact, pondered her next move, a strategic thought forming. Should I attack? But a more cunning plan quickly took hold, her true intentions revealed. Rather, once the front is clear and the rear is secure, I should take the stick when no one is looking. I'll just take it. A brief, indistinct movement caught the eye. Before a voice, filled with surprise, questioned, What the? Raiden, watching the events unfold, spoke with disdain about his target, calling him that commoner. His frustration grew as he noted the target's repeated use of a single evasive spell, asking, Isn't he using any spell other than blink? Meanwhile, Baek Yuziel was surrounded, a single individual facing a barrage of attacks from multiple opponents, their combined efforts pushing him to his limits. While an observer's thought noted the disparity, they're much weaker than me, but you still grew up as elites in mage families. Baiyan, observing the situation, commented with a touch of irritation, if he's good enough to joke around with those bastards. A quick, focused look from Raiden highlighted the seriousness of the moment. And Baiyan's determination solidified, her voice declaring with fierce intent, I must use my full power to burn him. With a powerful burst of magic, she released a wave of bright, glowing flames, causing the air to crackle, resulting in a powerful explosion that consumed everything in its vicinity, a destructive storm of fire. The massive fire explosion consumed the area, sending Baek Yuziel flying. He found himself reflecting on his past actions, realizing he had focused too much on player versus player combat, and not enough on the story, which now seemed to be in disarray. With a sharp command, Baiyan's hand glowed as she released her magic, causing the fiery explosion to engulf Baek Yuziel completely. Meanwhile, Raiden observed the scene, his expression one of shock at the intensity of the blast. The explosion continued to rage, a powerful display of fire magic. Baek Yuziel let out a surprised cry, as the full force of the explosion hit him. He was thrown through the air, colliding with trees as he was propelled away from the blast. With a pained grunt, he landed hard on the ground. Baiyan observed the aftermath, a slight smirk on her face as red magical particles floated around her. Her eyes glowed with a more intense red, reflecting the power she had used. Baek Uziel stood up in the charred landscape, thinking to himself that as a good person, he would simply overlook the attack. Bayan, still observing, mused to herself that using 2 blinks to dodge was proving difficult. Amidst the intense magical battle, a thought emerged, questioning if there was an alternative solution to the current predicament. However, Bayan, surrounded by her fire magic, remained resolute, stating clearly, "You are not going to take my staff." Below her, Baek Uziel, partially obscured by the heat, questioned her statement, asking, "What are you talking about, your staff?" She responded, "You must have the staff that belongs to you when you do this." She walked with purpose through the intense flames, her staff held securely as she moved closer. A sudden understanding dawned on Baek Uziel, as he said, "Ah yeah, I forgot about that," recalling the staff mentioned in the original novel. He continued his thoughts, reflecting, "I should use that staff anyway, which is why I completely forgot about it." Bayan, however, was not amused by his behavior, her face showing annoyance as she told him, "You are joking, as always." With a quiet flick and a menacing glow in her eyes, she readied herself for another powerful strike. Baek Uziel, surrounded by a determined aura, held his position, stating his readiness to confront the challenge. Bayan's expression grew more serious, and she said in a grave tone, "I don't know about other lovers." Her challenge lingered, as she finished, "But it would be good if we really go all out against me." Before he could fully respond, a loud boom occurred, as a strong red energy blast hit Baek Uziel, causing him to stagger from the impact. Still recovering from the previous attack, Baek Uziel realizes with a jolt that he is unable to use magic. However, before he can fully comprehend his situation, another surge of magical energy strikes, impacting the ground near him with considerable power. Standing above him, Bayan is surrounded by a fiery aura, her eyes locked onto the fallen figure. Glowing particles of magic continue to surround his body, indicating the ongoing effect of the attack. With her eyes glowing red, she declares her intent to end his life. Her hand clenches around the staff, which glows brightly as she channels more power. Suddenly, the air ignites with a furious burst of orange and yellow, as a massive surge of fiery magic erupts, filling the space with intense heat and light. The inferno engulfs the battlefield, pushing Baek Uziel back with raw force, while Bayan stands at its heart, radiating power as she unleashes her devastating spell. With a fierce glint in her eye, she declares her absolute intent, vowing to crush her opponents today with every ounce of her formidable magic. Another wave of fire magic impacts with explosive force, sending glowing particles scattering through the air as the assault continues. The relentless fire magic swirls and intensifies, creating a vortex of pure energy that threatens to consume everything in its path. Caught in the maelstrom, Baek Uziel endures the magical assault, his face contorted in a grimace of pain and desperate effort. The fire magic intensifies once more, striking with renewed, blinding force, each impact sending shockwaves through the air. Overwhelmed by the sheer power, Baek Uziel's eyes widen in shock and strain as he struggles to maintain his composure against the relentless onslaught. The fire magic continues its relentless assault, engulfing the entire space, a blazing inferno that leaves no escape. The intense fire continues to rage, a massive explosion of orange and crimson flames filling the space, a direct continuation of the powerful attack. Despite the raging flames, Baek Uziel stands firm, his determination clear, promising himself that he will be stronger in this moment. Bayan, the one wielding the fire, shows a hint of surprise, thinking that her past victory might have been due to luck. But Baek Uziel's focus remains steady, determined to get close to Bayan, despite the danger. As if in response, Bayan's body becomes engulfed in flames, increasing her power, though this process also causes her pain. He understands the danger, remembering how many times he lost in battles against fire-class mages, a past that now drives him forward. Her power surges, her red eye glowing brightly through the flames, showing the raw magic she now controls. Completely surrounded by a massive fire aura, Bayan's true strength is revealed, much greater than anyone would think. He watches the destructive power, his hand raised, knowing that anyone hit by these flames would be burned to ashes very quickly. Her face, now a blur of heat and light, is almost completely hidden by the fire. With a strong declaration, she asserts her power, a clear "no" echoing through the flames. Her glowing red eyes focus on her opponent as she sends out a powerful wave of fire, making it clear that no one will be able to get close to her. A wave of intense fire magic surged forward, engulfing the area in brilliant orange and yellow. Baek Uziel found himself at the epicenter of the massive fire explosion, surrounded by the overwhelming heat and light. A brief thought, a moment of internal reflection, passed through his mind. Before his hand, holding 2 golden talismans, began to emit a faint, determined glow. His gaze hardened with resolve, a clear challenge in his expression as he silently questioned if anyone truly believed he would remain passive. With a swift, impactful motion, he initiated his counterattack, moving with incredible speed. A powerful impact resonated, creating a loud explosion as his energy met the surrounding flames. The area was consumed by a blinding flash, a large explosion of energy rippling outwards. Despite the surrounding chaos, he exerted himself, a swirling vortex of protective energy manifesting around him, pushing back the intense heat. A brilliant, cool blue light then emerged, cutting through the orange and red flames with striking contrast. The blue energy expanded rapidly, carving a clear path through the fire and forcefully dispersing the flames. His eyes, now radiating the same ethereal blue light, mirrored his unwavering determination as he continued to channel his power, prepared for the next move. The blue-white energy Beck Uziel had unleashed continued to surge, a vibrant force pushing back against the encroaching flames. It swirled with incredible intensity, forming dynamic currents that rippled through the air. Amidst the swirling azure, he observed the phenomenon, a quiet acknowledgement of the power he wielded, thinking, "I see it." The blue-white energy continued to surge around him, a protective, yet volatile, aura. But the respite was short-lived, as a colossal wave of fiery magic erupted, engulfing him in an explosive inferno. The flames raged around him, a relentless torrent pushing him back with overwhelming force. From a distance, Bayan's crimson eyes glowed with fierce determination, her voice cutting through the roar of the fire as she declared, "I used a weapon-type artifact, Ignis." The artifact, a staff adorned with a fiery gem, pulsed with immense power, channeling the destructive magic. Engulfed in the intensified flames, Beck Uziel's eyes widened in disbelief, a single thought echoing in his mind. That's possible? He struggled against the relentless inferno, his form a mere silhouette against the blinding orange and red. A grim realization dawned on him as he fought to maintain his composure, his skills weakening with every passing moment. My skills are weaker as more time passes. The desperate truth settled in. He needed time, a precious commodity in this battle for survival. We need some more time to recover and recharge. Still affected by the previous attack, Beck Uziel senses the raw power of his opponent's magic, feeling its strong intensity. He senses the huge flow of her mana, a power he thinks he might be able to control. At the same time, a wave of blue energy pulses, a brief, quiet moment before Bayan's next action. At that moment, Bayan gets ready to launch another strong attack, her determination growing as she gathers her power. If that is the case, the blue energy ripples, shaking slightly as it expects the coming hit. Surrounded by strong, crackling flames, she states her plan to break through Beck Uziel's magic shield, her voice full of confidence. Sending a huge burst of fire magic through her staff, Bayan becomes a channel for destructive power, ready to attack. With a loud sound, she releases a huge wave of fire, covering Beck Uziel in flames and pushing him back with a powerful blast. He fights against the intense heat, understanding he cannot keep his defense up forever and that he needs to use true magic to survive. Even while the flames cover him, a desperate thought comes to his mind. He must find a way to break Hong Bayan's magic shield. The fire magic keeps attacking without stopping, his blue energy weakly shining under the strong pressure. Finally, with a very loud explosion, Beck Uziel is completely covered by the fire, his defenses totally broken, and his future uncertain. He cries out, a single word escaping his lips, "Now." A blinding flash erupts, accompanied by a sharp blank sound, as the fiery explosion intensifies, consuming the space around him. From above, Bayan observes, her attack appearing to overwhelm him, sending him falling through the intense flames. But then, a soft "ah" escapes her lips, a sound of surprise, as a deep rumble echoes through the air. Her eyes widen in shock as a lighter crash and a resounding boom emerge from the chaotic energy. An intricate web of glowing red energy, forming a barrier, begins to expand rapidly. Amidst the swirling power, he realizes this is the magic energy that has pursued him from the beginning, confirming it is a magician employing such tactics. A grim expression crosses his face as he acknowledges the situation with a quiet, but a soft whoosh accompanying his thoughts. Before a fierce determination hardens his gaze, as he declares, "I've experienced this a ton of times too." He stands firm, engulfed by the intense, glowing red energy, prepared for what is to come. He reflects on his past, acknowledging that his focus had been solely on player versus player combat, neglecting the overarching narrative. Now, he realizes the entire story's lore has become complicated. At the same time, the intense fire magic continues to burn fiercely, Bayan's powerful attack showing no signs of weakening. The fiery attack grows stronger, sending pieces of debris flying as the magic fills the air, its destructive power clearly visible. Suddenly, with a bright flash, the fire magic reaches its peak in a huge explosion, a powerful burst that seems to shake everything around it. However, just as it seems hopeless, a sudden burst of bright blue and purple energy explodes from the center of the fire, forcefully pushing back the fiery attack with surprising strength. This blue-purple energy quickly spreads, creating a bright shield, making Bayan step back in shock as her own magic is overcome. Her face twists in complete shock, her mind trying to understand the sudden change, a desperate no, leaving her mouth as the situation turns against her. The colliding energies create a storm of light and power, a wild display of destruction, with the bright blue-purple power slowly winning against the red. Overpowered by the strong counterattack, Bayan is violently pushed back, her long, white hair flying around her as the golden magic surrounds her. A deep cry of pain leaves her mouth, her eyes wide with fear and helplessness, as she tightly grips her staff, trying in vain to get back control. Her quiet plea fills the chaotic scene, a desperate hope for the attack to stop, a soft whisper of please, please lost in the storm. Still recovering from the unexpected turn of events, she looks down, defeated, as the power she started now overwhelms her. A memory surfaces, depicting Baek Yuziel and Bayan seated on the ground, with a thought of victory, I won. The scene changes, showing Air Zwang, her red eyes reflecting surprise and annoyance, as she tries to understand what is happening. Baek Yuziel stands above her, posing a simple question, asking if she is truly just an ordinary student. His expression is thoughtful, a hint of understanding appearing on his face, as he considers their interaction. However, a different thought emerges, a soft anyway, uttered by him, as his attention shifts to something else. He stands determined in the woods, his voice clear, insisting that the concealed person show themselves. Then, a name resonates in his thoughts, a clear objective, Flame. The enigmatic Flame steps out from the darkness, her dark cloak moving gently, her appearance a quiet response to his summons. A shimmering visual effect covers the area, as the memory starts to disappear. Baek Yuziel walks alongside Ye Taran through a vibrant, sun-dappled garden, his thoughts consumed by the game's narrative, realizing he'd been so focused on PvP that the entire lore had become a tangled mess. Turning to him, Taran insists she wasn't hiding. He questions how she knew he was there at all. Yuziel explains it was just a feeling, a sense of having seen her before, and these feelings were usually accurate. Taran hums thoughtfully, acknowledging his intuition but unable to fully grasp it. He presses her, asking how she managed to locate his magic field, especially with only a training device and some point sticks. The intricate gold trim of her uniform catches the light, a detail of her academy attire. Taran, with a slight smile, asked if it was just a feeling for him too. Yuziel's internal monologue shifts, noting that the end of Bug wasn't in the original novel, but he still can't quite put his finger on it. He urges her to simply tell him the truth. Taran readily agrees, explaining that it's quite simple. She's trained since she was young, but lacks the talent to sense magic herself. A question arises, pondering the disappearance of the normal knights from this world. Baek Yuziel observes that Ye Taran has a knack for showing up in strange locations. Her voice, calm and collected, states that she thought he was difficult even before this situation. The name, Baek Yuziel, is acknowledged as he processes the conversation. Ye Taran, her gaze fixed on him, asks who he truly is. He pauses, considering her question. Ye Taran waits, her gaze fixed on him. He looks down, realizing the situation has escalated to this point. A bright flash appears, marking a transition. Baek Yuziel contemplates whether he should reveal his identity, but quickly dismisses the idea as not yet appropriate. He understands the danger, particularly if Flame does not favor him. Acknowledging her suspicion, he states he is not a bad person to her. The scene shifts to a lush forest, eliciting a surprised exclamation. Flame questions his intentions, finding it difficult to accept his offer of help. He urgently asks for help. Flame, with an unreadable expression, questions his true identity. He declares his intention to act now. Flame warns him that she has more to tell him, and he cannot leave. Her gaze becomes sharp and intense. Baek Yuziel attempts to leave, stating his intention, but is abruptly halted by an unseen force. He cries out in pain as he is violently pulled back by an unseen force. Flame appears behind him, gripping his collar firmly, preventing his escape. Flame's voice cuts through the air, accusing him of insincerity, her hand already reaching out to activate her power, demanding he use his seventh sense immediately. Her expression is resolute, as she expresses her disappointment, having believed he would catch them. The young man tries to placate her, claiming his intentions were pure, but a sudden, sharp jolt of pain makes him wince. The sixth sense, a crucial ability, relies entirely on one's mental fortitude, and with his own mind power severely depleted, his instincts are now. She presses, demanding to know why he pursued the others. He retorts, claiming the spoils of the hunt for himself, then questions if the prize was meant for someone else. He muses on the implications of taking all the rewards, acknowledging the significant boost to his rank, yet dismissing the other prizes as inconsequential. As he reaches out, a faint glow emanates from his hand, a subtle rustle accompanying his movement. A confident smirk plays on his lips as he declares his intention to leave the remaining tasks to her. With a final declaration, he turns to depart. But before he can take another step, an unseen force abruptly yanks him backward, the sound of a sudden grab echoing through the air. He finds himself held firmly by the collar, his escape thwarted by a grip that feels surprisingly strong, even to him. A bright light emanates, eliciting exclamations of wonder from those observing. One observer, in disbelief, asks, "Is he an idiot?" Elsewhere, Stella, with her light blue hair, suggests to Flame. Perhaps his lack of common sense stems from being a commoner. Bayan's red eyes are fixed on the events, her white hair prominent against the abstract backdrop. The focus shifts to an unseen narrator contemplating, Beck Uziel's identity. At the same time, other occurrences are taking place. A map of the current location appears, showing various geographical features. An older man with a mustache and another individual, seen from behind, watch a blue projection. Within a magical chamber, Aralit and Bayan are present among glowing energy, their faces showing no clear emotion. Amidst a surge of magical energy, a voice states, "The S-class residents are truly remarkable." Ma Yuziong, with his blue hair, remarks, "This year." The older man next to him, smiling, adds, "It is quite enjoyable, well worth observing." The Magic Council of Elders and the Blue Mage Tower Board of Directors, specifically Elder Felix and Jerima Aeon, gather to observe a significant event. Their attention is drawn to a display as the Magic Council of Elders and the Blue Mage Tower Board of Directors prepare to watch the upcoming events. Within a shadowed room, Elder Felix, Jerima Aeon, and Ma Yuziong observe, their faces showing a blend of expectation and careful assessment as they watch the new students' practical exercise. Their purpose is clear. They have arrived specifically to observe these new students during a practical exercise. It's not only this group watching. He believes most of the other professors are also observing the exercise. Indeed, Ma Yuziong and the others acknowledge that many are watching the exercise, their focus unwavering. A sound of annoyance escapes him as Beck Uziel stands within a bright, glowing forest surrounded by magical energy. The forest glows with a soft blue light, revealing several figures, including Beck Uziel, moving through the magical landscape. While Beck Uziel looks at a glowing orb, a question is posed. Have Moon Young and Ma Yuziong met? The observers' formal clothing in the viewing room suggests their importance as they continue to watch the exercise closely. Beck Uziel then releases a burst of bright blue energy, moving quickly and accurately, creating glowing lines in the magical forest. He keeps channeling his power, a bright green and blue aura surrounding him, showing great control and strength within the active environment. The young mage unleashes a burst of light blue and green energy, radiating outwards from his position with considerable force. The magical energy impacts the ground, creating a ripple effect and causing the earth to crack under the pressure. He then summons multiple sharp ice shards, weaving them with trails of purple energy, preparing for a complex, multi-directional attack. With a decisive swing, he manifests a large, glowing ice blade from his magical sword, which cleaves through the air with a sharp impact. From a distant observation point, Elder Felix watches the display, remarking, "I saw them activated in succession." Jerima Aeon, standing beside him, confirms, "That's possible at the level of a mage, but not for someone of his apparent age. Generally, a normal mage would have to be at least in their mid to late 20s to reach third rank." Ma Yuziong, his expression serious, observes the unfolding spectacle with intense focus. Elder Felix continues, his voice reflecting his astonishment, "But we didn't even see third-rank mages who could produce magic at that level." Jerima Aeon, still in disbelief, responds, "I still cannot believe it." Suddenly, Ma Yuziong points towards the demonstration, exclaiming, "Watch. They both have these elements." At that moment, the young mage projects a complex array of green, orange, and purple elemental magic, showcasing simultaneous control over multiple attributes. He continues to manipulate the multiple elemental attacks with effortless grace, each burst of green, orange, and purple energy striking its target with precision. Ma Yuziong, his gaze unwavering, finishes his thought, and only after, his words trailing off as the full implications of the mage's powers sink in, leaving Elder Felix with a look of profound contemplation, considering the rarity of such multi-elemental mastery among most mages. Mastering even two elements requires extensive training. Ma Yuziong reflects, his expression thoughtful, that some individuals possess the talent for three elements from birth. He emphasizes that this exceptional talent has been present since their birth. Beck Uziel reacts with surprise, a sound of alarm escaping him as he faces an unforeseen event. He immediately channels a powerful blue-white magical attack, sending glowing particles and energy trails upwards. The magical energy continues to gather, forming a swirling mass of blue-white light directed at a target. A narration box then reveals the opponent, identifying it as a hidden boss. He then channels a multi-elemental attack, merging yellow and blue energies into a powerful upward surge. The multi-elemental attack quickly expands, forming a broad, destructive wave of blue and yellow energy. The attack culminates in a massive explosion, a brilliant flash of multicolored magical energy. In the aftermath, Beck Uziel stands with Archmage Aralit, both observing the results of the powerful magical display. A blinding burst of blue energy erupts, tearing through the air with explosive force. As streaks of light and magical residue fall like shooting stars against a dark, cosmic backdrop, the raw power of the attack still reverberating through the environment. Another violent explosion, this time of vibrant purple, rips through the lush green foliage, signaling the devastating conclusion of a fierce battle. The target, a massive bird-like creature, glows with fading blue energy as it plummets, overwhelmed by the sheer magical might unleashed upon it. Lingering purple energy swirls and dissipates into the forest, leaving behind only the echoes of the powerful spell. Suddenly, Aerolite appears, her expression one of surprise as she takes in the scene, asking if he was in the middle of a fight. Beck Uziel turns his back to the defeated foe, walking away from the chaos, while Aerolite watches him, a hint of concern in her eyes. With a slight frown, she offers a sarcastic apology, muttering, "Sorry for interrupting." As he continues to move, a faint blue glow still emanates from his form, a residual sign of the immense power he just wielded. Elsewhere, Ma Yuziang stands with a thoughtful expression, reflecting on the situation, and utters the full name, Acel Mulf. Beck Uziel stands over the now-still form of the hidden boss, a creature only found in the final minutes of a stage, a testament to his skill and timing. These elusive foes are not only incredibly difficult to locate, but their defeat demands exceptional power and strategy. To hunt such a creature alone, Aerolite, the Adalabit princess, appears thoughtful. A mage observes her, identifying her as Acel Mulf, the eldest daughter of Grand Duke Mulf, his expression serious, and notes that her talent has only grown since her father's actions, a fact he finds unfortunate. A crackling sound accompanies his observation, drawing his attention. As he sees the Adalabit princess engaged in battle, her white form prominent, a clear target. He wonders who she is fighting, as he doesn't recognize her opponent, a mystery to him. Before a sudden realization about the spell being used strikes him, a moment of clarity. A bright flash of blue and white energy fills the area, a powerful burst. Elsewhere, Ma Yuziang, illuminated by the magic, reacts with focus, his eyes wide. Wondering if the technique is the blink spell, a powerful form of magic. Shadowy figures, barely visible, suggest the power that was unleashed, leaving destruction behind.